coverage of Washington Wild Things baseball. Today we are live from UC Health Stadium here in Florence, Kentucky, as your Washington Wild Things take on the Florence Freedom in Game 1 of their 3-game series. Hi everyone, I'm Zach Ziegler taking you through all the action throughout the entire 2016 season. Your Wild Things starting a 10-day, 9-game road trip against the Florence Freedom, the Evansville Otters, and the River City Rascals. It all gets kicked off tonight here in Florence, Kentucky for Game 1 of this 3-game series. Unfortunately, yesterday's game rained out due to inclement weather in Washington, Pennsylvania, but we are back today for the start of this 10-game road trip. Wild Things just split a rain-shortened 2-game series with the Normal Corn Belters, and tonight they look to get back on the winning track. They lost that last game with Normal by a score of 6-2. So looking to get back on track tonight here in Florence, Kentucky. Going to have a recap of Wednesday night's 6-2 loss for you. Also, we're going to take a look at tonight's lineup, the starting pitching matchup, and also going to take a look at the standings here in the Frontier League. Both these teams, the Wild Things in the Frontier League East and the Freedom in the Frontier League West. So we're going to take a look at both of those standings for you. And we'll have first pitch tonight on your coverage of Washington Wild Things baseball. Now, as we said, the Washington Wild Things unfortunately losing to the Normal Corn Belters Wednesday night by a score of 6-2 after their game got rained out. In last night's ball game, had rain all across the southwestern Pennsylvania region, and the game was unable to be played. There is no makeup scheduled for that game just as of yet. As we said, Wednesday night, your Wild Things losing by a score of 6-2 to the Normal Corn Belters. The scoring in that one got started in the top of inning number 2. Dylan Hops would ground out to start things. Then Craig LaPree singled. Dylan Kelly walked. There were runners at first and second with one man out before Brandon Roberts hit what looked to be a routine double play ball right to Austin Wolbrock at shortstop. Wolbrock flipped to Magruder for one, but Magruder's throw to first pulled Jimmy Yezzo off of the bag and allowed the first run of the game to score as LaPree came in, and the Normal Corn Belters took a 1-0 lead. That's all they would get in that second inning. And then the Corn Belters would get their next run in the ball game in the top of inning number 5. Ty Morris singled to start things, then stole second base, and Justin Fletcher would pop out. Santiago Chirino flew out, so there was a runner at second with 2 men out before Aaron Dudley came through with an RBI double that scored Ty Morris and gave the Corn Belters a 2-0 lead. Your Wild Things would counter in the bottom of the 6th inning. Chris Grayson singled to lead off the inning, then stole second. Ricky Rodriguez then singled, but a throwing error by the second baseman Justin Fletcher allowed Grayson to come around to score. Fletcher made a diving stop and tried to throw from his butt, but was unable to make an accurate throw to the plate, and it caused the Wild Things to get their first run of the ball game. Next batter, Dave Popkins, grounded out, so the runner moved up to third with 2 men out. Jimmy Yezzo would then ground out to shortstop, holding that runner Rodriguez at third with 2 away before Kyle Pollock came through with an RBI single. His first RBI of the night, his second hit, and the Wild Things tied the game at 2. However, the big inning for the Normal Corn Belters came in the top of inning number 7. Ty Morris singled to start things, then Justin Fletcher laid down a sacrifice bunt. Santiago Chirino would then come through with a RBI double that scored Ty Morris and gave the Corn Belters a 3-2 lead. Then Aaron Dudley would single, so there'd be runners at first and third with just 1 man out, and that would be all for your starter, Luke Wilkins. He was replaced in the game by Sam Agnew-Whelan. The first man Agnew-Whelan faced hit a 2 RBI triple. It was Nolan Meadows that scored Santiago Chirino and Aaron Dudley, and gave the Corn Belters a 4-2 lead over your Wild Things. Next batter, Dylan Hott would ground out, and then Craig LaPree came through with an RBI single that scored Meadows. That made the score 6-2 Corn Belters. Dylan Kelly would then strike out to end that inning. Getting the last out of that inning was reliever Andrew Wick. Final line for your starter, Luke Wilkins. Wilkins went 6 innings of work, gave up 2 runs, both earned on 7 hits, 1 walk, and 3 strikeouts on the night for Luke Wilkins. For reliever Sam Agnew-Whelan, he went a third of an inning in the contest, giving up 3 runs, all earned on 3 hits, no walks, and no strikeouts on the day for him. The Wild Things would threaten 2 more times in this game. Bottom of the 7th, they made an attempt at a comeback as Grant Fink struck out to start things. Then Austin Wolbrock struck out. Then with 2 outs, Andrew Heck singled and Chris Grayson singled. So there were runners at first and second with 2 men out before Ricky Rodriguez struck out to end the inning. The last out of that inning was picked up by Francisco Carrillo, striking out Ricky Rodriguez to end that inning. The final line for the starter, Charlie Galise. Galise won 6 2/3 in the game, gave up 2 runs, both earned, on 5 hits, 4 walks, and 10 strikeouts on the night. Casey Brown faced Chris Grayson and gave up the single. Brown on the day did not go in inning, did not get an out in the game. Gave up 1 hit, no runs, no earned, no walks, no strikeouts. And Francisco Carrillo, as we said, got the last out of the inning, striking out Ricky Rodriguez. In the bottom of the 8th, the Wild Things would threaten again as Dave Popkins walked to start things. Then Jimmy Yezzo struck out. Kyle Pollock would then walk, and Jamadric Magruder would single. So the bases would be full of Washington Wild Things with 2 men out before Grant Fink and Austin Wobrock struck out to end the inning. Wild Things left the bases loaded. Then in the bottom of the 9th, Brennan Smith came on for the normal Corn Belters, looking for a scoreless inning of relief. Carrillo's final line went 1 1/3, gave up just 1 hit, no runs, no earned, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts on the night for Carrillo. And Brennan Smith came in and pitched a 1-2-3 inning as he got Andrew Heck to strike out. Chris Grayson flew out, and Ricky Rodriguez popped out to end the game. The winning pitcher in that ball game was Charlie Galise. The loser was Sam Agnew-Whelan. No decision for both starters, Luke Wilson, and for Luke Wilson, no a win for Charlie Galise. So the Wild Things 1-1 in that series with the normal Corn Belters, splitting that 2-game series. And the star of the game yesterday was Kyle Pollock. We talked to him before the game today. I talked to him about his increasing offensive average. He's got that average up to 273 now with 1 home run and 9 RBIs on the season. Was telling me he really just doesn't think about it. He likes to go out there and just let the bat do the talking. He works in the batting cages and does everything he can to make himself as ready as possible. Also talked to him about catching tonight's starter, Trevor Foss. And he said Foss is definitely a character out on the mound. He can throw strikes consistently, pounds the zone, and he really likes to catch Foss in these games. And as we said, Trevor Foss, starter for this one, he's going to tie the Frontier League record for complete games in a season. He has 8 complete games. He is 1 off the Frontier League record, which was set back in the 2000 season. So Trevor Foss looking to tie that one tonight. He comes into this game with a record of 8-3 and a 2.33 ERA. That 2.33 ERA is good for second lowest on this Washington Wild Things team. Big series for the Washington Wild Things. As we said, it's the start of a 10-day, 9-game road trip, all against Frontier League West Division opponents. They will take on the Florence Freedom for 3 here in Florence, Kentucky. Then we will move on to Evansville on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to take on the Evansville Otters. And then the road trip concludes next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday when the Wild Things will be in River City to take on the River City Rascals. All those games can be heard right here on the MSA Sports Network as we got you covered for Washington Wild Things baseball today and all season long. Managers are at home plate right now going over the lineup cards. And as they do, we're going to go over today's lineups for you here on the MSA Sports Network. First, for your visiting Washington Wild Things, they enter this one with a record of 30-30. They'll lead off with their left fielder, Andrew Heck, batting second in center field. Chris Grayson hitting third at third base. Ricky Rodriguez in the 4-hole in right field. Dave Popkins batting fifth at first base. Logan Uxa in the 6th spot. Catching is Kyle Pollock. Batting seventh, designated hitter Jimmy Yezzo. Hitting 8th at second base, Jamadric Magruder. And batting 9th at shortstop is Austin Wobrock. On the mound for your Washington Wild Things is right-hander Trevor Foss. Foss has a record of 8-3, 1 save on the year, and a 2.33 ERA. For the Florence Freedom, they'll lead off with their center fielder, Andre Mercurio. Batting second at first base is Taylor Oldham. Hitting third in right field, Andrew Godbold. Batting fourth and catching, Isaac Wenrick. Batting in the 5th spot, the designated hitter, Josh Henderson. Batting sixth in left field, Sean Cooper. Hitting 7th at second base is Daniel Fraga. Batting 8th at third base, Mason Salazar. And batting 9th at shortstop is Travis Weaver. On the mound for the Florence Freedom will be Patrick McGrath. McGrath actually coming off the 14-day disabled list. Nothing big for McGrath, but he has been a little ineffective in his last couple starts. He's had 2 starts this season where he has given up double-digit runs, and that's affected his ERA. His ERA coming into today, 8.10. Right now we're going to go to the national anthem playing here at UC Health Stadium here in Florence, Kentucky. You're listening to Washington Wild Things Baseball right here on the MSA Sports Network. We're back here on the MSA Sports Network's coverage of Washington Wild Things Baseball. National Anthem just concluded here at UC Health Stadium in Florence, Kentucky. Game 1 of this 3-game series between your Washington Wild Things and the Florence Freedom. Wild Things come into this game currently in 2nd place in the Frontier League East standing, chasing the Joliet Slammers as they have been all season long. The Wild Things sit at 30 and 30, 2.5 games back of that first place position. Joliet sitting at 33 and 28 atop these Frontier League Eastern standings. Then the Windy City Thunderbolts, sit below your Washington Wild Things. They have a record of 30 and 32. Then the Lake Erie Crushers in 4th, 29 and 32. They're 4 games back of the Joliet Slammers. Then the Schaumburg Boomers sit 6 games back at 28 and 35. And finally, the Traverse City Beach Bums, who the Wild Things will see later this month, round out the Frontier League East standings with a record of 27 and 35. They sit 6.5 back of the Joliet Slammers. On the Western Division side for these Florence Freedom, Southern Illinois leads things at 43 and 18. Then the Evansville Otters sit at 34 and 27, 9 games back of those Southern Illinois Miners. And Southern Illinois has just been very good all season. They lost 2 games since the All-Star break. Their combined record is 9 and 2 since that All-Star break. Your Wild Things since the All-Star break are 3 and 8 here in the second half. They've been playing much better baseball on the road, so we'll see if that helps them in this big 10-game stretch. Now the Florence Freedom are on the field, so as they take the field, we're going to let you know how they're going to align defensively against your Washington Wild Things. In the outfield left to right, it's Sean Cooper, Andre Mercurio, and Andrew Godbold. The left side of the infield held down by Mason Salazar and Travis Weaver. The right side is held down by Daniel Fraga and Taylor Oldham. And on the mound for the Florence Freedom, is Patrick McGrath. McGrath, as we said, coming off the disabled list to make today's start. He is on the mound. The lineup he'll face for your Washington Wild Things looks like this. They'll lead off with their left fielder, Andrew Heck, batting second in center field. Chris Grayson in the number 3 hole, third baseman Ricky Rodriguez. Batting fourth in right field, Dave Popkins. Hitting fifth at first base, Logan Uxa. Batting sixth behind the plate, Kyle Pollock. Hitting seventh at DH, Jimmy Yezzo. Batting eighth at second base, Jamadric Magruder. And batting ninth at shortstop is Austin Wolbrock. And on the mound for your Wild Things, as we said, the man of the hour, Trevor Foss, 8-3 with a 2.33 ERA, looking to tie the Frontier League record for complete games in a season, which is 9. That was set back in the 2000 season. here in the Frontier League. Andrew Heck making his way to the plate to lead things off in this one. Heck enters this game hitting .260 with no home runs and 9 RBIs. We had a chance of rain in the forecast, but as of now, it looks like there might not be any rain today as we got blue skies here over UC Health Stadium in Florence, Kentucky, and we have a great day for baseball here for you. Game 1 of this 3-game series between your Washington Wild Things and the Florence Freedom. McGrath's first pitch, and that one swung on a miss by Andrew Heck, and we are underway here at UC Health Stadium in Florence, Kentucky. First pitch tonight thrown at 7:06 Eastern Time, and temperature outside 79 degrees. First pitch time and temperature brought to you by State Line Grocery and Hotspot. That next pitch is inside for a ball, 1 strike. 1-1 the count. Patrick McGrath, as we said, coming off the disabled list to make tonight's start against your Washington Wild Things. Has his sign, the 1-1, and that one's outside for a ball. So Andrew Heck getting ahead of the count early, 2 balls and a strike. And for Andrew Heck out of that leadoff spot, likes to work the count, so we'll see if he can do it here against McGrath. McGrath's 2-1 pitch, and this one's fouled off the catcher, Isaac Wenrick, and the count goes to even to 2 balls and 2 strikes. 2-2 the count here on the Wild Things leadoff hitter. Andrew Heck getting his 6th straight start in left field, and really had a stronghold of that position this past week. It had been in limbo with Grant Fink and Andrew Heck both playing out there, but Heck seems to get a lot more playing time out there recently than Fink. That next pitch is outside for a ball, so McGrath falling behind Andrew Heck. 3 balls and 2 strikes. 3-2, nobody out here from UC Health Stadium in Florence, Kentucky. Heck at the plate. McGrath has his sign, the 3-2, and this ball hit towards center field. Mercurio going back a couple steps in front of the track, and he will make the catch, and that is out number 1. 1 up, 1 down for your Wild Things here in the top of the first, and that'll bring to the plate the center fielder, Chris Grayson. Grayson enters this game hitting .324, 2 home runs, and 9 RBIs. That .324 average is currently good for first on this Washington Wild Things team, and Grayson's been on fire these last 3 games. He was 4 for 6 on Sunday against the Southern Illinois Miners. Went 2 for 4 in game 1 of the 3-game series with the normal Corn Belters. And on Wednesday night's game, went 2 for 3 with 2 walks. The first pitch to Chris Grayson is in there for a strike. No balls and a strike. 0-1 the count on the Wild Things center fielder. Here's the 0-1. And that one's low for a ball. And the count goes even at 1-1. Andrew Heck able to make Patrick McGrath work to start this ball game. Had to throw a lot of pitches to him as the count went full. McGrath set in the 1-1 pitch. Grayson showing bunt, but he'll take this one low for a ball, and the count will go to 2 balls and a strike. 2-1 the count here on Chris Grayson. Grayson, the everyday center fielder for your Washington Wild Things. Patrick McGrath looks in, has his sign, the 2-1. And that one's low as well, so McGrath falling behind Grayson here, 3 balls and a strike. He fell behind Andrew Heck before getting him to fly out to start the game, so we'll see what he does here against Grayson with a 3-1 count and 1 man out. Has his sign, here's the 3-1, and Grayson hits this one to center field as well. Mercurio not really having to move at all for this ball, as it'll carry out to him, and he'll make the catch for out number 2. 2 up, 2 down for your Washington Wild Things here in this top of the first inning. Game 1 of a 9-game road trip, and that'll bring to the plate the third baseman, Ricky Rodriguez. Rodriguez on the year is currently hitting .296 with 5 home runs and 22 RBIs. Drove in a run in Wednesday night's game, but unfortunately it came in via an error, so no RBI for Rodriguez. McGrath has his sign, the pitch, and Rodriguez fouls this one off to the right, and the count goes to no balls and a strike. 0-1 the count here on Ricky Rodriguez. Rodriguez, one of 4 Wild Things All-Stars that represented the team here in Florence, Kentucky, at the plate right now. McGrath has his sign, the no-ball, 1-strike pitch. And that one's high for a ball. Count goes even at 1-1 on the Wild Things third baseman. 1 ball, 1 strike. Rodriguez at the plate, batting from the right side against the left-hander Patrick McGrath. McGrath has his sign, the 1-1, and this one grounded to the right side, and this will go foul, so the count goes to 1 ball and 2 strikes. The first guy that Patrick McGrath has been ahead of today, he was behind Chris Grayson and Andrew Heck to start this game, here getting out ahead of Rodriguez. Grayson looking in, has his sign, he's set, and the 1 ball, 2 strike pitch. And that one's outside for a ball. Rodriguez doesn't go out there chasing, and the count goes to 2 balls and 2 strikes. 2-2 the count here on Ricky Rodriguez. Looking at the Freedom defensively, the outfield shifted a little bit towards left field. The infield playing pretty much straight up. Here's the 2-2, and this ball popped up to the right side, back behind first base, giving it a chase over there is Oldham, and he lost it in the lights, but it falls in foul territory. Taylor Oldham giving it a chase over there at first base. Ran all the way back to almost towards the seats over there in right field, and then lost the ball in the sky. Daniel Fraga tried to recover for him, but Fraga not able to get there, and unfortunately for Rodriguez, it lands as a foul ball. He'll have to do it again with a count at 2 balls and 2 strikes. 2-2 the count here on Ricky Rodriguez. Has been hitting that number 3 spot for the last week and a half for the Wild Things. He was up in the number 2 hole before about 2 weeks ago, and right now they're calling it a fair ball. Initially it was called a foul ball, but after the umpires convene, they decide to call it a fair ball, so it'll be a single for Ricky Rodriguez. He's on base with 2 men out. Fortunate call for the Wild Things. At first it was called a foul ball, but now the umpires changed their mind and called a fair ball. That'll bring to the plate the right fielder, Dave Popkins. Popkins, a switch hitter, batting from the right side here against the lefty, Patrick McGrath. 2 men out here in the top of the first. No score between your Washington Wild Things and the Florence Freedom. McGrath has his sign checks first, and the pitch. Popkins swings and misses at the first pitch, and the count goes to no balls and a strike. 0-1 the count. Popkins comes in today, currently hitting .298 with 10 home runs and 33 RBIs. Patrick McGrath has his sign, checks Rodriguez, and the 0-1, and that one's a called strike as well, and the count goes to no balls and 2 strikes. 0-2 the count here on Dave Popkins. 2 men out here in the top of the first. No score between your Washington Wild Things and the Florence Freedom. McGrath looking in, has his sign, he's set. Checks Rodriguez at first, and the 0-2 pitch. And that one's just outside for a ball. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Popkins wisely laying off of that one, and McGrath will have to try another 2-strike pitch here. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 men out. Talking to Dave Popkins earlier in the season, likes to work the count and get pitches he can drive. McGrath has his sign, the 1-2 pitch, and this one's inside and low, and the count goes even at 2-2 here on Dave Popkins. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, top of the first. Ricky Rodriguez reaching on a single as he had a pop-up down the right field line. Taylor Oldham at first gave chase but was unable to corral the ball, and it fell in fair territory. McGrath's 2-2, and this one's hit down the right field line. Godbold giving chase. It's hooking, and it's a fair ball. Rodriguez will be held at third. It'll be a double for Dave Popkins as it hops over the wall in that right field over the foul territory. It's a double for Dave Popkins. There's runners at second and third for your Wild Things with 2 men out. McGrath getting into trouble here in the top of the first, and that'll bring up the first baseman, Logan Uxa. Uxa, the first baseman at the plate. Uxa on the year hitting .259 with 4 home runs and 12 RBIs. Logan Uxa getting the start today out there at first base for the Washington Wild Things. Runners are at second and third with 2 men out. McGrath looks in, has his sign. Here's the pitch, and Uxa takes this one for a strike at the knees. No balls and a strike. 0-1 the count here on Logan Uxa, as Jimmy Yezzo and Uxa have been really sharing that first base spot for the Wild Things. Uxa out there tonight, Yezzo in the DH role. McGrath looks in, has his sign, he's set in the pitch. Uxa, ground ball towards the middle. Daniel Fraga dive, he can't get it. Rodriguez scores. Popkins around third, he's going to score. And your Wild Things take an early 2-0 lead here in the top of the first. A 2 RBI single for Logan Uxa. He's at first base with 2 men out, and that'll bring to the plate the catcher, Kyle Pollock. Logan Uxa brings in the first runs of the game for your Washington Wild Things. Daniel Fraga doing about all he could to try to stop that ball from going into center field. Unfortunately for the Wild Things, he was unable to get it, and they take a 2-0 lead here in the top of inning number 1. Pollock at the plate, here's the pitch, and he takes this one for a strike at the letters, no balls and a strike. 0-1 the count on the Wild Things catcher. Big hit there for Logan Uxa with 2 men on, able to drive him in. RBIs number 13 and 14 on the season for Uxa. McGrath has his sign, checked first in the 0-1. And Pollock pops this one up down the right field line. It's hooking, and it'll go into the seats foul. The count goes to no balls and 2 strikes. Kyle Pollock, your offensive star of the game last night, went 2 for 3 with an RBI, has really stepped up offensively since coming off of the disabled list for the Washington Wild Things. McGrath has his sign, he's set, and the 0-2 to Pollock. Taking off for seconds, Uxa. The pitch is high, the throw down, and Logan Uxa in there with a stolen base. And oh no, there was a collision at second base between Daniel Fraga and Logan Uxa. Uxa is down right now. The throw is a little high out there to second base. A stolen base for Logan Uxa. However, he is down as his head collided with Daniel Fraga's arm. Fraga trying to control that throw from Isaac Wenrick, and Uxa's head collided with Fraga's arm. The throw went out to center field. Right now, Uxa being tended to by the trainer, Jess. It's Uxa's first steal this season for the Washington Wild Things, but we hope he is okay. He's down at a knee around the second base area, being looked at now by the Washington Wild Things trainers. But right now, the Wild Things have a 2-0 lead over the Florence Freedom thanks to a 2 RBI single by Logan Uxa. Uxa able to get the ground ball at the middle. Daniel Fraga tried to make the diving stop. He was unable to get it as it went into center field for that base hit. Rodriguez and Popkins would score. Uxa now on his feet out there around second base as he's still talking to trainer Jess. We'll see if he can stay in this ball game. They're testing his head area to see if he's okay to come back into this one. As we said, game one of a 9-game, 10-day road trip for these Washington Wild Things. 3 here in Florence, then 3 in Evansville, and 3 in River City. Manager Greg Langban out there talking to Logan Uxa. Uxa has been a light at the end of the tunnel for Washington Wild Things. Was signed in the early weeks of June and has really turned it on, hitting .259, 4 home runs, 12 RBIs. He is okay, and he will stay in this game. So the Wild Things have a runner at second with 2 men out. Kyle Pollock at the plate, a 1-ball, 2-strike count on Pollock as that pitch when Uxa stole was up above the letters. Patrick McGrath looking in. McGrath looking to Isaac Wenrick. And now time will be called as Kyle Pollock thought McGrath was taking just a little bit too long. The McGrath, as we said, was on the 14-day DL, came off prior to this start, and his last start out was on July 22nd. Excuse me. His last time out was July 22nd against Lake Erie. McGrath has assigned the pitch, and this ball popped up. Foul territory off to the right. Wenrick gives it a look, but it'll go back into the seats foul, and the count remains 1 ball and 2 strikes. 1-2 the count. Excuse me, here on Kyle Pollock. Pollock hitting .273 with a homer and 9 RBIs on the season. Is currently good for 4th on this Washington Wild Things team in terms of average. McGrath looking in, has his sign, checks Uxa at second, and the 1-ball, 2-strike pitch. And Pollock, a half-hearted swing and a miss. He strikes out, and the inning is over. However, the Wild Things do get 2 runs in the inning on 3 hits, no errors, and 1 man left on base. After half an inning of play, the score, your Washington Wild Things 2 and the Florence Freedom nothing. Game 1 of this 9-game, 10-day road trip here in Florence, Kentucky, as the Wild Things taking on the Florence Freedom. And right now taking the mound, the man of the hour, Trevor Foss. Foss 8-3 coming into this ball game, looking for complete game number 9 on the season. If he can get it, it would tie the Frontier League record, which was set back in the 2000 season. Last time out for Trevor Foss. He did go a complete game against the River City Rascals. Complete game shutout in that one against the Rascals. So he's looking for his 9th complete game of the season here in this one. See if he can get it. As the Wild Things take the field right now, they align like this defensively in the outfield left to right. It's Andrew Heck, Chris Grayson, and Dave Popkins. Left side of the infield held down by Ricky Rodriguez and Austin Wolbrock. Right side by Jamadrick Magruder and Logan Uxa. And the lineup that Trevor Foss will face today looks like this. The Freedom will lead off with their center fielder, Andre Mercurio. Batting second at first base is Taylor Oldham. Hitting third and catching is hitting third in right field, Andrew Godbold. Hitting fourth and catching, Isaac Wenrick. Batting fifth, the designated hitter, Josh Henderson. Batting sixth in left field, Sean Cooper. Hitting seventh at second base, Daniel Fraga. Batting eighth at third base, Mason Salazar. And batting ninth at shortstop is Travis Weaver. On the mound for the Florence Freedom, as we saw in the first inning, is lefty Patrick McGrath. So Trevor Foss enters this one with very good numbers for the Washington Wild Things. 8-3, a 2.33 ERA. That 2.33 ERA good for second on this Washington Wild Things team. So he is the ace of this staff and has been all season, and looks to give the Wild Things a chance to start this road trip off with a victory. And actually, this road trip could be a good thing for the Wild Things, as they've played much better on the road than they have at home. Their road record this season sits at 14-12, while their home record 16-18. So looking to improve upon that road record here in this one. We're ready for baseball here in the bottom of the first. Your Wild Things lead 2-0. Making his way to the plate to lead things off is the center fielder, Andre Mercurio. Mercurio on the season hitting .309, no home runs, and 11 RBIs. Mercurio's .309 average is good for the team lead here for the Florence Freedom. Nobody out here in the bottom of the first. Foss has his sign. Here's the pitch. And that first pitch is outside for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. With Trevor Foss, likes to work the corners and works off his fastball. If he gets 2 strikes, he's going to bury one, so he'll be looking for some swings and misses from this Florence Freedom team. Foss is 1-0, and that one's in there on the low inside corner for a strike. Count goes to 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-1 the count here on Andre Mercurio. Started all 3 games at center field the last time these two teams met back at Consol Energy Park. Foss has his sign, the 1-1, and this one lined a diving catch by Logan Uxa. He actually dropped the ball, and Trevor Foss not over at first base. An incredible effort there by Logan Uxa. Dove to his right. Mercurio gets into second as Uxa dove. Thought he was going to catch that ball, but it fell out of his glove. Did a behind the back flip to first. Trevor Foss was not over there to cover, so unfortunately, there's a runner at second with nobody out. That'll be a hit for Mercurio and an error on the throw by Logan Uxa. So a single and an E3, and there's a runner at second base with nobody out in the bottom of the first, and that brings to the plate the first baseman, Taylor Oldham. Oldham on the year hitting .303 with 8 home runs and 47 RBIs. A great effort there by Logan Uxa, diving to his right. The ball just unfortunately falling out of his glove on that one. Taylor Oldham stepping in, the right-hander facing Trevor Foss. Foss looks in, has his sign, he's set, checks Mercurio at second, and the pitch on the way. And that one's in there for a strike on the outside corner, no balls and a strike. 0-1 the count here on Taylor Oldham. Oldham on the year currently has 47 RBIs for this Florence Freedom's team. That is the team leader in RBIs. Foss looks in, checks second, has his sign, he's set, and the no ball, 1 strike pitch. And this one grounded to the left side and foul back towards the stands, and the count goes to 0-2 on Oldham. No balls, 2 strikes. A bad luck hit there for Andre Mercurio as Logan Uxa did all he could to try to stop that ball from going to right field. Made a diving stop, almost caught the ball, and his throw to first was with no one covering, so it was a throwing error on Logan Uxa. Trevor Foss looking in. Foss has his sign, he's set, checks second, and the no ball, 2 strike pitch. And this one ground to the left side. That'll be foul as well, and the count remains no balls and 2 strikes. 0-2 the count. 2 straight foul balls hit here by Taylor Oldham. As Oldham out there at first base. Last time we saw these Florence Freedom, we saw Oldham over at third. So he's out there in a new position today at first base. Mercurio taking his lead from second. Trevor Foss looking into Kyle Pollock. Foss has his sign. He's set. Checks second base. And the no ball, 2 strike pitch. And this one grounded towards short. Wobrock handles it. The throw to third. And they got Mercurio. A smart play there by Austin Wobrock. Fielder's choice. 6-5 on the putout. Mercurio is cut down at third base. There's a runner at first with 1 man out. Very smart play there by Austin Wobrock. Saw he had a chance to make the out at third and took it by throwing a strike to Ricky Rodriguez for out number 1. That'll bring to the plate the right fielder, Andrew Godbold. Godbold on the year hitting .296, 9 home runs, and 34 RBIs for this Florence Freedom. Godbold, the number 3 hitter in the order. Runner at first with 1 man out. Taylor Oldham reached on a fielder's choice. Andre Mercurio just cut down at the third base bag. Wild Things looking to go over 500 today. Foss has his sign. He's set. Checks first, and the pitch on the way. And that one's in there at the knees for a strike. No balls and a strike. 0-1 the count. Trevor Foss likes to work down in the zone. When he's not striking batters out, he gets a lot of ground balls. as most of these pitchers do on this Wild Things staff. So if you're an infielder, you got to be ready if you play for the Wild Things. Foss has his sign, checks first, and an early takeoff for Oldham, and Trevor Foss having to look him back to first base. Trevor Foss was set at the belt, and Taylor Oldham started taking off for second way too early. Foss wisely looking over there and noticing before looking him back to the bag. Foss looks in, has his sign, the 0-1, and gobbled a grounder to short. Wobrock to second for one, on to first, and it's in time for the double play, and the inning is over. 6-4-3, as the Freedom get no runs in the inning on a hit, no errors, and nobody left. After one inning of play, the score, your Washington Wild Things 2 and the Florence Freedom nothing here in Game 1 of this three-game series at UC Health Stadium in Florence, Kentucky. Pretty good crowd out here tonight in Florence, Kentucky. About halfway full here at UC Health Stadium for Game 1 of this three-game series. Your Washington Wild Things out there today in their gray road uniforms, while the Florence Freedom are hosting their white uniforms with the red lettering. Game 1 of this three-game series. Your Washington Wild Things looking to go above 500 today. They're 30-30 entering this one. Still just 2.5 games out of that first place spot right behind those Joliet Slammers. The Slammers have won 2 straight games. Their record 33-28. When they played these Florence Freedom, the Freedom actually took 2 of 3 from the Joliet Slammers. Unfortunately, that was the same weekend that the Wild Things got swept by the Southern Illinois Miners, so the Wild Things not able to make ground. The Florence Freedom tried to help the Wild Things, but unfortunately, they could not take it. Going to the top of the second with a 2-0 score. Here, your Wild Things lead. Due up for the Wild Things here in this half inning. Jimmy Yezzo, Jamadrick Magruder, and Austin Wobrock. Last inning for the Wild Things. Andrew Heck flew out to start things. Then Chris Grayson flew out. Ricky Rodriguez singled, and Dave Popkins doubled. So there'd be runners at second and third with 2 men out before Logan Oxa came through with a 2 RBI single. Rodriguez and Popkins would score, and your Wild Things took a 2-0 lead in the bottom of the first. The inning would end as Kyle Pollock would strike out to end that inning. So 7, 8, and 9 due up for the Wild Things. Jimmy Yezzo, Jamadrick Magruder, and Austin Wobrock. Wild Things on the road for a while, but they do return home on August 9th for a 3-game series against the Lake Erie Crushers. For tickets, go to www.washingtonwildthings.com or call the box office at 866-456-WILD. Jimmy Yezzo making his way to the plate to start things here in the top of the second. Yezzo on the day is currently hitting .215 with 8 home runs and 27 RBIs. Patrick McGrath in for his second inning of work. McGrath has his sign. He's set. Here's the pitch. And Yezzo, a fly ball towards center field. Andre Mercurio back a couple of steps, and he will make the catch for out number 1. So 1 pitch, 1 away for the Wild Things here in the top of the second. They lead it 2-0, and coming to the plate is the second baseman, Jamadrick Magruder. Magruder on the year is currently hitting .244 with a home run and 5 RBIs out there at that second base position. Was signed just 2 days before the All-Star break, and has since been batting in the number 1 hole. Then he moved down to 6. Today he's in the 8th spot. The first pitch to him, and that one's low for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count on Jamadrick Magruder. First time through the lineup for the Washington Wild Things. Got 2 runs in the first inning off of Patrick McGrath. Next pitch, and that one's in there for a strike. Count goes even at 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-1 the count here on Jamadrick Magruder. Magruder from Mesquite, Texas, standing in there. McGrath's 1-1, and that one's inside for a ball. Count goes to 2 balls and a strike. Patrick McGrath falling behind Jamadrick Magruder, and we saw him doing that early in this game. Fell behind Andrew Heck and Chris Grayson to start the game. Then was ahead of Rodriguez before his single and gave up 3 straight hits that allowed the Wild Things to score 2. Next pitch is outside for a ball, and the count goes to 3 balls and 1 strike. 3-1 the count here on Magruder. McGrath has his sign, the 3-1, and Magruder lines this one foul off to the right past the first base coaching box, and the count goes full 3-2. Austin Wobrock, the on-deck batter for your Washington Wild Things. Wobrock, the number 9 hitter in this order. Coaching on the base paths for your Washington Wild Things. At first base is hitting coach Mike Marshall, and over at third base is manager Greg Langben. Patrick McGrath has his sign, the 3-2 pitch. And Magruder, a line drive towards center field, and that'll get down for a base hit. A one-out single for Magruder. He gets on base here in the top of the second, and that brings up the shortstop, Austin Wobrock. Wobrock on the year, currently hitting .202 with 1 home run and 13 RBIs. One man out here in the top of the second from UC Health Stadium in Florence, Kentucky. Game 1 of this 3-game series. Wobrock batting in the number 9 spot here for your Wild Things, as he has been for most of the season. Started the year up in the number 2 hole, but has since been moved down to the number 9 spot and actually has been doing very well in this position. McGrath checks first, a pitch, and that one's outside for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. Want to know the count here on Austin Wobrock. Jamadrick Magruder at first base has 2 steals on the year, got both steals in Wednesday night's ball game. McGrath has his sign, checks first, and the 1-0 offering. And Wobrock lines this one foul back behind the stands off to the left side, and the count goes even at 1 ball, 1 strike. 1-1 the count here on Austin Wobrock. 1 man out, top of the second, 2-0. Your Washington Wild Things lead over the Florence Freedom. Patrick McGrath has his sign, he's set, and the 1 ball, 1 strike pitch. Throw over to first, and Jamadrick Magruder gets back in there. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 man out here from UC Health Stadium in Florence, Kentucky. Wild Things got 2 runs in the first inning off of Patrick McGrath, looking to add some more here in the top of the second. McGrath has his sign, checks first, and the 1-1. That one's in there for a strike, and the count goes to 1 ball and 2 strikes. 1-2 the count on Austin Wobrock with 1 man out here in the top of the second. Jamadrick Magruder lining a ball up the middle and getting on base with the single. McGrath has his sign, he's set, and the 1 ball, 2 strike pitch. Magruder taking off for second, pitch inside, the throw down, and it's not in time. Magruder in there with a stolen base, his 3rd steal of the year, 3rd steal in the last 2 games, and the Wild Things have another runner in scoring position with 1 man out as they look to add on here in this top of the second. Not a very quick throw there by Isaac Wenrick. Magruder beat it by a mile. The throw caused shortstop Travis Weaver to have to jump over Jamadrick Magruder, sliding into second base. McGrath has his sign, the 2-2. Magruder for third. This one grounded back to the mound off the glove of McGrath, fielded by Weaver, throwing to first, and that's in time for out number 2. 6-3 on the putout. Meanwhile, Magruder making it in there at third base with 2 men out. So runner at third, 2 out, and that'll bring up the left fielder, Andrew Heck. Heck so far in the day is 0 for 1 in Wednesday night's game against the normal Corn Belters. Heck would go 1 for 5, single, 3 strikeouts, and a ground out in the ball game. 2 men out here in the top of the second. Runner at third for your Wild Things. McGrath has his sign, the pitch, and that one's low for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count here on the Washington Wild Things leadoff man. McGrath, as we said, came off a 14-day DL to make this start tonight. McGrath has his sign, he's set, and the 1 ball, no strike pitch. Heck, a swing and a foul ball, and the count goes to 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-1 the count. Last time Andrew Heck was up, he worked the count full before flying out deep to center field, sending Mercurio back to the track to make the catch. 1 ball, 1 strike, 2 men out, top of the second, 2-0 your Wild Things lead. McGrath has his sign, he's set, and the 1-1 pitch. And Heck takes this one low. It gets by Wenrick. Magruder breaking for the plate, and he will get in there. A wild pitch scores Jamadrick Magruder, and your Wild Things now take a 3-0 lead over the Florence Freedom. That pitch just going through the legs of Isaac Wenrick. Magruder able to come around from third and score the 3rd run of the ball game for your Washington Wild Things. 2 balls and a strike to count here on Andrew Heck. 3-0 Wild Things lead over the Florence Freedom. McGrath looking in, has his sign, he's set, and the 2 ball, 1 strike pitch. And that one's high for a ball. McGrath falling behind Heck, 3 balls and a strike. 3-0 your Wild Things lead here in the top of the second. Game 1 of this 9-game, 10-day road trip for your Wild Things. McGrath has his sign, the 3-1, and Heck pops this one up foul off to the right. It'll get back into the seats, and the count goes full with 3 balls and 2 strikes. 3-2 the count here on Andrew Heck. Heck's been in that leadoff spot for the past 5 games, playing left field for the past 6. Jamadrick Magruder was in the leadoff spot, but really wasn't performing in that position, so Heck having to come in, and he's been doing a nice job up there at the top of the order. The 3-2, a check swing, and it's a called strike 3. Andrew Heck strikes out, and that will end the inning. 1 run in the inning for your Wild Things on 1 hit, no errors, and nobody left on base. After 1.5 the score, your Washington Wild Things 3 and the Florence Freedom nothing. As Patrick McGrath giving up another run in that top of the second. Wild Things adding on as they have a 3-0 lead over the Florence Freedom here in UC Health Stadium in Florence, Kentucky. Game 1 of this 9-game, 10-day road trip. And as we were talking about before, Patrick McGrath came off the 14-day disabled list to make the start in tonight's game. Prior to going on the disabled list, McGrath had some problems over the course of the season. His last time out for McGrath, he ended up giving up 13 runs, all earned, in a 6-inning loss to Southern Illinois. That was back on July the 6th before he went on the disabled list. Gave up 12 hits in that game, walked 3, and struck out 1. He had one other game this year where he's given up multiple earned runs. That was June 8th at River City. He gave up 12 earned runs in that contest, 13 runs total on 14 hits, only lasted 3 2/3 in that one. Trevor Foss out there completing his warm-up tosses. Last inning for the Florence Freedom, Andre Mercurio started things off with a single, and a throwing error by Logan Uxa allowed him to reach second base. Logan Uxa having to dive to his right, nearly made the catch, but the ball fell out of his glove, and he flipped to first base while Trevor Foss was not over there to cover for the out, so Mercurio able to reach second with nobody out. Then the next batter, Taylor Oldham, hit a ground ball to shortstop Austin Wolbrock. Wolbrock wisely corralling the ball and flipping to third for the first out of the inning. Then with a runner at first and one man out, Andrew Godbold hit into a 6-4-3 double play that would end the inning. Up here in the second, Isaac Wenrick, Josh Henderson, and Sean Cooper. 4, 5, and 6 facing off against Trevor Foss. Making his way to the plate to lead things off here in the bottom of the second is Isaac Wenrick, and Wenrick on the year is currently hitting .213 with 4 home runs and 18 RBIs. Wenrick, the number 4 hitter here in this order for the Florence Freedom. And if you're looking for something to do in the Washington area, August 5th and 6th, head down to Waynesburg University as they are putting on their summer play called The Curious Savage. It's about a wealthy widow who's committed to a sanitarium by her 3 stepchildren as they are trying to get her fortune. August 5th and 6th, 7:30 p.m. for The Curious Savage at Waynesburg University. First pitch here to Isaac Wenrick, and that one's at the knees for a strike. No balls and a strike, and when Trevor Foss is ahead, that's what you like to see. Getting ahead of Wenrick and working off of that. The 0-1, and that one's in there as well as the count goes to no balls and 2 strikes. 0-2 the count here on Isaac Wenrick. Trevor Foss on the mound, 8 complete games on the year as he's looking for number 9 on the season. Foss has his sign. Here's the 0-2 pitch, and that one's outside for a ball. 1 ball and 2 strikes. 1-2 the count here on the Florence Freedom catcher. Foss only faced 3 men in that first inning despite allowing 2 of them to reach base. Trevor Foss looking in, has his sign, the 1 ball, 2 strike pitch. And that one's outside for a ball. Count goes even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. 2-2 the count here on Isaac Wenrick. Nobody out. Foss looking for his first strikeout in this ball game. Leads the team with 66 strikeouts so far this season. Foss looking into Kyle Pollock, has his sign. He's set, and the 2 ball, 2 strike pitch. And that one's in the dirt, blocked by Pollock back there, and the count goes to 3-2. 3 balls, 2 strikes here on the Wild Things catcher, or the Freedom catcher, with nobody out here in the bottom of the second. Foss looking in, has his sign. Here's the 3-2, and that one's low, ball 4. First walk of the day for Trevor Foss. Leadoff man reaching base here in the bottom of the second for the Florence Freedom, and that'll bring to the plate the designated hitter, Josh Henderson. Henderson on the year hitting .292 with 1 home run and 17 RBIs. Nobody out, bottom of the second. 3-0. Your Washington Wild Things lead it over the Florence Freedom. So making his way to the plate, Josh Henderson. Runner at first is Isaac Wenrick. Wenrick walked to lead off the inning. Trevor Foss looks in, has his sign, he's set. Checks the runner at first, and the pitch on the way. And that one's in there for a strike on the inside corner. Foss getting ahead of Henderson, no balls and a strike. 0-1 the count. Foss had 2 men on base in the first inning, but did not allow either of them to score as the Wild Things held on to the 3-0 lead. Trevor Foss looks in, has his sign, checks first, and the no ball, 1 strike pitch. And this one grounded to third. Rodriguez bobbles it, has the play at second for 1. They're not going to have time to have the return throw to first, so it's a fielder's choice. 5-4 on the putout. Isaac Wenrick thrown out at second. Ricky Rodriguez unable to handle that ball as it bobbled on him, and that might have cost him the double play. So there's a runner at first with one man out, and the left fielder, Sean Cooper, coming to the plate. Cooper so far on the year hitting .250 with no home runs and no RBIs. One man out, bottom of the second, 3-0. Your Washington Wild Things lead over the Florence Freedom, the number 6 hitter in the order for the Freedom. And Foss would love another double play ball like he got in the first with a runner on and one man out. Trevor Foss looks in, has his sign, he's set, and the first pitch on the way. And this one's called strike, no balls and a strike here to Cooper. 0-1 the count. Sean Cooper not a part of these Florence Freedom the last time these two met at Consol Energy Park in early July. July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd was the last time these two teams met. Trevor Foss looking in to Kyle Pollock. Foss has his sign, he's set, and the no ball, one strike pitch. Throw over to first, and Henderson gets back. Henderson on the year has 2 stolen bases over there at first in 54 games played. Trevor Foss keeping an eye on him over there. Foss looking in to Kyle Pollock, has his sign, he's set, checks first, and the no ball, one strike pitch. And this one grounded to the right side. Rodriguez and Wobrock backhands. Wobrock throw to first, and he's not going to have a play. It's an infield single for Sean Cooper, as that would have taken a Herculean effort there by Austin Wobrock to get it out. Wobrock going all the way in the left field gap over there between third and short. Had to throw over his body, and with the speed of Cooper going down the bases, he had no play. Runners at first and second, one man out, and that'll bring up the second baseman, Daniel Fraga. Fraga on the year, currently hitting .222 with 1 home run and 20 RBIs. Trevor Foss looking in. Josh Henderson, the runner at second, and Sean Cooper, the runner at first. Foss has his sign. He's set, checks second, and the pitch on the way. And that one's low for a ball. Foss falling behind Fraga. 1 ball and no strikes. 1-0 the count here on Daniel Fraga. With Foss, he doesn't seem to have the control he normally has so far in this one. See if he'll get it later in the game. He's been a little wild to start this inning especially. Went 3-2 to Isaac Wenrick before falling behind Henderson and Cooper before each of them singled. Foss has his sign. He's set, checks second base, and the 1 ball, no strike pitch. And that one's inside for a ball as Foss falls behind. 2 balls and no strikes. 2-0 the count here on the number 7 hitter, Daniel Fraga. 1 man out in the bottom of the second as the Florence Freedom have gotten 2 men on in the inning. Only 2 hits given up by Trevor Foss so far. 1 hit in this inning, 1 hit last inning, but he does have a walk on the day and a couple of fielders' choices. Foss has his sign. He's set. Checks second. The 2 ball, no strike pitch. And that one's high for a ball. Count goes 3-0 here to Daniel Fraga as Trevor Foss falling behind Fraga here, looking to fight back in this count. And if you're Trevor Foss, you want to turn in a very good start today, as the starting pitching has not gone as long as you would like it. 6 innings in the last 2 starts, 1 for Matt Fraud and 1 for Luke Wilkins. The bullpen's been worked a little lately, so you'd like to see Foss go at least 7 or 8 in this ball game. Foss checks second. Here's the 3 ball, no strike pitch. And that one's a called strike on the outside corner. Fraga taking all the way, and the count goes 3 balls and a strike. 3-1, 1 man out. Runners at first and second, bottom of the second here at UC Health Stadium, as the Wild Things leading 3-0 over the Florence Freedom. Game 1 of this 3-game series. Right-hander Trevor Foss, really the ace of this staff. 8-3 at .233 ERA. That .233 ERA good for second on the team. His 66 strikeouts good for first on the team. Foss has his sign. He's set, checks second base, and the 3-1. And this one grounded towards second. Magruder has it to second for 1. On to first, and it's not in time for the double play. Fielder's choice 4-6. Fraga flying down the base paths there. Didn't know if they were going to have a play. That ball was hit very slowly to second base. Sean Cooper eliminated at second base. Josh Henderson moves up to third, and there's runners at first and third with 2 men out, and that'll bring to the plate the third baseman, Mason Salazar. Salazar in the year currently hitting .296 with 1 home run and 5 RBIs. 2 men out, bottom of the second. 3-0 your Washington Wild Things lead here over the Florence Freedom. Wild Things taking on the Florence Freedom, the Evansville Otters, and the River City Rascals here on this 10-day, 9-game road trip. Foss has his sign. He's set, checks third, and the pitch on the way. And this one ground to the right side. Diving stop by Rodriguez to his feet. Throw to first. And it's in time to get him. What a play by Rodriguez. And that will end the inning. Rodriguez laying out to his right, getting to his feet, bounced the throw to first. Uxa, a nice pick over there to record the out. So no runs in the inning for the Florence Freedom on one hit. No errors in the inning, and 2 men left on base. After 2 innings of play, the score, your Washington Wild Things 3 and the Florence Freedom nothing. A great defensive play there by Ricky Rodriguez. Florence's manager, Dennis Pelfrey, out there arguing the call with the base umpire, Andy Dodonis. Brian Miller, behind the plate in this ball game. As a great play there by Rodriguez at the end of the inning, robbing Mason Salazar of a hit. Dove all the way to his right, made a great pick, and threw to first. Uxa helping him at the end of that play, picking a ball out of the dirt at first base. So the Wild Things a 3-0 lead going to the top of the third here from UC Health Stadium. Patrick McGrath back out there for his third inning of work. Gave up another run in that third inning. In that second inning of the Washington Wild Things, Jimmy Yezzo flew out to start things, then Jamadric Magruder singled. He would steal second base, his third stolen base in 2 games for Jamadric Magruder. Then Austin Woldbrock grounded out, and Andrew Heck struck out to end that inning. Due up here in the third, Chris Grayson, Ricky Rodriguez, and Dave Popkins. And so far in this one, the Wild Things able to get to Patrick McGrath here. McGrath had a good start to the game as he got Andrew Heck and Chris Grayson to fly out, but then 3 straight hits, a single by Ricky Rodriguez, a double by Dave Popkins, and then a 2 RBI single by Logan Uxa brought in the first 2 runs of this ball game. Kyle Pollock would strike out to end that inning. In the second, Jimmy Yezzo flew out to start things, as we said. Then Magruder added the 4th hit of the game for the Wild Things, stole second base. Then Woldbrock grounded out, and Andrew Heck struck out as Magruder came in via the wild pitch. Chris Grayson set to lead off this inning, and Grayson, as we've talked about, has been on fire at the plate recently. Was 4 for 6 in Sunday's contest against the Southern Illinois Miners, 2 for 4 in game 1 of the 2-game rain-shortened series against the Normal Corn Belchers. And then in yesterday's ball game, ended up going 2 for 3 with 2 singles, 2 walks, and a flyout in that one. So far here today, he's 0 for 1, flew out in inning number 1. Looking to get on base here to start things in the top of the third. And as the Wild Things saw on Sunday in Southern Illinois, get all the runs you can. The pitch, and that one's in there at the knees for a strike. No balls and a strike. 0-1 the count here on Chris Grayson. Grayson, the left-hander, facing off the left-hander Patrick McGrath. McGrath's 0-1, and that one's just off the outside corner for a ball. The count goes even at 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-1 the count here on Chris Grayson with nobody out in the top of the third. 3-0, your Washington Wild Things lead. McGrath has his sign, the 1-1, and that one's swung on a miss by Grayson. The count goes to 1 ball and 2 strikes. 1-2 the count here on the Wild Things center fielder. Chris Grayson leads the team with his .324 average. McGrath has his sign. He's set in the 1 ball, 2 strike pitch. And that one's outside for a ball. Count goes even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. 2-2 the count here on Chris Grayson. Grayson signed from the Sioux Falls Canaries about a week before the All-Star break. McGrath's 2-2, and that one's a called strike 3. So Chris Grayson strikes out, and that's the first out here in the top of the third. Third strikeout of the day for Patrick McGrath, second looking, and that'll bring to the plate the third baseman, Ricky Rodriguez. Rodriguez so far in this one is 1 for 1, singled and scored a run back in the first inning, and in Wednesday night's ball game went 1 for 5, singled, struck out twice, grounded out, and popped out in the contest. McGrath's pitch, and Rodriguez takes that one low for a ball, 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count here on Ricky Rodriguez. 1 man out, top of the third from UC Health Stadium. McGrath has his sign, the 1-0. And that one's a called strike on the outside corner. Count goes even at 1 ball, 1 strike. 1-1 the count. Again, the umpires Brian Miller behind the plate and Andy Dodonis on the bases. McGrath has his sign, the 1 ball, 1 strike pitch. And this one grounded foul off to the left into the Wild Things dugout. Austin Woldbrock in that dugout making a nice barehanded play there on the foul ball by Rodriguez. And the count goes to 1 ball and 2 strikes. Rodriguez, a very nice play at the end of last inning, making a diving stop and having to throw a bouncer to first, but was able to get it there. The 1 ball, 2 strike pitch, and that one's high for a ball. Count goes even at 2-2. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Rodriguez, another one of the 4 Wild Things representatives here at the All-Star game in Florence, Kentucky, went 1 for 2 in that game. That pitch is outside for a ball, and the count goes full to Rodriguez. 3 balls and 2 strikes. 3-2 the count, 1 man out here in the top of the third. Dave Popkins, the on-deck batter, if Rodriguez should reach. McGrath has his sign, the 3-2, and that one's low ball 4. So a one-out walk here from Ricky Rodriguez. He'll reach first with one man out, and that'll bring up the right fielder, Dave Popkins. Popkins so far on the day, 1 for 1, doubled and scored a run back in inning number 1. And in Wednesday night's game against the Normal Corn Belters, Popkins went 0 for 2, grounded out, struck out, and walked twice in the ball game. McGrath has his sign. He's set, checks Rodriguez at first, and the pitch on the way. And that one's low for a ball. Count goes to 1 ball, no strikes here on Dave Popkins. 1-0 the count on the Wild Things right fielder. Ricky Rodriguez, the runner at first. Popkins leads the team with 10 home runs and 33 RBIs on the season. McGrath has his sign, the 1 ball, no strike pitch. And Popkins checks his swing. He went around, said home plate umpire Brian Miller, and the count goes even at 1-1. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 man out here in the top of the third. 3-0. The Washington Wild Things lead over the Florence Freedom. Patrick McGrath has his sign. He's set, checks first, and the 1 ball, 1 strike pitch. And Popkins a grounder to short. Travis Weaver has it to second for 1 on to first, and it's in time for the double play. 6-4-3, and the inning is over. So no runs for the Wild Things on no hits, no errors, and nobody left on base. After 2.5 innings of play, the score, your Washington Wild Things 3 and the Florence Freedom 0. Wild Things not able to add a run on there in the third inning against Patrick McGrath. Scored runs in the first and second, scored 2 runs in the first, 1 run in the second to build this 3-0 lead. Now, we were talking about it earlier today. There is a chance of rain tonight, all night here in Florence, but there's scattered showers. And right now we have a couple clouds over the stadium, a couple dark-looking clouds. But other than that, we've also got some blue skies and the sun's peeking through here on the field. So right now we have good conditions for baseball. Trevor Foss coming back out for his third inning of work. First 2 innings, has gotten into trouble, but has also been able to get out of it. He's not allowed a run to this point. Only 2 hits on the day so far allowed by Trevor Foss. A single by Andre Mercurio to start the game, and then allowed a single to Sean Cooper in last inning, but has had people on base. But the double play ball was his friend in the first inning, 6-4-3, and a great defensive play saved him in the bottom of the second inning as Ricky Rodriguez laying out and throwing a strike over to first, able to rob Mason Salazar of a hit to end that inning. Last inning for the Florence Freedom, Isaac Wenrick walked. Then Josh Henderson reached on a 5-4 fielder's choice. Wenrick was cut down at second. Then Sean Cooper singled, so there are runners at first and second with 1 man out. Daniel Fraga would hit into a 4-6 fielder's choice. Sean Cooper cut down at second base. There are runners at first and third with 2 men out. And Mason Salazar was robbed of a base hit by Ricky Rodriguez. Rodriguez a diving stop at the end of that inning to cut down Salazar at first base. Due up here in the bottom of the third for the Florence Freedom will be Travis Weaver, Andre Mercurio, and Taylor Oldham, the 9, 1, and 2 hitters for the Florence Freedom. And Florence, as we said, has been getting on base against Trevor Foss, but has not been able to bring runners around. Foss has been able to strand a total of 2 base runners through the first 2 innings of play. We'll look this inning to have a clean third inning against the Florence Freedom. Making his way to the plate to lead things off here in the bottom of the third is the shortstop, Travis Weaver. Weaver on the year, is currently hitting .256 with 3 home runs and 19 RBIs. Nobody out here in the bottom of the third. A 3-0 lead for your Washington Wild Things over the Florence Freedom. Game 1 of this 3-game series. Foss on the mound looking in, has his sign, he's set, and the pitch on the way. And this one lined on the left field line, but that'll go foul. Nice pick over there by the ball boy, and the count goes to no balls and a strike. 0-1 the count here on Travis Weaver. Weaver, the number 9 hitter in this Florence Freedom order, was the everyday shortstop for the Freedom. Played all 3 games against the Wild Things back at Consol Energy Park. Foss has his sign, the 0-1, and this one popped foul off to the right, goes back into the seats, and the count goes to no balls and 2 strikes. 0-2 the count here on Travis Weaver, the number 9 hitter in this Florence Freedom order. Foss, for the last time out, as we said, went 9 shutout innings against the River City Rascals back in Consol Energy Park on July 21st. Foss has his sign, the 0-2 pitch, and this ball lined to left field, and that'll get down for a base hit. A leadoff single here in the bottom of the third for the Florence Freedom. The third time in the game, 3 times in 3 innings that the leadoff man has reached base for the Florence Freedoms. Not come around to this point. Hopefully Foss can keep it that way here in the third. Now coming to the plate is the center fielder, Andre Mercurio. Mercurio on the day is 1 for 1 so far. Florence playing yesterday against the Traverse City Beach Bums. Florence got a 3-0 victory in that game last night. And last night's game, Mercurio hit 2 for 4 with an RBI, a run scored, and he also struck out in the game. Foss has his sign. He's set in the pitch, and this one lined right at Uxa, and he'll take it to the bag himself, and that is a double play. A double play lined out to first, and it was an unassisted play by Uxa. There are now 2 outs here in the bottom of the third, and that'll bring to the plate the first baseman, Taylor Oldham. Oldham so far in the day, 0 for 1, reached on a fielder's choice in his first at-bat in last night's game. Oldham did not get a hit as he came in as an offensive replacement for Isaac Wenrick at first base, was 0 for 0 on the day. So Oldham making his way to the plate right now. 0 for 1 so far in this one. 2 men out, bottom of the third, and the Wild Things lead 3-0 over the Florence Freedom. Trevor Foss looking in to Kyle Pollock. Foss has his sign. He's set in the first pitch. And this one fouled off the ankle of Taylor Oldham. That never feels good, and the count goes to no balls and a strike. 0-1 the count here on Taylor Oldham. 2 men out in the bottom of the third. So Wild Things lead 3-0 here in this ball game. Trevor Foss looking into Kyle Pollock. Foss has his sign. He's set. And the no-ball, 1-strike pitch. And this one ground to the right side. Rodriguez, a diving try. He's not going to get it this time, and it'll go in the left field corner. Oldham around first, heading to second. Heckel fielded out there, and it's a 2-out double for Taylor Oldham. Runner in scoring position for the Florence Freedom with 2 men out, and that'll bring to the plate the right fielder, Andrew Godbold. Godbold so far 0 for 1, hitting to a double play in his last at-bat. And in yesterday's ball game, Godbold went 3 for 4 with an RBI, hit his 9th home run of the season in that game. Also scored a run in the contest. 2 men out, bottom of the third. Wild Things lead 3-0 here over the Florence Freedom. Florence has a runner in scoring position with 2 men out. Trevor Foss looking in, has his sign, he's set, and the pitch on the way. And Godbold takes this one for a strike at the knees, no balls and a strike. 0-1 the count here on the Florence right fielder. Godbold, a participant in the 2016 Home Run Derby here in the Frontier League. Ended up winning that Home Run Derby this season. Dave Popkins for the Wild Things, also a participant. Foss has his sign. He's set in the no-ball, 1-strike pitch. And that one's outside for a ball. 1 ball, 1 strike. 1-1 the count here on Andrew Godbold. Godbold, the number 3 hitter in this Florence order, leads the team with 9 home runs on the year. Trevor Foss looking in, has his sign. He's set. And the 1 ball, 1 strike pitch after a check to second. Here it comes. And now time is called as Foss will turn and look Oldham back to the second base bag. 2 outs here in the bottom of the third. 3 runs, 4 hits, and an error for your Wild Things. No runs, 1 hit, and no errors for the Florence Freedom. Trevor Foss looking in. Foss has his sign, the 1-1. And Godbold pops it up. On the right side, Jamadrick Magruder going out to shallow right field. He'll call everybody off and make the catch, and that is out number 3. No runs in the inning for the Freedom on 2 hits, no errors, and 1 man left on base. After 3 innings of play, the score, your Washington Wild Things 3 and the Florence Freedom nothing here in Game 1 of this 3-game series in Florence, Kentucky at UC Health Stadium. A big day for starting pitcher Trevor Foss. Foss looking for his 9th complete game of the season. If he can get that 9th complete game, he will tie the Frontier League record for complete games in a season. The record held by Matt Sheets and Tony Harden back in the 2000 season. So Foss looking for some history here for your Washington Wild Things. Patrick McGrath and the Florence Freedom making their way on the field for the 4th inning of work here in Florence, Kentucky. Wild Things leading 3-0 so far in this one. And Patrick McGrath, as we said, his last time out was against the Southern Illinois Miners. Gave up 13 earned runs in that game against Southern Illinois. That was back on July the 6th. It was here in Florence, Kentucky. Gave up 13 runs, all earned on 12 hits, 3 walks, 1 strikeout, in 6 innings of work and a loss that dropped his record to 2-4 on the season. McGrath returning from the 14-day DL. Nothing serious for McGrath, just had to work out some arm problems and work on his ineffectiveness, as he's so far so good today. I mean, he got roughed up early in the game. 2 runs in the first, 1 run in the second. 3-0 lead for your Washington Wild Things, but so far has been pretty decent at keeping the Florence Freedom in this ball game. Last inning for the Freedom, Travis Weaver singled to start things, then Andre Mercurio hit into a double play, lined right to Logan Uxa at first base. Uxa took it to the bag himself for the second out. This is the Florence Freedom bottom of the third. Taylor Oldham doubled them with 2 outs, and Andrew Godbold popped up to end the inning. For your Wild Things last inning, they only sent 3 men to the plate. Chris Grayson struck out looking, Ricky Rodriguez walked, and Dave Popkins hit to a 6-4-3 double play. Due up here in the fourth, Logan Uxa, Kyle Pollock, and Jimmy Yezzo. Uxa making his way to the plate right now. Uxa so far on the day is 1 for 1, a 2 RBI single in the first inning that got the Wild Things out to a 2-0 lead over these Florence Freedom. And in the game Wednesday night against the Normal Corn Belters, Uxa was actually not a part of that game, as Ricky Rodriguez DH'd in that one, and Jimmy Yezzo played first base. Here's the pitch from McGrath, and that one's in there for a strike. No balls and a strike. McGrath getting ahead of Uxa here in the fourth inning. As we said, McGrath 6 innings of work his last time out. Here's the 0-1, and that one swung on and missed by Uxa as well, and the count goes to no balls and 2 strikes. 0-2 the count here on Logan Uxa. Got some more clouds forming in over here at UC Health Stadium. As we said, there is a chance of rain tonight. The 0-2 pitch, and that one's outside for a ball. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 1-2 the count here on Logan Uxa. Nobody out, top of the fourth. 3-0. Your Wild Things lead this game. McGrath has his sign, the 1 ball, 2 strike pitch. And that one swung on and missed. Uxa has to go down to first as Wenrick will throw down, and that'll complete the strikeout. Strikeout on a 2-3 putout, and that's out number 1 here in the bottom of the fourth. 1 up, 1 down for your Washington Wild Things, and that'll bring to the plate the catcher, Kyle Pollock. Pollock so far today is 0 for 1 with a strikeout, and in Wednesday night's game, as we said, the star offensively of that game went 2 for 3 with an RBI single, tied the game with that RBI single as he hit in inning number 6. So the first pitch to Pollock here is low for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count here on Kyle Pollock. 1 man out, top of the fourth. McGrath's 1-0 pitch, and that one's outside for a ball. 2 balls and no strikes. 2-0 the count here on Kyle Pollock. 1 man out, top of the fourth inning. 3-0 your Washington Wild Things lead over the Florence Freedom. Here's the 2-0 from McGrath, and this one's lined foul off to the right, and the count goes to 2 balls and a strike. 2-1 the count here on Kyle Pollock. 1 man out, top of the fourth. Patrick McGrath, the left-hander, facing Kyle Pollock, the right-handed hitter. Talked to Pollock before the game about his increasing offensive numbers. Just told me he doesn't like to think about it and let the numbers play out themselves. The 2-1, and that one's outside for a ball. 3 balls and a strike. 3-1 the count here on the Wild Things catcher, Kyle Pollock. 3-0 your Wild Things lead over the Florence Freedom. McGrath has his sign, the 3-1, and that one's a called strike on the inside corner. Pollock actually jumping out of the way of that pitch, but it does find the inside corner, and the count goes full. 3-2, 1 man out. Jimmy Yezzo, the on-deck batter for your Wild Things. McGrath has his sign, the 3-2, and that one's outside, ball 4. It's a 1-out walk for Kyle Pollock as he will reach base with 1 man out, and that'll bring up the designated hitter, Jimmy Yezzo. Yezzo so far 0 for 1 on the day. In Wednesday's game, Yezzo was the first baseman for your Wild Things, and he ended up going 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts and a ground out in the ball game. 1 man out here in the top of the fourth. Runner at first as Kyle Pollock walked, and now Yezzo at the plate. McGrath has his sign, checks first, and the pitch on the way. And Yezzo takes this one low for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count on the Wild Things designated hitter, Jimmy Yezzo, the DH today. And usually when that happens, Logan Uxa's out there at first base, as is the case today. McGrath has his sign, checks first, and the 1-0. And this one fouled off to the left side. Giving chase is the third baseman, but he's not going to get there. Third baseman Mason Salazar giving chase, but he ain't getting there, and the count goes even at 1-1. 1 ball, 1 strike, and 1 man out here in the top of the fourth. A 3-0 lead here for the Washington Wild Things, and right now rain falling down here in Florence, Kentucky, as fans scrambling for cover. Still playing baseball on the field, however. McGrath has his sign. He's set in the 1-1, and that one's low for a ball. Count goes to 2 balls and a strike. 2-1 the count here on Jimmy Yezzo. Runner at first, 1 man out. 3-0 Wild Things lead here in the top of the fourth inning. Patrick McGrath looks into Wenrick, has his sign, he's set, checks the runner at first, and the 2-1 pitch to Yezo. And this ball popped up on the infield. Travis Weaver back behind his shortstop position, and he will make the catch, and that is out number 2. Second out of the inning here for the Washington Wild Things, and that brings to the plate the second baseman, Jamadrick Magruder. Magruder 1 for 1 on the day with a singled back in that second inning. And on Wednesday night's game, Magruder ended up going 1 for 3, singled, flew out, hit into a fielder's choice, and walked on the day. 2 men out here in the top of the 4th. 3-0 Wild Things lead. Patrick McGrath looks in, has his sign, he's set, and the pitch on the way. Taking off for second is Pollock. Pitch thrown down, and the ball's dropped by the shortstop Weaver. Kyle Pollock gets in there with a stolen base. That's Pollock's first steal of the year, as they would have had him nailed, but the shortstop, Travis Weaver, unable to hang on to the throw from Isaac Wenrick. 1 ball, no strikes. 2 men out here in the top of the 4th. 3-0 Wild Things lead, as the runner at second is Kyle Pollock. Patrick McGrath looking in. McGrath has his sign. He's set. And the 1 ball, no strike pitch. Now time is called by the home plate umpire, Brian Miller. We said rain falling here in Florence, Kentucky. Game 1 of this 3-game series. Wild Things leading 3-0 here in Game 1. McGrath has his sign. He's set. Checks second. And the 1 ball, no strike pitch. And Magruder takes this one for a called strike on the inside corner, and the count goes even at 1-1. 1 ball, 1 strike, and 2 men out, top of the 4th. Wild Things leading 3-0. Their second baseman at the plate. McGrath looks in, has his sign, he's set, and the 1 ball, 1 strike pitch. After a check to second, here it comes. And that one's low for a ball. Count goes to 2 balls and a strike. 2-1 the count. Jamadrick Magruder had been in the leadoff position after being signed by the Wild Things 2 days before the All-Star break, but due to not producing up there, he's moved down in the order and has since done pretty well. A walk-off hero on Tuesday night was hit by a pitch with the bases loaded, and that brought in the winning run for the Wild Things. McGrath has his sign, and the 2 ball, 1 strike pitch. And that one's a called strike at the knees, and the count goes even at 2-2. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 men out, 3-0 Wild Things lead. 3 runs on 4 hits and an error for your Wild Things. No runs on 1 hit and no errors for the Freedom. McGrath has his sign, checks second base, and the 2-2. And a swing and a miss by Magruder. He strikes out, and that will end the inning. No runs in the inning for the Wild Things on no hits, no errors, and 1 man left on base. After 3.5 the score, your Washington Wild Things 3 and the Florence Freedom nothing. That strikeout on the day is the 5th strikeout for Patrick McGrath through 4 innings, and the Washington Wild Things have been striking out a lot recently. In Game 1 of the 2-game rain-shortened series against the Normal Corn Belters, they struck out a total of 15 times in that ball game. That was actually Wednesday night. They struck out a total of 15 times. 10 strikeouts for the starter, Charlie Galise, and 4 strikeouts for the reliever, Francisco Carrillo, in that one. Brennan Smith also picking up a strikeout in the 9th inning. They struck out 15 times in that one. So far today, have struck out 5 times in 4 innings. So the offense susceptible to swings and misses, but right now, lead this one 3-0 over the Florence Freedom. Trevor Foss back out there on the hill for his 4th inning of work. Has just given up 1 hit in this ball game, and that hit was actually should have been a robbed base hit, as Logan Uxa dove to his right, almost made a spectacular catch, but it fell out of his glove, and he flipped to first base. No one was covering over there at the first base position, so unfortunately it turned into a hit and an error. And right now he's actually given up 3 hits on the day. Excuse me, not just 1 hit, as Foss is out there warming up. Now, Trevor Foss has been around, pitched an affiliated ball before joining the Washington Wild Things, pitched in the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim organization. Split time between their rookie ball and their single A ball level, and rookie ball went 3-0 with a 4.18 ERA. And in Double-A baseball, went 7-2 with a 3.77 ERA. The funny thing is, before this season, Trevor Foss had never thrown a complete game. He threw his first complete game this season, now has 8 on the year, and is looking for a tie of the Frontier League record. The Frontier League record for complete games in a season is 9, set back in the 2000 season. That record, set by Matt Sheets and Tony Harden. Matt Sheets pitched for Johnstown, and Tony Harden pitched for Springfield. Neither of those teams are in the Frontier League anymore. Going to the bottom of the fourth, 3-0 Wild Things lead, and stepping in to lead things off is the catcher, Isaac Wenrick. Wenrick so far, no official at bat. He walked his first time. Foss set, here's the pitch, and Wenrick takes this one on the inside corner for a strike. No balls and a strike. 0-1 the count. The rain's gotten a little harder here in Florence, Kentucky. Some fans still in their seats braving this one out. The players are still on the field. The 0-1, and that one's inside for a ball. Count goes even at 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-1, nobody out here in the bottom of the fourth. Rain has been falling since the top of the fourth inning. Foss set in the 1-1, and that one's high for a ball. Count goes to 2 balls and a strike. 2-1 the count here on the catcher, Isaac Wenrick. Wenrick, the primary catcher for the Florence Freedom. Garrett Vale, his backup. Foss has his sign, the 2-1. And Wenrick takes this one way high for a ball, and the count goes to 3 balls and a strike. And with that, the pitch slipped out of Trevor Foss's hand, and we are going to a rain delay here from Florence, Kentucky. The rain coming down quite a bit now as the teams will head to the dugout, and we are in a rain delay here in the bottom of the fourth, with your Washington Wild Things leading by the score of 3-0. Now, the Wild Things got their offense started way early in this ball game, scored 2 runs in the first inning, and then scored 1 run in the second inning to take this early 3-0 lead. We're shut down offensively in the last 2 innings, and right now, as consistently as the rain was falling hard, now it has almost stopped. So the Wild Things players have untaken the field, and now I think they're going to retake the field. As Chris Grayson had not left his center field position, Brian Miller talking to Dennis Pelfrey, the manager for the Florence Freedom, as right now the rain that was falling just a couple of minutes ago has almost ceased, and now Brian Miller calling him back out to the field. So probably the shortest rain delay in history, about a 2-second rain delay, and we are back and ready on the field. In the bottom of the fourth, the Wild Things lead this one by the score of 3-0. Wild Things players retaking the field as we're going to restart baseball. About a 2-second rain delay here at UC Health Stadium in Florence, Kentucky. So Trevor Foss back out there on the field. The 3-1 pitch from Foss in the downpour just slipped out of his hand. You could tell that it was something wrong with the ball. It was too wet, and Foss just overthrew Pollock by a mile. That's what caused home plate umpire Brian Miller to call the players off the field. Now he's called them back on the field here in this one, as we're going to try to resume baseball as the rain has subsided here from UC Health Stadium, as it was pouring down just a couple of seconds ago. Now we're back, and baseball is going to be resumed. No rain delay, as we had a 2-second rain delay here in this one, and we're back, as the batter right now is Isaac Wenrick. Wenrick has a 3-ball, 1-strike count on him. Foss will get a couple of warm-up pitches, even though he's only off the mound for a couple of seconds, due to that rain. He'll get his chance to warm up and get what he needs. 3 balls and a strike. Nobody out here on Isaac Wenrick. Bottom of the fourth. Players temporarily went off the field due to a big rainstorm, and now they're all back on the field with nobody out in the bottom of the fourth, and Isaac Wenrick stepping back in. Wenrick hitting in the number 4 spot for the Florence Freedom. Wenrick on the year, currently only 4 home runs and 18 RBIs with that .213 average in the number 4 spot of the order. As we said, the leader in this team in home runs, Andrew Godbold. Godbold actually won the 2016 Frontier League Home Run Derby. Foss has his sign, the 3-1, and that one grounded to second. Magruder has it. He'll throw on to first, and that's in time for out number 1. 1 up, 1 down here in the bottom of the fourth as Wenrick's retired, and that'll bring up the designated hitter, Josh Henderson. Henderson so far on the day, 0 for 1, hitting to a fielder's choice. His last time up, and Henderson in yesterday's ball game went 0 for 4 against the Traverse City Beach Bums. Florence Freedom winning that game by the score of 3-0. 3 runs on 4 hits and an error for your Wild Things. No runs, 1 hit, and no errors for the Florence Freedom. Foss has his sign. He's set. Here's the pitch, and that one's outside for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count here on Josh Henderson, the designated hitter for these Florence Freedom. Saw him in left field a little bit at Consol Energy Park. Here's the 1-0, and that one's in there for a strike. Count goes even at 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-1 the count here on Josh Henderson. 1 man out, bottom of the fourth. Trevor Foss so far a shutout through 3 1/3 innings of work. Foss has his sign, the 1-1, and that one's in the dirt. Bounces to the plate, blocked by Kyle Pollock, and the count goes to 2 balls and a strike. 2-1 the count here on Josh Henderson. 1 man out, bottom of the fourth. 3 runs, 4 hits, and an error for your Wild Things. No runs, 1 hit, and no errors for the Freedom. Foss has his sign. He's set in the 2-1 pitch. And Henderson fouls this one away, back off to the left, going up near the sweet level, and the count goes to 2 balls and 2 strikes. 2-2 the count here on Josh Henderson. Henderson, the number 5 hitter in the order for the Florence Freedom. Henderson, as we said, 0 for 4 in yesterday's ball game. Trevor Foss, so far so good in this one, just giving up the 3 hits on the day. Foss has his sign, the 2-2 pitch, and this one swung on and fouled away by Henderson, and the count stays at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Henderson staying alive here against Trevor Foss. Henderson batting from the left-handed side, and just saw a streak of lightning out beyond the center field wall, as Brian Miller, I think, saw that, but the teams are staying on the field. Foss has his sign, the 2-2. And that one's outside for a ball. 3 balls and 2 strikes. 3-2 the count here on Josh Henderson. A clap of thunder just sounding off in the background. 3-2 on Josh Henderson. No rain right now. Henderson set the 3-2 pitch. And this one fouled off as Foss having to throw another pitch. Henderson making him work here in the bottom of the 4th with 1 man out. Trevor Foss, as we were saying, pitched in the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim organization between rookie ball and single-A baseball. Had a combined record of 10-2. ERA in rookie ball 4.18. ERA in single-A 3.77. This pitch grounded to the right side, and that'll go foul past Uxa at first base. Count remains 3 balls and 2 strikes. 3-2 the count on Josh Henderson, the number 5 hitter in the order for the Florence Freedom, fighting Trevor Foss here in the bottom of the 4th. The 9-game road trip for the Washington Wild Things have actually played better on the road this season, 14-12 as opposed to 16-18 at home. This next pitch is outside, and that's ball 4. So after a very long at-bat by Josh Henderson, a good at-bat by him, a 1-out walk, and the Freedom have a runner at first with 1 man out. That'll bring up the left fielder, Sean Cooper. Cooper on the day so far, 1 for 1 with a single. 1 man out here in the bottom of the 4th. Cooper in yesterday's ball game actually did not play as Collins Cuthrell played at third base. Cuthrell in the game went 1 for 4. Cuthrell has a 2.11 average, not playing in tonight's ball game. Runner at first, 1 man out. Bottom of the 4th, 3-0. Your Washington Wild Things lead over the Florence Freedom. Foss has his sign. He's set, and the pitch. And that one's in there at the knees for a strike. No balls and a strike. 0-1 the count here on Sean Cooper. 1 man out, bottom of the 4th. There is a runner at first. See if Foss can make the double play, his friend, here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Trevor Foss looks into Kyle Pollock. Foss has his sign. He's set. And the no ball, 1 strike pitch. Here it comes. And it's grounded to Foss. Foss has it to second for 1, on to first, and the throw pulls Uxa off the bag. Not in time for a double play. Cooper going to second to throw there, and they end up getting the double play, and the inning is over. Double play, 1-6 to 3-6. And the inning is over. No runs in the inning for the Freedom on no hits, no errors, and nobody left. And after 4 innings of play, the score, your Washington Wild Things 3 and the Florence Freedom nothing. It went from not getting the double play to re-getting the double play as the ball grounded back to Trevor Foss. Foss turned, saw he had to play at second, so threw there. Then Wobrock's throw to first base pulled Uxa off the bag. Uxa did about all he could trying to dive to his right to make that stop. He couldn't. It went all the way to the wall in the foul territory, but here it's a cement wall at UC Health Stadium. So it bounced right back to Logan Uxa. Then Uxa threw on the second to Austin Wobrock, and Wobrock able to apply the tag on Sean Cooper to end the inning. Just what Trevor Foss needed. It keeps the Florence Freedom off the scoreboard and keeps the Wild Things with a 3-0 lead here excuse me, in the 5th inning. Now going to the top of the 5th with your Wild Things leading 3-0. For Patrick McGrath, it's his 2nd year with the Florence Freedom. Last season went 2-2 with a 2.72 ERA. This season 2-4 with an 8.10, but also an injury-stricken season as he just came off the 14-day DL. It was actually his 2nd stint on the disabled list for the Florence Freedom this season, so has been dealing with some injuries, trying to get back tonight as he comes off the 14-day disabled list against the Washington Wild Things. We said 2-2, a 2.72 ERA, made 8 starts last season, went 39 2/3 innings, striking out 20 this year through 56 2/3, has struck out 36 and walked 22. Making his way to the plate to lead things off here in the top of the 5th is the shortstop, Austin Wohlbrock. Wohlbrock so far in the day is 0 for 1, and back on Wednesday night, Wohlbrock went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts and a ground out. Lots of strikeouts in that game Wednesday night for your Washington Wild Things. They struck out a total of 14 times against the normal Corn Belters and Charlie Galeese. Galeese set a new career high with 10 strikeouts. McGrath's pitch, and Wohlbrock ground to the right side. That's a base hit. So Wohlbrock wastes no time, takes the first pitch he sees into that gap on the right side of the infield, and gets on to lead off the top of the 5th. The Wild Things have had the leadoff man on in 4 out of the 5 innings here in this one tonight. Andrew Heck making his way to the plate here with nobody out and a runner at first. Heck so far in the day is 0 for 2, flew out in the first, and struck out in inning number 2. Patrick McGrath on the hill for his 5th inning of work. His last time out went 6 innings against Southern Illinois, giving up 13 runs in the contest. So we'll see how far of a leash he has in this one. McGrath set, checks Wohlbrock at first, the pitch, and that one's low for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count here on Andrew Heck. Austin Wohlbrock at first, currently second on the Wild Things team, tied for second with Andrew Heck. Each have 5 steals on the season. McGrath has his sign, checks first, and the 1-0. And Heck takes this one low for a ball, and the count goes to 2 balls and no strikes. 2-0 the count here on Andrew Heck. Heck, a Pittsburgh native, so local to the Washington, Pennsylvania area in his 4th year with the Washington Wild Things team. McGrath looking in, has his sign, he's set, checks first, and the 2 ball, no strike pitch. And that one's in there for a strike at the knees, and McGrath battles back, count 2 balls and a strike. 2-1 the count here on Andrew Heck. Heck has been stepping it up offensively as of late. Started the year as a bench player for the Washington Wild Things, but has since assumed the role of left fielder here over this past week. Throw over to first, and Austin Wohlbrock getting back in there. Wohlbrock, the leadoff single, took the first pitch he saw in the inning to the right side gap on the infield, and was able to reach base. McGrath has his sign, checks Wohlbrock at first, and the pitch on the way. Wohlbrock taking off for second. Pitch inside, and it gets away from Isaac Wenrick. So Wohlbrock in there. Wohlbrock's 6th steal of the year puts him at second place in the stolen base department on this team. And that's the 4th stolen base for your Washington Wild Things tonight against catcher Isaac Wenrick. Kyle Pollock picked up his 1st steal of the year. Logan Uxa picked his 1st steal up of the year. Jamadrick Magruder his 3rd steal of the year. And now Wohlbrock picking up his 6th steal of the year. Patrick McGrath looking in. McGrath has his sign, he's set, and the 2 ball, 2 strike pitch. And that one's low. Ball 3, and I guess it was ball 4. Thought that was a full count, but okay, it's a walk to Andrew Heck. Heck on base, runners at first and second now with nobody out. Thought it was a 3-2 count, but oh well, ball 4. And that'll bring to the plate the center fielder, Chris Grayson. Grayson so far in the day, 0 for 2. Flew out in the first and struck out in inning number 3. Runners at first and second, nobody out. Wild Things trying to build upon their 3-0 lead here over the Florence Freedom. Patrick McGrath looking in, has his sign, he's set, checks Heck at first, and checks Wohlbrock at second. Here comes the pitch. Grayson showing bunt, but will pull back and take a strike. No balls and a strike. 0-1 the count here on the Wild Things center fielder. Grayson's taken over the everyday center fielder duties since being signed from the Sioux Falls Canaries. Played 2 games and left for the Wild Things, but other than that has been in center field. McGrath's 0-1, and that one's low for a ball. Count goes even at 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-1 the count, top of the 5th, 3-0 your Washington Wild Things lead here from Florence, Kentucky at UC Health Stadium. Left-hander Patrick McGrath facing off against the left-handed batter Chris Grayson. McGrath has his sign, he's set, checks Wohlbrock at second, the 1 ball, 1 strike pitch. Grayson showing bunt, gets this one down, but it'll go into foul territory, and the count goes to 1 ball and 2 strikes. 1-2 the count here on Chris Grayson. We'll see if with 2 strikes, Grayson continues to bunt. He showed bunt at every pitch in this at-bat. We'll see if 2 strikes, if that strategy changes. McGrath looking in, has his sign, he's set, and the 1 ball, 2 strike pitch. After a check to second, here it comes. And Grayson to right field. Godbold going back to the track, to the wall, and he reaches up and makes the catch. Nice running play by Godbold, able to stay with that fly ball and make the catch for out number 1. Moving up to third on the play is Austin Wobrock. There's runners at first and third with one man out, and that'll bring to the plate to third baseman Ricky Rodriguez. Rodriguez so far 1 for 1, singled and scored a run in the first and walked in inning number 3. That'll bring Florence Freedom's manager Dennis Pelfrey out of the Florence Freedom dugout, and that will be all for the starter Patrick McGrath, still responsible for Andrew Heck and Austin Wobrock on the corners. We're going to a pitching change here. 3-0 your Wild Things lead in the top of the 5th. McGrath ends up going 4 1/3 innings of work. Book not fully closed on him. He's given up 3 runs, all earned. Still responsible for Austin Wobrock and Andrew Heck on base. Gave up a total of 5 hits, while striking out 5 and walking 3 on the day. 3 walks, 5 strikeouts for Patrick McGrath through 4 1/3 innings of work. So far, he's given up just 3 runs, all earned in this ball game. Still responsible for Wobrock and Heck on bases. Pitching change for the Florence Freedom. Coming into this one is left-hander Zach Wendorf. Wendorf entering the game for the Florence Freedom. Another lefty for the Freedom as they'll continue with the southpaw action. Wendorf on the year is currently 1-2 with an 4.82 ERA, appearing in his 11th game. Has thrown 18 2/3 innings of work, giving up 19 hits, 14 runs, 10 earned, 8 walks, and 18 strikeouts on the season for Wendorf. So Wendorf entering the game for the Florence Freedom. Patrick McGrath, an okay start coming off of the disabled list. Gave up 3 runs so far, all of those earned on 5 hits, 5 strikeouts, and 3 walks. A lot better than his last time out against Southern Illinois, where he gave up 6 innings, gave up 13 runs, all earned, before going on the 14-day disabled list. So Zach Wendorf into the game here in the top of the 5th with runners at first and third and just 1 man out. Due up to face him now with 1 out, Ricky Rodriguez. Rodriguez, as we said, 1 for 1 with a single and a run scored. He's also walked on the day, so Rodriguez stepping to the plate to face off Zach Wendorf. After Rodriguez, it'll be Dave Popkins, the switch hitter, who will continue batting from the right-hand side, as both Wendorf and McGrath, left-handers on the day. And then, if we get to it, Logan Uxa is in the hole. Ricky Rodriguez making his way to the plate. Zach Wendorf, the new pitcher on the mound for the Florence Freedom. 1 man out, top of the 5th. 3-0 your Washington Wild Things lead over the Florence Freedom. Rodriguez so far 1 for 1, single and run scored, and also walked on the day. 1 man out, top of the 5th. Looking in is Zach Wendorf. Wendorf has his sign, checks first base, and the pitch on the way. And Rodriguez takes this one way outside for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. That pitch in the middle of the left-handed batter's box. Rodriguez batting from the right-handed side. 1 ball, no strikes. 1 man out. Ricky Rodriguez at the plate. Rodriguez in his first season with the Wild Things played for the Amarillo Thunderheads a year ago. Zach Wendorf looks in, has his sign. He's set, checks first, and the 1-0. And that one's outside for a ball. Count goes to 2 balls and no strikes. 2-0 the count here on Dave Popkins. Rodriguez at the plate. Zach Wendorf looks in, has his sign, he's set, checks first, and the 2-0. That one's outside, and Wendorf comes in and throws 3 straight balls out of the bullpen for the Florence Freedom. 3-0 the count here on Ricky Rodriguez. Wild Things trying to add on to their 3-0 lead so far in this one. Wendorf has his sign, he's set in the 3-0, and Rodriguez takes this one for a strike. Count goes to 3 balls and a strike. 3-1 the count here on Ricky Rodriguez. 1 man out, top of the 5th. Wild Things scored 2 in the first and 1 in the second, and that's all the scoring to this point. Wendorf has his sign, the 3-1, and this one lined on the right field line. It's hooking and will go foul into the seats. So the count goes full at 3 balls and 2 strikes. 3-2 the count here on Ricky Rodriguez. 1 man out, top of the 5th. Austin Wobrock, the runner at third, and Andrew Heck, the runner at first. Wobrock singled to lead off this inning, and Heck walked after Wobrock's single before Chris Grayson flew out. Wendorf has his sign, the 3-2 pitch. Heck taking off for second, and this one fouled back by Rodriguez, so he'll stay alive as the count stays full at 3-2. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 1 man out. Ricky Rodriguez out there at third base for your Wild Things. Has been alternating lately between third base and designated hitter. Grant Fink's been getting some time at third base this season. Fink out of the lineup in tonight's game, getting a day off. Wendorf has his sign, checks first, a pitch. And Rodriguez grounded to the left side. Weaver handles it, throw across to first, and it's in time for out number 2. Meanwhile, the 4th run of the game will score as Austin Worbrock comes across the plate. It is a fielder's choice for Ricky Rodriguez, 6-3 on the putout and an RBI. And the Wild Things now lead this one 4-0 as they add an insurance run here in the top of the 5th. 4-0 Wild Things lead, and that'll bring to the plate the right fielder Dave Popkins. Popkins so far in the day is 1 for 2, doubled and scored a run in the first and hit into a double play in inning number 3. 2 men out, that run charged to Patrick McGrath. Wendorf's pitch, and Popkins takes this one for a strike on the outside corner. No balls and a strike. 0-1 the count on Dave Popkins. Popkins hit his 10th home run of the season in Tuesday night's game against the Normal Corn Belters. Wendorf has his sign. He's set. Checks second. The no ball, 1 strike pitch. And Popkins pops this up. Shallow center field. Coming in is Mercurio, and he will make the catch, and that is out number 3. However, the Wild Things do add a run in the inning, courtesy of only 1 hit, no errors, and 1 man left on base. After 4.5 the score, your Washington Wild Things lead this one 4-0 over the Florence Freedom. Now the line is final on Florence's starter, Patrick McGrath. Officially goes 4 1/3 innings, giving up 4 runs, all earned on 5 hits, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts in the game for McGrath. So not a terrible start, but not great, coming off of the 14-day disabled list. Today to start against your Washington Wild Things, Zach Wendorf, the relief pitcher, came in. He threw 2/3 of an inning, not giving up an earned run in the contest so far. We'll see if he comes out for inning number 6. Meanwhile, Trevor Foss still on the hill here in the bottom half of the 5th inning. Foss looking for his 9th complete game of the season. Has 8 on the year. He's 8-3 on the season. But not all 8 wins have been complete games. He did pick up a loss in one of his 8 complete games. He lost to the Traverse City Beach Bums. That was way back in the early part of June. They played a doubleheader in Consol Energy Park, went 7 innings, and lost that game. So not all 8 complete games brought him a victory, but 8 complete games on the season nonetheless, as his record sits at 8-3, leads the Wild Things with that 8-3 record. And then once again, rain falling here at UC Health Stadium in Florence, Kentucky. Game 1 of this 3-game series. Your Wild Things leading by the score of 4-0 in this ball game. Last inning for the Florence Freedom. Isaac Wenrick grounded out to start things. Then Josh Henderson walked, and Sean Cooper hit into a fielder's choice. 1-6-3. The throw from Austin Worbrock at second base went wide of the first base bag. Uxa dove to his right. The ball hit off a concrete barrier in foul territory. Bounced right back to Uxa. Then Uxa threw to Worbrock covering at second for the final out of that inning. Due up here in the 5th, Daniel Fraga, Mason Salazar, and Travis Weaver, the 7, 8, and 9 hitters, facing off against Trevor Foss. And once again, we said the rain is falling here at UC Health Stadium. We've had a chance for scattered showers and storms all night long. This is the 2nd time rain has fallen here at UC Health Stadium. Foss set in the pitch, and that one's just low for a ball. Count goes to 1 ball and no strikes. 1-0 the count on Daniel Fraga. Fraga so far in the day, 0 for 1, hit into a fielder's choice so far in this one. The pitch, and that one's a called strike at the knees, and the count goes even at 1-1. Rain falling a little bit harder here at UC Health Stadium. Fraga in yesterday's game, 0 for 4 in the contest. Foss has his sign, the 1-1, and this one lined towards center field. Grayson coming on, and he's not going to make the catch as it falls in front of him for a base hit. Leadoff single for Fraga here in the bottom of the 5th. And for the Florence Freedom, that is the 4th time in 5 innings as well that the leadoff man has reached. So both teams doing a good job of getting the leadoff man on in their respective innings. Florence unable to bring anybody around to this point. Stepping in now is the 3rd baseman, Mason Salazar. Salazar 0 for 1, robbed of a base hit by a diving Ricky Rodriguez in his first at-bat. In last night's game, Salazar, did not play in the game. Foss has his sign. He's set. Throw over to first. And getting back is Fraga. No count here on the 3rd baseman, Mason Salazar. Foss has his sign. Checks Fraga at first. And the pitch on the way. And that one's on the inside corner for a strike. And the count goes to no balls and a strike. And once again, looks like that rain has slowed down here at UC Health Stadium. It's been on and off for the last couple of innings here. Right now, kind of at the off point. Foss has his sign, the 1-0 after a throw over to first. And Fraga getting back in there. Daniel Fraga on the year currently has 19 stolen bases in 61 games. So quite a stolen base guy. You got to watch him over there at first base. And now time is called. Another throw over to first. And Fraga once again getting back. 1 ball, no strikes, the count here on Mason Salazar. Nobody out in the bottom of the 5th. 4-0, your Washington Wild Things lead. Foss has his sign, the 1-0. And this one fouled off to the right and back into the seats. And the count goes even at 1 ball, 1 strike. 1-1 the count here on Mason Salazar, the number 8 hitter in the order for the Florence Freedom, facing off against righty Trevor Foss. Trevor Foss in there with his 9 shutout innings last time out, has right now thrown 13 consecutive scoreless innings. Foss has his sign, checks first, and the 0-2 pitch. This one grounded foul off to the left, and the count will remain no balls and 2 strikes. 0-2 the count here on Mason Salazar, fouling that one off against Trevor Foss. And as Foss, no action in the Wild Things bullpen. And when Foss is on the mound, you're really not expecting action in that Wild Things bullpen. Foss has been very consistent all year, giving you innings. Throw over to first, and Fraga getting back once again. Fraga leadoff single to start this inning against the Washington Wild Things. 4-0 Wild Things lead. Foss has his sign. He's set, and the no-ball, 2-strike pitch. Another throw over to first, and Fraga again back. Foss paying a lot of attention to Daniel Fraga over there, and rightfully so. 19 stolen bases for Daniel Fraga on the year, so he's worth keeping an eye on. Another throw over there, and again, Fraga back. Foss throwing over there now a total of 6 times so far in this at-bat, making sure Fraga doesn't take off against him. Trevor Foss looking in. Foss has his sign. He's set. And the no-ball, 2-strike pitch. And this one lined into left field, and that'll fall in front of Andrew Heck. So back-to-back singles here to start this bottom of the 5th inning. Fraga and Salazar each singling, so nobody out and runners at first and second. And that'll bring to the plate the shortstop Travis Weaver. Weaver so far 1 for 1, singled in his last at-bat. And in yesterday's ball game, Weaver ended up going 0 for 3 in the game. Weaver, the number 9 hitter in the order for the Florence Freedom, making his way to the plate right now. At first is Mason Salazar. At second is Daniel Fraga, as the Freedom have runners at first and second. And nobody out here in the bottom of the 5th trying to cut in to this Wild Things 4-0 lead. Trevor Foss looks in. Foss has his sign, checks second base, and the pitch on the way. And this one fouled off the mask of Kyle Pollock as that one comes off of Pollock's mask, as Pollock having to shake that one off. No balls on a strike here on Travis Weaver. That foul ball coming up near the press box, hit an awning in front of the Florence Freedom broadcasters. Everyone watching out here in the press box. No balls and a strike, nobody out. Trevor Foss on the mound. Runners are at first and second for the Florence Freedom. Foss looking in. And now time is called as Foss wants to talk to Kyle Pollock. The rain has picked up again here at UC Health Stadium in Florence, Kentucky. As we said, on and off rain all night in the forecast. Right now it's on, and it's coming down pretty good. Most of the fans here at UC Health Stadium have fled for cover and are watching this one from the awnings around the ballpark. No balls and a strike, nobody out. Trevor Foss looking in. Travis Weaver at the plate. Foss has his sign. He's set, and the no-ball, 1-strike pitch. Weaver showing bunt, pulls back and takes a ball, and the count goes to 1 ball and 1 strike. Count even here on Travis Weaver. Weaver trying to sacrifice his men over to second and third, which with his team down by 4 is a smart move. See if he can get it down. Hopefully Foss can keep him from doing so. 1 ball, 1 strike, nobody out. Trevor Foss looking in to Kyle Pollock. Foss has his sign. He's set, checks second, and the 1 ball, 1 strike pitch. And this one grounded towards second. Magruder has it to tag the guy at second for 1 to first. And it's not in time for the double play. So a fielder's choice, 4 unassisted for Travis Weaver. Mason Salazar cut down at second base. Weaver reaches first. And Daniel Fraga moving up to third. Magruder diving to tag the runner going to second base. And almost got the runner at first. However, Weaver hustling down the line and able to beat that throw. So there's one out, runners at first and third, and Andre Mercurio coming to the plate. Mercurio so far in the day, 1 for 2, singled and hit into a double play his last time. Now, if we get through this bottom of the 5th inning, it is a complete game. And with this rain falling down, that's something to keep in mind. Foss has his sign, the pitch, and that one's outside for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count. As long as we go 5 innings in this one here at Florence, since Florence is losing, it would be considered a complete game. Trevor Foss, a 1-0 count here on Andre Mercurio. They're trying to get through this 5th inning with sporadic rain due throughout the night. Trevor Foss looks in, has his sign, he's set, checks third, and the 1 ball, no strike pitch. And this one lined towards center field. It's over the head of Magruder, a base hit. Fraga comes in to score. They're going to wave Weaver from third. Now they're going to hold him. And in there with an RBI double is Andre Mercurio. And the score now, Florence Freedom 1 and your Washington Wild Things 4. An RBI double for Andre Mercurio as they cut into the lead. Fraga scores. Travis Weaver makes it up to third. There are now runners at second and third with 1 out. And the tying run, Taylor Oldham, coming to the plate. Oldham so far is 1 for 2, doubled and hit into a fielder's choice in this one. 4-1, your Washington Wild Things lead over the Florence Freedom. Trevor Foss trying to get through this 5th inning of work with the Wild Things still ahead. It's 4-1. Oldham represents the tying run. Travis Weaver, the runner at third, he reached on a fielder's choice. Andre Mercurio doubled. He is at second base. Foss has his sign. He's set. Checks third. And the pitch on the way. And it's inside and hits him. Got him in the shoulder area. And now the bases are full of Florence Freedom here with 1 man out. That one coming up and in from Trevor Foss as their bases are full. And now they're going to call the players back into the dugout again as the rain pouring down here at UC Health Stadium. So we're going to go into a rain delay. Second time the players have left the field in this one. First time it was only for a few short seconds, but this time the rain coming down, and looks like we're in for a rain delay here at UC Health Stadium. Currently, your Wild Things leading this one by the score of 4-1. The Florence Freedom will have the bases loaded and 1 man out when we resume play in this moment. Right now, the rain coming down here at UC Health Stadium. Trevor Foss in his first big jam of the game. Has been in some little jams throughout the contest. Had first and second, 1 out in the first inning. Had had first and second first and second with nobody out in the second inning. Had a man at second with 2 outs in the third inning. Last inning, the only inning really wasn't in a jam. This inning, bases loaded and 1 man out. The runners are Travis Weaver, Andre Mercurio, and Taylor Oldham. Weaver at third, Mercurio at second, and Oldham at first as the bases are loaded. Dennis Pelfrey for the Florence Freedom having a talk with home plate umpire Brian Miller as the rain falling down here at UC Health Stadium. We're in the bottom of the 5th. The Wild Things lead this one by a score of 4-1, and right now it is not a complete game as we have not gotten through the bottom of the 5th. As the Florence Freedom are down, we would have had to get through this bottom of the 5th inning. Right now, the team's waiting out this rain delay in the dugouts. 4-1, your Wild Things lead. And while we got some time, we're going to go over the scoring recap in this one so far. Wild Things got out to an early lead in this one. Andrew Heck and Chris Grayson flew out to start the game. Then Ricky Rodriguez singled. Dave Popkins doubled. Their runners at second and third with 2 men out before Logan Uxa came through with a 2 RBI single. For Uxa, it was RBIs number 13 and 14 on the season, and the Wild Things took an early 2-0 lead. Kyle Pollock would then strike out to end that first inning. Wild Things back at it in the top of the second. Jamadrick Magruder singled to start things, then stole second base. Austin Wobrock would ground out, moving Magruder to third, and then a wild pitch would score Magruder during Andrew Heck's at-bat. That made it 3-0 Wild Things. Andrew Heck would then strike out to end that inning. Wild Things would then take a 3-0 lead in the top of this 5th inning. Austin Wobrock singled on the first pitch of the inning, then stole second base. It was his 6th steal of the year. Andrew Heck would walk, so there would be runners at first and second with nobody out. Chris Grayson would then fly out, and that would be all for the starter Patrick McGrath. Then Ricky Rodriguez hit a fielder's choice 6-3 on the putout, but an RBI as Austin Wobrock scored the 4th run of the game for your Wild Things, and they led 4-0 at that point. Dave Popkins would fly out to end the inning. Then the Florence Freedom got their run here in the bottom of the 5th. Daniel Fraga singled to lead things off. Then Mason Salazar singled. There were runners at first and second, nobody out. Travis Weaver then hit into a fielder's choice. A very nice play by Jamadrick Magruder as he got the ground ball, then dove and made the tag on the runner going to second. For the first out of the inning. There were runners at first and third with one man out. Then Andre Mercurio, an RBI double to right center field. That one scored Daniel Fraga and made the score 4-1. And Taylor Oldham was just hit by a pitch. The bases are full of Florence Freedom with one out here in the bottom of the fifth, but we are in a rain delay with the Wild Things leading 4-1 in this ball game. It's game one of a three-game series between your Wild Things and the Florence Freedom. Game one of this 9-game road trip, 3 cities, 9 games in 10 days, as we'll play 3 here in Florence, Kentucky. Then we will go on to Evansville to take on the Otters Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And the road trip will wrap up next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday as the team will be in River City to take on the River City Rascals. And this is really a stretch where your Wild Things should take advantage. They're facing, 2 of the bottom teams in this Frontier League West Division. The River City Rascals sitting in 5th, Florence Freedom sitting in 6th. Of course, they have the Evansville Otters, who are in 2nd in the Frontier League West, splitting those guys. But if you're the Wild Things, you'd love to have a very good road trip. Go 7-1, go 8-1, 7-2, something like that. Feast on these bottom teams here in the Frontier League West and better your positioning. You're 2.5 games behind the Joliet Slammers for first place in the Frontier League East. So go out, play your game, collect some wins, and hopefully improve your standings matter. If we look at the Frontier League East standings right now, the Windy City Thunderbolts are only a game behind your Washington Wild Things. They sit at 3.5 back. Your Wild Things currently sitting at 2.5 games back in the Frontier League East standings. So you don't want to lose your second place position. Right now you're leading 4-1 over the Florence Freedom. Hopefully you can take this game after this rain delay is over. Get out of here with a winning game one. Hopefully you'd like to sweep the Florence Freedom, but you would take 2 out of 3. Then go into Evansville, hopefully take 2 out of 3 from them, and finish it with River City, hopefully taking again at least 2 out of 3 from the River City Rascals. But this is a stretch where the Wild Things have to start working on their positioning. They haven't been playing their best baseball over the last week or so. They sit at 30-30 on the season, and if they can come in with a good stretch here, it'll improve their position. And they currently are in the playoff picture. Hold on to that 4th wild card spot here in the Frontier League West, as they're the second-place team in the Frontier League East standings. How the playoffs work here in the Frontier League, the top 2 teams make the playoffs, the 2 division winners, and then it's the next two teams with the next best records in each division. So right now it'll be the Wild Things and the Evansville Otters currently holding on to playoff spots. That's if the season would end today. Your Wild Things would be the 4th seed. The Evansville Otters would be the 3rd seed. Then Joliet, the 2nd seed, and Southern Illinois, the 1st seed. But the Wild Things right now holding on to a playoff spot, currently in a rain delay here at UC Health Stadium. They lead by the score of 4-1 in the bottom of this 5th inning. We have a whole slate of games going on around the Frontier League in tonight's action, as it's a Friday night full of action here in the Frontier League. Wild Things here in Florence for game one of this 3-game series. 4-1 the score here in the bottom half of the 5th inning. However, the Florence Freedom are threatening. They do have the bases loaded, with one man out. Trevor Foss will look to get out of that jam when we return from this rain delay. But the rain has been on and off all night here in Florence, Kentucky, ever since the 4th inning. And it's been causing a nuisance since that 4th inning. Trevor Foss tried to pitch through it here in the 5th, but couldn't. You saw that last pitch of the inning before the rain delay was called. Foss actually hit Taylor Oldham in the shoulder near the head area as the ball slipped out of his hand, and that prompted home plate umpire Brian Miller to call the players off the field. Right now in the rain delay, bottom of the 5th, 4-1, your Washington Wild Things lead over the Florence Freedom. Game one of this 3-game series. Trevor Foss, looking for his 9th complete game of the season, has 8 complete games so far. And the way he's pitching right now, I don't know if he'll pick up that 9th complete game. He's been a little wild all night. He's dealt with runners on base for most of the night. He's been working out of jams when he's needed to. Has allowed a run here in the bottom of the 5th. And we'll see if he can get out of the jam here in this one. If he can pick up that 9th complete game, he will tie the Frontier League record for complete games in a season. That record set back in the 2000 season. The pitchers who hold that record are Matt Sheets and Tony Harden. Both did it in the 2000 season. Trevor Foss looking to do it here in 2016. But as we said, a full slate of games for you around the Frontier League. Currently in the bottom of the fourth, the Schaumburg Boomers leading the Southern Illinois Miners 3-2. Those Miners had a 9-game winning streak coming off of the All-Star break, have lost the last 2 and are currently losing to the Schaumburg Boomers. See if their losing streak can continue tonight. Traverse City leading Evansville 6-5 in Evansville. That game in the bottom of the third. In the bottom of the fourth, the Normal Corn Belters lead the Lake Erie Crushers by a score of 2-0. River City and Joliet are scoreless in the bottom of the third in Joliet. And Windy City defeating the Gateway Grizzlies 2-1 in the bottom of the third from Gateway. So a full slate of action around the Frontier League. Currently in a rain delay here in the bottom of the fifth with the Wild Things leading 4-1 here at UC Health Stadium, home of the Florence Freedom in Florence, Kentucky. Wild Things left for Florence this morning, got in around 1:30 to the hotel. The players had a chance to get something to eat. Then we made our way over to the ballpark about 4 o'clock, so the players are well rested and ready for the game. Currently leading 4-1, only 5 hits for your Wild Things as the Florence Freedom out-hitting your Washington Wild Things. 7 hits to 5 hits in this ball game, but the Wild Things leading in the category that matters, and that is the scoreboard. Currently 4-1, your Wild Things lead. Wild Things looking to go over 500 on the season. They're 30-30 coming into the game today. A couple of roster moves made by your Wild Things over the last couple days as they signed infielder Ryan Willard. Willard from North Carolina State University has not appeared in a Wild Things game to this point, but was signed on Tuesday before the start of the series with the Normal Corn Belters. Ryan Willard has just seen bench time so far for your Washington Wild Things. The other signee, Steve Sokolowski. Sokolowski was signed yesterday, a third catcher on this team. He joins Kyle Pollock and Zach Fish as the catchers on this Washington Wild Things team. Kyle Pollock, the primary catcher. Zach Fish, we saw as a DH in the first game against the Normal Corn Belters, the backup catcher for the Washington Wild Things. And now Steve Sokolowski joins the mix as the third catcher for your Washington Wild Things. Currently in a rain delay, bottom of the fifth. Wild Things lead this one 4-1 over the Florence Freedom. And while we're in this rain delay, you got any questions regarding the Washington Wild Things, tweet them into me at BigZig73 or hit me up on Facebook, Zach Ziegler. I'll answer them on the air. You want any topics you'd like me to discuss about the Wild Things during this rain delay, just let me know and we'll hit on them. Once again, tweet me at BigZig73 or on Facebook at Zach Ziegler. I'll try to answer as many as I can on the air while we're in this rain delay. While we're in the rain delay, we're going to take a look at the Frontier League standings for both the Eastern and Western divisions so far this season. The Eastern Division standings, the Joliet Slammers have a strong hold on the top spot. They sit at 33-28. Then your Washington Wild Things at 30-30. The Windy City Thunderbolts 30-32. Lake Erie 29-32. Excuse me, then Schaumburg 28-35. And Traverse City 27-35 on the season for them. Taking a look at the Western Division standings, Southern Illinois leads with a record of 43-18. Then Evansville at 34-27. Gateway sits in third, 31-33. Then the Normal Corn Belters 30-32. River City 29-32, and the Florence Freedom 6-36. So Florence Freedom sitting in the bottom of the Frontier League West Division. Your Washington Wild Things in second in the Frontier League East Division. Wild Things looking to improve their standing on this 10-day, 9-game road trip. They'll travel to Florence, they'll travel to Evansville, and then they'll travel to River City. Rain still falling here in Florence, Kentucky at UC Health Stadium. Game 1 of this 3-game series, your Wild Things leading by the score of 4-1 in this ball game. Going to take a look at the upcoming schedule for your Washington Wild Things. After this series, August 2nd through the 4th, as we said, they're in Evansville to take on the Evansville Otters. The Otters took 2 of 3 from your Wild Things last time they were at Consol Energy Park. The Wild Things looking to rebound against the Evansville Otters. Then, August 5th through the 7th, they'll be at River City. That'll conclude this 10-game road trip. Last time River City was in Consol Energy Park, the Wild Things took 2 out of 3, splitting a doubleheader with the River City Rascals before Trevor Foss did his work against the Rascals in Game 3 of that 3-game series. Foss 9 shutout innings in that one. Gave up actually his first run since that start in today's ball game through 13 consecutive scoreless innings before giving up a run here in the bottom of the fifth. Your Wild Things leading 4-1 in this ball game. Then after the series with River City, the Wild Things will be back home August 9th through the 11th to take on the Lake Erie Crushers at Consol Energy Park. That'll be the third meeting between the two teams on the season. They've had one meeting at Consol Energy Park where it was a rain-shortened two-game series. They split that series. First game went into 13 innings. The Lake Erie Crushers would win that one, and the Wild Things won game 2 of that series. Then the Wild Things swept them last time when they were in Avon, Ohio, to take on the Lake Erie Crushers at All-Pro Freight Stadium. A sweep in that one. So the Wild Things on the year 4-1 against the Lake Erie Crushers. Then after that, they'll go back on the road for a 6-game road trip. August 12th through the 14th, they'll be at the Windy City Thunderbolts. And the Windy City Thunderbolts, the first time the two teams met, owned the series at Consol Energy Park. They took 2 out of 3. But then the last time the two teams met, the Wild Things ended up taking 2 out of 3. So the record for the Wild Things against the Windy City Thunderbolts sitting at 3-3. Windy City actually led this division for the better part of the first half of the season. Were knocked off by the Wild Things, and then the Joliet Slammers, who currently hold that first base spot. Then after August 12th through the 14th, August 16th through the 18th, the Wild Things will travel to Traverse City, Michigan, to take on the Traverse City Beach Bums. That'll end the 6-game road trip for the Washington Wild Things, and then they will return home for another 3-game homestand. That'll be a 10-game homestand they'll return for. August 19th through the 21st, they'll take on the Lake Erie Crushers, and a 3-game series. That'll be the final meeting between the Wild Things and the Crushers on the season. Right now, we're in the bottom of the 5th of a rain delay here in UC Health Stadium here in Florence, Kentucky. 4-1, your Washington Wild Things lead over the Florence Freedom. Trevor Foss so far, 4 1/3 innings pitched, just giving up 1 run on 7 hits on the night. Patrick McGrath has finished his night in this ball game. McGrath going a total of 4 1/3 innings of work, giving up 4 runs, all earned on 5 hits, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts for Patrick McGrath. Zach Wendorf came in and got the last 2 outs of the top of the 5th inning, keeping the Wild Things just adding 1 run in that 5th inning of work. 4-1 Wild Things lead here. We're in a rain delay in Florence, Kentucky at UC Health Stadium, just outside of Cincinnati. We're about 20 minutes south of the Cincinnati area, past the Cincinnati Reds Stadium and also past the Cincinnati Bengals Stadium on our way over here. So got a couple good sights on the road as we got a chance to see a couple of the professional stadiums. As talking to manager Greg Langben, he said that he's been in all these Major League stadiums, loves Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, says it's set up very nicely. And then actually when they first made Great American Ballpark, they had no bullpens. They actually forgot about the bullpens out there. They had to add them in. Luckily, they had a couple storage units, and that created the bullpen area in Great American Ballpark. So learn some fun facts about Great American Ballpark on the way from manager Greg Langben. It was a good trip up here, and now game 1 of this 3-game series, currently in a rain delay in the bottom of the 5th, with the Wild Things leading 4-1 over the Florence Freedom. As we said, first game of a 9-game, 10-day road trip for your Washington Wild Things. Lightning still striking in the background. Rain still falling pretty hard here at UC Health Stadium. In tonight's pitching matchup, Trevor Foss came into the game looking for his 9th complete game of the season. He has 8 complete games on the year. If he can get that 9th one, he'll tie the Frontier League record. He's really been the ace of this Wild Things staff, going 8-3 on the year so far, with a 2.33 ERA on the year. That 2.33 ERA, good for second on your Washington Wild Things. Foss picked up 66 strikeouts on the year. That's good for first. Foss is first, then Matt Frauden second on this team. Frauden has, if I can get to it, Frauden has 55 strikeouts. Luke Wilkins 40, and Devin Davis 33 strikeouts on the year. Trevor Foss also leads the team in innings pitched at 96 1/3 coming into today's ball game, as he is now over 100. He's gone 4 1/3. He's at 100 2/3 innings pitched for the season. It's actually the first time Trevor Foss has thrown over 100 innings pitched in a season. His previous career high in innings pitched was 96 1/3 this season, so expanding upon that this season. And actually, before this season, Foss had not thrown a complete game on the year, in his career, excuse me. He has 8 complete games on the season here in the Frontier League, and has really been dominating Frontier League hitting. He's only had 1 or 2 bad starts. Had a bad start against Joliet in Joliet early in the season. Gave up 6 runs. 6 runs in that ball game, 6 earned runs. That is his season high, 6 earned against Joliet. Also gave up 12 hits in that game. So that was one of his bad starts. Also had another bad start against Joliet. So Joliet, the only team not treating Trevor Foss well this season. Other than that, Foss has been very good for your Washington Wild Things. He pitched, 3 years in the Los Angeles Angels organization, pitched for their Rookie League AZL Angels in 2015, pitched for the Orem Owls, which was also a Rookie League team for them in 2013. In rookie ball, in a combined 3-0 with a 4.18 ERA. Appeared in 15 games, 6 starts, gave up 45 hits, 16 runs, 15 earned, walked 12, and struck out 29 in 32 1/3 innings pitched in rookie ball for Trevor Foss. Then he also pitched in single-A ball, pitching for the Burlington Bees, the Inland Empire 66ers on 2 occasions. With single-A ball, went 7-2 with a 3.77 ERA, appeared in 41 games, 9 starts in single-A baseball. Gave 131 hits, 66 runs, 50 earned, 29 walks, and 88 strikeouts in a combined 119 1/3 innings pitched. And then this season, having a career year, is a career high in wins this season, approaching his career high in strikeouts. Also, a career high in complete games with 8. His only 8 complete games in his career. Got his first save of his career here in Washington. So doing a lot of good this year is Trevor Foss. Currently in a rain delay, bottom of the 5th, 4-1. Your Washington Wild Things lead this ball game as when we resume, the Florence Freedom will have the bases loaded and 1 man out. Going to take a look at the pitching matchups for the rest of these games in this series. Tomorrow night, 6:05 first pitch, game 2 of this 3-game series. Chase Cunningham takes the hill for your Washington Wild Things. Cunningham coming off of 2 bad starts, but both those starts were against the best team in the league, against the Southern Illinois Miners. Has not gone 5 innings in a start in 2 straight starts. Went 4 innings the first time against Southern Illinois, and then went 4 1/3 his last time out. Has not been good. Looks to rebound against these Florence Freedom. On the mound for the Florence Freedom, will be Tony Vaca for the Florence Freedom. Vaca on the year comes into tomorrow's game with a record of 0-1, a 4.54 ERA in 33 2/3 innings pitched. He's given up 21 runs, 17 earned on 36 hits, has walked 16 and has struck out 35 on the year for Vaca. Currently in the bottom of the 5th. 4-1, the Washington Wild Things lead this one over the Florence Freedom. Rain still coming down here at UC Health Stadium, so we're waiting out this rain delay here. Game 1 of this 3-game series. First of a 9-game road trip. Continuing on the pitching matchups for the rest of this series. On Sunday, it'll be Sam Agnew-Whelan taking the hill for the Washington Wild Things. Agnew-Whelan last time out was not very good, but he pitched against Southern Illinois as well. Went 4 1/3, gave up 6 runs, all earned in that game against Southern Illinois. Had to be relieved by Luke Wilkins. Wilkins threw 2 perfect innings in that ball game out of relief, and Agnew-Whelan's last time on the mound in general was out of the bullpen. Just went 1/3 of an inning on Wednesday night and gave up 3 runs in relief of the starting pitcher Luke Wilkins. So they flip-flop positions from the last time. Agnew-Whelan getting the start on Sunday for the Florence Freedom. Sunday starter for the Florence Freedom will be Jordan Kraus. Kraus just coming off being named the Week 11 pitcher of the week. Has a record of 1-2, a 2.63 ERA on the year, and 27 1/3 innings for the Freedom. Have given up 19 hits, 15 runs, 8 earned on 8 walks and 16 strikeouts. Jordan Kraus, was a member of the Lake Erie Crushers earlier this year and has pitched against the Wild Things this season. So those are the upcoming pitching matchups for this series between your Washington Wild Things and the Florence Freedom. Currently in a rain delay here in the bottom of the 5th, 4-1, your Washington Wild Things lead over the Florence Freedom. Rain pouring down here at UC Health Stadium. It's been pretty consistent since the bottom of the 5th inning, not letting up in this one. We've said we've had a chance for scattered showers and storms all day. Umpires coming out of the Washington Wild Things dugout just spoke with manager Greg Langman. They've also were speaking with manager Dennis Pelfrey as we're waiting out this rain delay. Still thunder and lightning throughout the stadium, but the players are waiting it out. We're in the bottom of the 5th inning. This is not an official game as of yet. Wild Things leading 4-1 here in the bottom of the 5th. They would have had to get through this bottom of the 5th inning for it to count as an entire game, and it would count on the stat sheet. Wild Things 30-30 coming into today's ball game. Still in a rain delay, bottom of the 5th. We've been in this rain delay for a good 20-25 minutes already. As we said, this rain has been pretty consistent here in Florence, Kentucky. Just a really big lightning strike in the background beyond the center field wall, as this lightning and thunder still persistent. Showers and storms were in the forecast all night here in Florence, Kentucky, and they are coming true. At the beginning of the ball game, looked like we were going to get a good game in, as there were sunny skies, just a couple of clouds here and there in the area above the ballpark, and right now the skies have opened up. They opened up initially in the 3rd inning. Players were called off the field, but that was only about a 2-second rain delay, as the players were immediately ushered back onto the field to continue play. And now this cell came through and has poured down rain and has kept the Wild Things off the field for a good 20 to 25 minutes. We'll give you any updates as we figure them out. You're listening to the MSA Sports Network's coverage of Washington Wild Things baseball. 4-1, the Wild Things lead in this one. 4 runs on 5 hits, 1 error for your Wild Things. 1 run on 7 hits and no errors for the Florence Freedom. However, the bases are loaded for the Freedom with 1 man out in this bottom of the 5th. Trevor Foss will try to get out of this jam when we resume play in this one. So as we said, about 25 minutes so far on the rain delay. No words. The umpires have talked to both dugouts, however, as looks like we're going to wait this one out for a little while. Remember, if you have any questions for me, hit me up on Twitter at BigZig73 or on Facebook, Zach Ziegler. I'll answer as many questions as I can on the air during this rain delay, waiting it out here between your Washington Wild Things and the Florence Freedom. Wild Things leading 4-1. The first game of this 3-game series, game 1 of this 9-game, 10-day road trip. Wild Things on the road for a while, and they've actually played better on the road, 14-12 on the road as opposed to 16-18 at home. So they'll look to improve upon that road record and keep things going on the road against these Florence Freedom. They lead 4-1 here in the bottom of the 5th. Going to take a look at some of the stats leaders here on this Washington Wild Things team. In terms of average, Chris Grayson leads things at .324. Then Dave Popkins hitting .298 in the 2nd spot. Ricky Rodriguez in the 3rd spot hitting .296. And Kyle Pollock 4th hitting .273. In the home run department, Dave Popkins leads things with 10 home runs. Then Jimmy Yezzo with 8. Rodriguez and Grant Fink with 5, and Logan Uxel with 4. In the RBI department, Dave Popkins leads things with 33. Then Jimmy Yezzo 27, Ricky Rodriguez 22, and Austin Wobrock and Grant Fink each have 13. Stolen bases, Chris Grayson 8. Now Austin Wobrock 2nd with 6, Andrew Heck 3rd with 5, and Dave Popkins 4th with 4. The walks department, Dave Popkins has 39, Ricky Rodriguez 18, Logan Uxa 16, and Andrew Heck 15. And then finally in the strikeout department, Dave Popkins 57, Ricky Rodriguez 47, Grant Fink 45, and Austin Wobrock 41. Those are your stat leaders offensively for the Washington Wild Things. Currently in a rain delay here in the bottom of the 5th. 1 man out. The bases are full of Florence Freedom. We've been in this rain delay for about a half hour now here at UC Health Stadium. It's Pokemon Go night here in Florence, Kentucky, honoring the handheld game that's done very well across the country. I play Pokemon Go. A lot of the players on the Wild Things team play Pokemon Go. They're honoring it here tonight, the app and the show as well. Lots of Pokemon characters around the ballpark as they're honoring Pokemon Night here in Florence Freedom. There's supposed to be fireworks after the game, but with this rain falling down, not quite sure we're going to get to see any fireworks after this contest. Currently in a rain delay here in the bottom of the 5th. 4-1, your Washington Wild Things lead over the Florence Freedom. It's game 1 of a 3-game series. Wild Things got this lead early on in the ball game in the top of the 1st after Andrew Heck and Chris Grayson flew out to start things. The Wild Things put together 3 straight hits, a single by Ricky Rodriguez, a double by Dave Popkins, and a 2 RBI single by Logan Uxa gave your Wild Things a 2-0 lead in the ball game. Wild Things would add on in the very next inning as with 1 out, Jamadek Magruder singled, stole second base for his 3rd steal of the year. Austin Wolbrock grounded out, which moved up to 3rd, and then a wild pitch scored him for the 3rd run of the ball game. It was 3-0 Washington Wild Things. Wild Things added on in the top of the 5th inning. Austin Wolbrock singled to start things, then stole second. It was Wolbrock's 6th steal of the year. Then Andrew Heck walked. There were runners at first and second with nobody out. Chris Grayson would then fly out, and Wolbrock would tag and move to 3rd. There were runners at first and 3rd with 1 man out, and that would be it for Patrick McGrath. Zach Wendorf came in to relieve him, gave up a fielder's choice 6-3 on the putout for Ricky Rodriguez. That allowed Wolbrock to score and gave the Wild Things a 4-0 lead. Then Dave Popkins flew out to end the inning. Final line on the starter, Patrick McGrath. McGrath went 4 1/3 innings in the contest, gave up 4 runs all earned on 5 hits, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts on the day for McGrath. Zach Wendorf got the last 2 outs of that 5th inning. The Florence Freedom got their first runs of the game in the bottom of the 5th inning. Daniel Fraga singled to start things, then Mason Salazar singles. There were runners at first and second with nobody out. Travis Weaver then hit into a fielder's choice. Salazar was eliminated at second base. There were runners at first and 3rd with 1 man out. Andre Mercurio then hit an RBI double. That scored Daniel Fraga and got the Freedom back into it. It was 4-1 Washington Wild Things. Then the next batter, Taylor Oldham, was hit in the helmet by a pitch. He got on base, and that's how the bases are loaded with 1 man out, and the Wild Things leading 4-1 here in Game 1 of this 3-game series. We're at UC Health Stadium in Florence, Kentucky. Made the drive out here this morning, left at 9 a.m., and got into the area at about 1:30 this afternoon. Arrived at the ballpark about 4 o'clock, and the game started at 7:05. This is a rain delay now, 35 minutes on this rain delay, and right now the Florence Freedom players are emerging from their dugout. No movement in the Washington Wild Things dugout, as a big strike of lightning just hit that center field wall. A lot of the Freedom players going out towards the seating area and just kind of waiting out this rain delay. The Wild Things have not moved from their dugout. We've seen umpires Brian Miller and Andy Dodonis go to both dugouts, talk to both managers. This is not an official game, as we're in the bottom of the 5th with 2 men out. Trevor Foss would have to get the last out of this inning if it were to be an official game. Rain has started to slow down a little bit. However, the Thunder and Lightning are still in the area. Game 1 of this 3-game series here at UC Health Stadium in Florence, Kentucky on Pokemon night here in Florence, Kentucky. Wild Things leading by the score of 4-1. Going to take a look at your Wild Things pitching stat leaders on the year. Currently in the wins department, Trevor Foss has 8, Matt Frauden has 4. Chase Cunningham and Colin Stanley tied with 3, and there are 4 Washington Wild Things with 2 wins on the year. In the ERA department, Zach Grote sits atop with a 1.63 ERA. Then Trevor Foss, 2.33. Matt Frauden, 2.68, and Devin Davis with a 3.00. In the batter struck out department, Trevor Foss was 66, Matt Frauden 55, Luke Wilkins 40, and Devin Davis 33. In the walks department, Ashton Parrott has 6, Brian O'Keefe has 7, Zach Grote's 8, and Devin Davis 9 for the lowest walks on the team. Innings pitched so far coming into the game, Trevor Foss 96 1/3, Matt Frauden 70 1/3, Luke Wilkins 63 1/3, and Chase Cunningham 61 1/3. In terms of appearances, Devin Davis has 25 appearances on the year, Zach Grote's 23, Colin Stanley 21, and Andrew Wick 20 out of the Washington Wild Things bullpen. In the saves department, a lot of Wild Things actually have saves on the year. Zach Grote has 9, then Devin Davis and Andrew Wick each have 2. And Trevor Foss, Colin Stanley, and Sam Agnew-Whelan each have 1, and everyone else on the team has 0. In the losses department, Brian O'Keefe and Ashton Parrott, the only 2 without losses on the year. Then Andrew Wick, Colin Stanley, and Devin Davis each have 1. Sam Agnew-Whelan and Zach Grote have 2, and Luke Wilkins and Trevor Foss each have 3 on the year. Matt Frauden has 4, and Chase Cunningham has 6. Those are your Washington Wild Things pitching leaders on the year to this point. Currently in a rain delay, bottom of the 5th. Wild Things leading by a score of 4-1 in this ball game. Bottom of the fifth. Bottom of the fifth here. Wild Things leading 4-1, and this game is in a rain delay. We're in about the 35th minute of this rain delay as the Wild Things lead 4-1 in the bottom of the fifth. When we resume, the Florence Freedom will have the bases loaded with one man out. Trevor Foss on the hill. Foss so far 4 1/3 innings, giving up just that 1 run on 7 hits. On the day, Patrick McGrath went 4 1/3, gave up 4 runs, all earned on 5 hits, walked 3, and struck out 5. Now, the Wild Things had a good start to the first half especially. Ended that first half, with a record of 27-22. Then the second half, their record has fallen to 3-8. So not off to a good start here in this half in the Frontier League, as the rain is slowing down a little bit more here at UC Health Stadium in Florence, Kentucky, as we are waiting for this rain to pass here at UC Health Stadium. We're in the bottom of the fifth with 2 outs. Wild Things lead by a score of 4-1 here at the ballpark. Lightning still striking in the background in the bottom of the fifth. 4 runs, 5 hits, and an error for your Wild Things. 1 run, 7 hits, and no errors for the Florence Freedom. However, the Freedom do have the bases loaded with 1 man out as they're looking to threaten here against Foss. There is 1 out in the inning. Foss would love a double play ball if he could get it when we resume. 4-1 the score. Wild Things lead. Long rain delay here. About 40 minutes now going on in the rain delay department. And right now, Wild Things and Florence Freedom waiting for this rain to pass. There is 1 major cell going over Florence, Kentucky, and that is what caused this rain delay. We had 1 rain delay earlier in the game, but it was only about a 2-second rain delay, as the Wild Things players didn't even make it all the way off the field before the rain subsided. So right now, waiting out a rain delay here at UC Health Stadium. Wild Things leading 4-1 in the bottom of the 5th inning here in Florence, Kentucky. As we said, game 1 of a 9-game, 10-day road trip for your Washington Wild Things. They are here in Florence, then they will go to Evansville, then they will go to River City to finish out the 9-game road trip. They'll spend the off day in Evansville, as they will take on the Otters Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. All those games can be heard right here on the MSA Sports Network. Isaac Ziegler will take you through the action. Then next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in River City for games 7, 8, and 9 of this 9-game, 10-day road trip. Lots of games on the road for your Wild Things in this month of August. After coming back from this 10-game road trip, they'll do a 3-game homestand with the Lake Erie Crushers, and then they'll go back out on the road for 6 more games as they'll face off against the Windy City Thunderbolts and the Traverse City Beach Bums. And after that, only 1 road trip left on the year. That'll be the road trip that ends the season. Right now, the umpires have come out of the dugouts, and we'll see if they call the players on the field. As actually right now, the Florence Freedom bullpen guys are going out towards the bullpen. Looks like we might be close to resuming baseball here at UC Health Stadium. Wild Things lead 4-1. Andy Dodonis just grabbed the Wild Things players, and the Wild Things look like they're going to be retaking the field. We'll see. A couple of Wild Things going out to talk to Dennis Pelfrey. Actually, they might not be resuming this ball game, as both teams making it towards their respective clubhouses, as this game might have been called. No official word as of right now, but right now, as we said, both teams are heading towards their dugouts. And it is officially announced here at the stadium, this ball game is postponed. We're in the bottom of the 5th with a 4-1 lead for your Washington Wild Things. It's not an official game, so none of this. The game will be resumed at 4:05 tomorrow. You can hear that right here on the MSA Sports Network. Going to go off the air for 1 second. Bear with me while I get the details of this delay. I'll be right back in about 5 seconds. All right, I'm back. Just got official word from the stadium here. They will be resuming this game right from this point tomorrow, bottom of the fifth. It'll be bottom of the fifth with one man out. Bases will be loaded for the Florence Freedom, and Trevor Foss will be on the hill. So the game is suspended till tomorrow at 4:05. So tune right back in here tomorrow, 4:05, for the continuation of this game, and then Game 2 of the three-game series. Game 2 scheduled for 7:05. Well, postponed game. We'll play again tomorrow. Wild Things will resume tomorrow. Bottom of the fifth. Bases loaded. One man out. And the Wild Things will be up 4-1. So see you back here tomorrow for the continuation of this game. I'd like to thank you for listening to the MSA Sports Network tonight. And have a good night, everybody. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the MSA Sports Network's coverage of Washington Wild Things baseball. Today, we are going to finish what we started in last night's game as your Washington Wild Things continue Game 1 of this three-game series with the Florence Freedom. Hi, everyone. I'm Zach Ziegler, taking you through all the action here in the 2016 season. Last night, we were in the bottom of the fifth inning. The Florence Freedom had the bases loaded with one out. Andrew Godbold was making his way to the plate, and then the skies opened up. The rains poured down. The Wild Things had to leave the playing field. And after waiting about 40 minutes for that rain to subside, the game was postponed, and we are going to resume it this afternoon, 4:05, the first pitch for the resumed game this afternoon. Wild Things are currently up 4-1. There is one out in the bottom of the fifth inning. However, the Florence Freedom do have the bases loaded, and the Wild Things bringing in their big-time pitcher, Zach Groats, the closer, coming into this game to replace starter Trevor Foss. So Groats will come into the game. Foss, the final line in this game for him, went 4 1/3. Right now has given up only one run. It turned on 7 hits, 2 walks, and no strikeouts. Groats coming into the game to relieve him for the Florence Freedom. Patrick McGrath was pulled in the top of the fifth in last night's start of this ball game. And reliever Zach Wendorf came into the game. Wendorf will remain in this one, and will start it for the Florence Freedom tonight when we get underway. Right now, we're going to take a look at a recap of how we got to where we are in this game to this point. The Wild Things took the lead early on in this game, got 2 runs in the top of the first inning. Andrew Heck flew out and Chris Grayson flew out to start things. Then Ricky Rodriguez and Dave Popkins back-to-back hits, a single for Rodriguez, a double for Dave Popkins, and there were runners at second and third with 2 men out. Then Logan Uxa came through with a 2 RBI single to right field. Rodriguez and Popkins both scored, and the Wild Things jumped out to a 2-0 lead. Logan Uxa would then steal second before Kyle Pollock struck out to end that inning. In the top half of the second, Wild Things would add on again. Jimmy Yezzo flew out to start things, and Jamadric Magruder singled and stole second. It was Magruder's 3rd stolen base of the year. Then a ground out by Austin Wobrock moved up to third, and a wild pitch brought Magruder home. That gave the Wild Things a 3-0 lead. Andrew Heck would then strike out to end that inning. Wild Things added on once again in the top of the 5th inning. Got their third At their fourth run of the ball game, Austin Wolbrock singled to start things, then stole second base. It was Wolbrock's sixth steal of the year. Andrew Heck would then walk, so there'd be runners at first and second with nobody out. Chris Grayson would then fly out for out number one, and that would be all for the starter, Patrick McGrath. McGrath in total went 4 1/3, gave up 4 runs, all earned on 5 hits, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts on the evening for the Florence Freedom. Then Zach Wendorf came in to get the final 2 outs of that 5th inning, got Ricky Rodriguez hit into a fielder's choice. However, on that fielder's choice, Austin Wolbrock was able to come around. It was Rodriguez's 23rd RBI of the year, and your Wild Things led by a score of 4-0. Dave Popkins would fly out to end that inning. Trevor Foss then getting in a major jam in the bottom half of the 5th. Daniel Fraga singled to start things off. Then Mason Salazar singled as well, so there were runners at first and second with nobody out. Travis Weaver then hit into a fielder's choice, so Salazar was thrown out at second. There were runners at first and third with 1 man out before Andre Mercurio came through with an RBI double. Daniel Fraga would score, and the score would go to 4-1 Washington Wild Things. Next batter, Taylor Oldham, was hit by a pitch, and that loaded the bases for the Florence Freedom with 1 man out. Andrew Godbold was making his way to the plate, and the rain started falling down here in Florence, Kentucky. We waited about 35 minutes to try and restart this ball game. However, there was rain in the forecast all night, so the postponement was called, and we're going to resume today at 4:05 with that same situation. Bases are loaded for the Florence Freedom, 1 man out, and Zach Groats coming to the game to relieve your starter, Trevor Foss. Foss 4 1/3. So far, just 1 run. It was earned on 7 hits, 2 walks, and no strikeouts on the day for Trevor Foss. Foss was looking for his 9th complete game of the season. Unfortunately for him, he will not get that 9th complete game. And even if he had stayed in the ball game yesterday, I doubt he would have gotten it. He threw 61 pitches in yesterday's ball game. Was wild all day. Allowed a lot of guys to get on base. So he probably wouldn't have got the complete game anyways, but now he definitely will not, as he only goes 4 1/3 in this one. It counts for his lowest number of innings pitched on the season, 4 1/3 for Trevor Foss. We're going to resume this game about 4:05. Zach Groats has made his way to the Wild Things dugout. Groats will be on the mound to start this one for your Washington Wild Things, coming in a big situation. Groats, normally the closer for the Washington Wild Things, enters today with a record of 1-2, has 9 saves on the year, and a team low 1.62 ERA out of that bullpen. Has been very reliable for the Wild Things. Just 2 blown saves all year, 9 saves in 11 chances. Has 32 strikeouts in 27 2/3 innings. So does a very good job of striking guys out of the bullpen. And coming into this situation with the bases loaded and 1 man out, that's what you need. A strikeout or a ground ball will do the trick, and that's what Groats will be looking for when he comes on the mound. But when he comes on the mound, he's not facing any easy task. Andrew Godbold coming to the plate. Godbold leads his team in home runs with 9. All is currently tied for second on the team with 34 RBIs, so not an easy target at the plate. Godbold represents the go-ahead run, the tying run standing at first in this ball game. So Zach Groats coming into a bases-loaded situation with 1 man out after we resume this game at about 4:05, so resuming here in just about 4 minutes. But last night there was other action around the Frontier League, including this game between your Washington Wild Things and the Florence Freedom. A whole slate of action around the league as the Wild Things and Florence Freedom were postponed to today. But the other games going on around the Frontier League. The Normal Corn Belchers defeated the Lake Erie Crushers by a score of 8-2. Then the Evansville Otters won over Traverse City 9-8. Southern Illinois drops to a 3-game losing streak now after winning 9 straight games to start this second half. Schaumburg defeated them 7-5. The Windy City Thunderbolts handled the Gateway Grizzlies 2-1. And the Joliet Slammers defeated the River City Rascals by a score of 2-1. Wild Things catcher Kyle Pollock has emerged from the Wild Things dugout. Wild Things look about ready to go here to resume this baseball game. As we said, we'll be in the bottom of the 5th with 1 man out, and the Florence Freedom will have the bases loaded in this contest. Just about ready to resume. Zach Groats will take the mound for your Washington Wild Things to start things. Zach Wendorf will take the mound for the Florence Freedom. The Washington Wild Things are taking the field right now, so we are ready to resume this game, resuming game one of a three-game series between your Washington Wild Things and the Florence Freedom. The Wild Things are up by a score of 4-1. The Freedom, however, have the bases loaded with one man out. Zach Groats coming on the mound to face him. Groats' numbers on the year, and appearing in his 24th game, has a record of 1-2, 9 saves on the year, and a 1.62 ERA. Has thrown 27 2/3 innings pitched, giving up 20 hits, 6 runs, 5 earned, 8 walks, and 32 strikeouts on the year. And as we said, for Groats, going to get his strikeouts, has done very well in that department. Currently 5th on the team with 32 strikeouts. Going to remind you of the lineup for the Florence Freedom. Andrew Godbold will be at the plate to start things in this one, but the lineup as we stand right now, the leadoff man for the Florence Freedom is Andre Mercurio. In the second spot, Taylor Oldham at first base. In the third hole, the batter up is the right fielder Andrew Godbold. Batting fourth, the catcher Isaac Wenrick. Hitting fifth, designated hitter Josh Henderson. In the sixth spot in left field, Sean Cooper. Batting seventh at second base, Daniel Fraga. Hitting eighth at third, Mason Salazar. And batting ninth at shortstop is Travis Weaver. Once again, the batter due up is the number 3 hitter Andrew Godbold. The runner at third will be Travis Weaver, the runner at second, Andre Mercurio, and the runner at first, Taylor Oldham. Travis Weaver reached via a fielder's choice. That got Mason Salazar thrown out at second base. Andre Mercurio, the RBI double. He's standing at second. And Taylor Oldham was hit by a pitch right before the rain delay yesterday. He is the runner at first. Zach Groats going through his warm-up tosses here to Kyle Pollock. Final line on Trevor Foss. Foss went 4 1/3. So far, he's only given up 1 run. That run is earned. He is responsible for all 3 runners on base here in this situation. He gave up 7 hits, 2 walks, and did not strike out a batter on the day, which is weird for Trevor Foss because he leads his team with 66 strikeouts. As we said, did not have his best stuff in yesterday's ball game, and that cost him. As Zach Groats coming in this situation, bases loaded, 1 man out. The Florence Freedom runners are making their way to their positions on the base paths. Travis Weaver's over at third, Andre Mercurio at second, and just waiting for Taylor Oldham to make his way out to first. There he is, and Andrew Godbold coming to the plate. Godbold so far in this one is currently 0 for 2, hitting to a 6-4-3 double play in the first inning, and popped out in inning number 3. So we are ready to resume baseball, resuming game 1 of a 3-game series. Started this game last night, got to the bottom of the 5th with 1 out before the postponement. Andrew Godbold at the plate, hitting that big double play in the first inning. In the first inning, Foss using that double play as his friend, had runners at first and runner at first with 1 out, and the 6-4-3 double play by Godbold helped Foss get out of that first inning. Zach Groats looking in to Kyle Pollock. Andrew Godbold, the right-hander at the plate, facing off against the right-hander Andrew Godbold. Groats, the righty, facing off the right-handed batter Andrew Godbold. Godbold stepping in, bases loaded, 1 man out. Zach Groats looking in. Groats has his sign, he's set. Checks the runner at third, and the pitch on the way. And that one's outside and gets past Kyle Pollock to the wall, and that'll bring in another run. A wild pitch scores Travis Weaver. Another run coming in for the Florence Freedom. And now the score is 4-2. Your Washington Wild Things here in the bottom of the 5th. As you see that second run coming into the ball game. Wild Things now lead by 2. Andrew Godbold still at the plate. Weaver scores. Andre Mercurio moves up to third. Now the tying run, Taylor Oldham at second with just 1 man out. And this situation just got a lot tougher from Zach Groats. The first pitch of the game he throws is in the dirt. Pollock not able to block it, and it went back to the screen. Groats has his sign. He's set, checks third, and the 1-0. And Godbold hits this one to right center field. Popkins going over. He'll make the catch, tagging Mercurio from third. Popkins' throw goes into third, and it will not be in time, so it's a sacrifice fly for Andrew Godbold. Another run comes in this bottom of the 5th inning, and now it's 4-3. Your Washington Wild Things lead over the Florence Freedom. Mercurio comes in to score, and Taylor Oldham moving up to third base. Now 2 outs and a runner at third, and that brings to the plate the catcher Isaac Wenrick. Wenrick so far in this one 0 for 1, walked in the second inning and grounded out in inning number 4. Not really the start you were looking for if you were Zach Groats. You'd like to have gotten out of that situation without allowing a run. So far, just 2 runs allowed in the inning. We'll see if they can keep it at this 1-run deficit. Groats has his sign, the pitch, and that one's in there at the knees for a strike. No balls and a strike. 0-1 the count. Both those runs charged to the starting pitcher, Trevor Foss. Foss 4 1/3 in yesterday's ball game. Groats has his sign. He's set, checks third in the 0-1. And this one grounded to the right side. Logan Uxa will handle it. He'll take it to the bag himself, and that is out number 3. However, in the bottom of the 5th inning, the Florence Freedom get 3 runs in the inning, courtesy of just 2 hits, no errors, and 1 man left on base. After 5 innings of play, the score, your Washington Wild Things 4 and the Florence Freedom 3. As again, we're resuming yesterday's ball game after a rain delay in the bottom of the 5th caused us to postpone in the bottom half of that 5th inning. Started today with the bases loaded and 1 out in the bottom of the 5th, and Florence Freedom able to get 3 runs in the inning in total. All 3 runs are charged to the starter, Trevor Foss. So now the line official on Foss. Foss went 4 1/3, gave up 3 runs, all earned on 7 hits, 2 walks, and no strikeouts. Still in line for the win in this ball game. We'll see if they can get it for him. Zach Wendorf coming out to the mound for the Florence Freedom. Wendorf came in the top half of the 5th inning in this ball game, got the last 2 outs in that inning. Wendorf entering today with a record of 1-2, a 4.82 ERA, appearing in his 11th game. He's thrown 18 2/3 innings of work, giving up 19 hits, 14 runs, 10 earned, 8 walks, and 18 strikeouts for Zach Wendorf. Wild Things holding on to a 1-run lead in the top of the 5th inning. Yesterday, the Wild Things had Austin Wobrock single to start things. Then he stole second base. It was his 6th stolen base of the year. Andrew Heck would then walk. So there'd be runners at first and second with nobody out. Chris Crayson would then fly out, and that would be all for the starter, McGrath. McGrath yesterday went 4 1/3, gave up 4 runs, both all earned on 5 hits, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts on the day. Wendorf came in, got Ricky Rodriguez to hit into a fielder's choice. Austin Wobrock would score the 4th run of the game for your Washington Wild Things, and right now that proving to be a big run as they lead 4-3 in this ball game. And then Dave Popkins flew out to end the inning. Due up for the Wild Things here in the 6th, Logan Uxa, Kyle Pollock, and Jimmy Yezzo, 5, 6, and 7, facing off against Wendorf. Want to remind you of the Wild Things lineup from last night's resumed game. Their leadoff man is left fielder Andrew Heck, batting second in center field, Chris Grayson, hitting third at third base, Ricky Rodriguez, batting fourth in right field, Dave Popkins, hitting 5th at first base, Logan Uxa, batting 6th and catching is Kyle Pollock, batting 7th, designated hitter Jimmy Yezzo, batting 8th at second base, Jamardrick Magruder, and batting 9th at shortstop is Austin Wobrock. Logan Uxa, the number 5 man, due up in this top of the 6th inning, making his way to the plate right now. Uxa on the day so far is 1 for 2, hit that big 2 RBI single in the 1st inning, and struck out in inning number 4. Top of the 6th, 4-3, your Washington Wild Things lead over the Florence Freedom. Zach Wendorf in for his first full inning of relief. Got the last 2 outs in the top half of the 5th. Wendorf looking in, has his sign, he's set, and the pitch on the way to Uxa. And that one's in there for a strike, no balls, and a strike. 0-1 the count. Patrick McGrath, the left-hander, starting this game in yesterday's start of the ball game. Now the lefty Zach Wendorf in here for the resume. The 0-1, and Uxa hits this one to right field and deep. Godbolt to the track, to the wall, and this ball will exit stage right. Logan Uxa, a solo home run, his 5th home run of the year, and your Wild Things get some insurance now. It is 5-3 Wild Things. Logan Uxa's 5th home run of the season, and when you need an attorney to hit one out of the park for you, yo Keith. That home run brought to you by Keith Owen Campbell, attorney at law. So Logan Uxa gets the offense started right away, a solo home run to right field. It's 5-3 Wild Things, and Kyle Pollock to the plate. Pollock so far 0 for 1, strikeout and a walk. The first pitch, he takes it for a strike at the knees, no balls and a strike. 0-1 the count here on Kyle Pollock. Logan Uxa's 5th home run of the season. It gives the Wild Things a 5-3 lead here in the top of the 6th. The 0-1, and Pollock fouls this one off to the right, so the count goes no balls and 2 strikes. 0-2 the count. The first pitch Wendorf throws here in this 6th inning is hit over the right field wall as Logan Uxa gives the Wild Things some insurance. Wendorf's 0-2 pitch, and Pollock fouls this one back to the screen, so the count will remain no balls and 2 strikes. 0-2 the count. Kyle Pollock has been stepping it up offensively as of late, hitting .273 coming into this ball game. Currently good for 4th on the Wild Things team. Brought his average up from 125 when he came off the DL. Wendorf's 0-2 pitch, and that one's way outside for a ball. Pollock wisely lays off, and the count goes to 1 ball and 2 strikes. Zach Wendorf, as we said, came into the game in the top of the 5th to relieve Patrick McGrath last night, and has started in the resumed game here tonight. Wendorf has his sign, the 1-2 pitch. And that one's a called strike 3. Kyle Pollock strikes out, and that's the first out here in the top of the 6th. That'll bring to the plate the designated hitter, Jimmy Yezzo. Yezzo so far in this one, 0 for 2, flew out in the second and popped out in inning number 4. One man out, top of the 6th. Wild Things leading 5-3 in this ball game. Yezzo, the DH, to the plate. As we said, Yezzo and Uxa have been splitting time at the first base position. Yezzo in this game, DH, Uxa at first. This pitch is inside for a ball, and Yezzo gets ahead of the count. 1 ball and no strikes. 1-0 the count, a run in the inning for the Wild Things on the Logan Uxa solo home run over the right field wall, landed in the Florence Freedom bullpen. Wendorf has his sign, the 1-0, and this one lined in right center field. Godbolt coming on, and he's not going to make the catch. It's a 1-out single for Jimmy Yezzo. Wild Things have a runner at first with 1 man out, and that'll bring to the plate the second baseman, Jamadrick Magruder. Magruder so far in the day, 1 for 2, singled and scored a run in the second, and struck out in inning number 4. So the Wild Things offense picking up right where it left off in last night's start to this ball game. Uxa taking the first pitch over the wall, and now Jimmy Yezzo, a 1-out single. It's the 7th hit of the day for the Washington Wild Things. Wendorf looking in, has his sign, he's set, checks first, and the pitch on the way. And Magruder takes this one at the letters for a strike, no balls and 1 strike. 0-1 the count on the Wild Things second baseman. Now Magruder had been hitting in the top spot of the lineup for your Wild Things, now down in the number 8 spot here in this ball game. Wendorf checks first, the 0-1. A check swing by Magruder, but home plate umpire Brian Miller says he went around, and the count goes to no balls and 2 strikes. 0-2 the count. Same umpiring crew from the start of this game last night. Brian Miller behind the plate, Andy Dodonis on the base paths. Wendorf checks Yezzo, here's the pitch, and it's fouled back, and the count remains no balls and 2 strikes. 0-2 here on Jamadrick Magruder, coaching on the base paths for your Wild Things. Manager Greg Langban at third base, and hitting coach Mike Marshall standing over at first. Wendorf has his sign, checks first, and the 0-2 pitch. And that one's in the dirt. Magruder wisely lays off, and the count goes to 1 ball and 2 strikes. 1-2 here on Jamadrick Magruder. 1 man out in the top of the 6th. 5-3, your Wild Things lead after the solo home run by Logan Uxa. There is action out in the Florence Freedom bullpen. Wendorf has his sign, checks first, and the 1-2 pitch. And this one grounded to the right side. Daniel Fraga will have it. His only place to first, so he'll throw over there, and that is in time for out number 2. 4-3 on the putout. Meanwhile, Yezzo moving up to second on the play. There's a runner at second with 2 men out, and that brings to the plate the shortstop, Austin Wolbrock. Wolbrock so far, 1 for 2, grounded out in the second, singled and scored a run in the top of the 5th inning. Also stole a base in that top of the 5th inning. 2 men out here in the top of the 6th. 5-3, your Washington Wild Things lead. This is the resumed game from last night where we played to the bottom of the 5th with 1 out, resuming that one today. Wendorf's pitch, and Wolbrock a swing and a miss there, and the count goes to no balls and a strike. 0-1 the count here on Austin Wolbrock. The shortstop for the Wild Things has played in all but 3 games for the Wild Things this season. Wendorf has his sign, checks second, the 0-1. And Wolbrock takes this one low, so the count goes even at 1 ball and 1 strike. Now, talking to Wolbrock earlier in the season, says he actually likes hitting down in this number 9 spot. During the first part of the year, he was up in the number 2 hole, but after offensive struggles, got moved down to the 9 spot and has really been thriving as of late. The 1-1, and that one's outside for a ball. Count goes to 2 balls and a strike. 2-1 the count here on Austin Wolbrock. Runner at second, Jimmy Yezzo. He had a 1-out single to right field earlier in this one. Wendorf has his sign. He's set. Checks Yezzo at second. The 2-1. That one's outside for a ball. Now Wendorf falling behind Wolbrock. 3 balls and a strike. 3-1 the count here to the Wild Things shortstop. Trying to drive in Yezzo. Already got 1 insurance run in this inning on the solo home run by Logan Uxa. Wendorf has his sign. He's set. Checks second. And the 3-1 pitch. And a swing and a foul ball by Wolbrock. So the count goes full. 3 balls and 2 strikes. 3-2 the count here on the Wild Things shortstop. Andrew Heck will be the on-deck batter if Wolbrock should reach. 2 men out, top of the 6th. Full count here on Wolbrock. Runner at second, Jimmy Yezzo. And the Wild Things leading by the score of 5-3. Wendorf looks in, has his sign. He's set, checks second, the 3-2 pitch. And this one lined to the left field line. It's hooking and will go into the seats foul. So the count will remain full at 3 balls and 2 strikes. 3-2 the count. The Washington Wild Things currently dropped to third place after not playing last night in the Frontier League East, after not finishing the game, They're 30-30 behind the Windy City Thunderbolts, who are 32-32, and the Joliet Slammers 35-28. The 3-2 pitch, and that one's a called strike 3. Austin Woldbrock will strike out, and that will end the inning. However, the Wild Things do get a run in the inning on 2 hits, no errors, and 1 man left on base. After 5.5, the score, your Washington Wild Things 5 and the Florence Freedom 3. The continuation of last night's ball game. We played to the bottom of the 5th with 1 out before the rains hit. Continuing that game today, and the Wild Things offense starting right where it left off last night. The solo home run by Logan Uxa, driving in the 5th run of the game for your Washington Wild Things. Wild Things got 2 runs in the first, scored a run in the 3rd, and now scored solo runs in the top of the 5th and top of the 6th. Zach Groats will retake the mound for his first full inning of work. Got the last 2 outs in that bottom half of the 5th inning. Groats normally the closer for this team, but had to come in a big situation in the 5th inning, trying to minimize the damage. He only allowed 2 runs just with him coming in. Both those runs charged to Foss. Foss's final line on the day went 4 1/3, gave up 3 runs all earned on 7 hits, 2 walks, and no strikeouts. And with Foss leading the team with 66 strikeouts, that no strikeouts is a rare occurrence for Trevor Foss. Foss's season high in strikeouts coming into today was 9 against Evansville on June the 5th of this season. So he'll get no strikeouts today, and Zach Groats into the ball game. Going to the bottom of the 6th. In the bottom half of the 5th for the Florence Freedom, Daniel Fraga singled to start things, and then the next batter, Mason Salazar, would single. There'd be runners at first and second with nobody out before Travis Weaver hit into a fielder's choice. Salazar was thrown out at second base. There were runners at first and third, 1 man out before Andre Mercurio came through with an RBI double. Scoring was Daniel Fraga, and that made the score 4-1 Washington Wild Things. Next batter, Taylor Oldham, was hit by a pitch, bases loaded with 1 man out, and Andrew Godbold came to the plate, hit a sacrifice fly that scored. Weaver made the score 4-2, and then the next batter, Isaac Wenrick, grounded out. A wild pitch brought in the 3rd run of the game, and it's 5-3 Wild Things. Josh Henderson making his way to the plate here to lead off the bottom of the 6th. Henderson so far in the day is 0 for 1, hitting to a fielder's choice in the 2nd, and walked in inning number 4. Zach Groats into the game for his first full inning of work. It'll be Henderson, Cooper, and Fraga, 5, 6, and 7, facing off against Groats. Groats' first pitch, and that one's high for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count here on Josh Henderson. Nobody out, bottom of the 6th, 5-3 Wild Things lead. Groats has his sign, the pitch, and that one's in there for a strike, and the count goes even at 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-1 the count. The longest Zach Groats has gone in a game this season is 2 2/3 of relief. We'll see how long he goes today. The 1-1 pitch, that one's lined into left field, and it'll fall in front of Andrew Heck for a base hit. A leadoff single for Josh Henderson here in the bottom of the 6th. That'll bring to the plate the left fielder, Sean Cooper. Cooper so far in the day, 1 for 2, singled in the 2nd, and hit into a 1-6-3-6 double play in the 4th inning. Nobody out and a runner on first. Groats in the ball game, his first full inning of relief in this one. Cooper hit into that weird double play in the 4th inning in this ball game. Grounded the mound. Foss threw to Woldbrock covering. Woldbrock's throw pulled Uxa off the bag. Uxa able to recover and throw to Woldbrock for the out. The pitch, and Cooper takes this one in the outside corner for a strike. No balls and a strike. 0-1 the count here on the Florence Freedom left fielder, Sean Cooper. Cooper entering today's game, currently hitting .250 with no homers and no RBIs. Groats set, and the 0-1 pitch. Cooper showing bunt, pulls back, and ends up foul tipping the ball, and the count will go to no balls and 2 strikes. 0-2 the count on Sean Cooper out there in left field. Wild Things did not see him in the last series between your Wild Things and the Florence Freedom, in there at left field today for this one. This is game 1 of a 9-game, 10-day road trip for your Washington Wild Things. Zach Groats looking in. Now Kyle Pollock calls time behind the plate. After these 3 games here in Florence, we'll travel to Evansville for 3, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then go to River City Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The 0-2 pitch, and that one swung on and missed. Cooper strikes out, and that's the first out here in the bottom of the 6th. First strikeout of the day for Zach Groats, and that brings to the plate the second baseman, Daniel Fraga. Fraga so far, 1 for 2, hit into a fielder's choice in the 2nd, and singled in inning number 5. 1 man out here in the bottom of the 6th. 5-3, your Washington Wild Things lead over the Florence Freedom. Zach Groats, a product of the Houston Astros organization, pitched in single-A baseball for the Astros. Groats has his sign, checks first, and the pitch. And that one's just outside for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. Groats falling behind Fraga here in the bottom of the 6th. There is action in the Wild Things bullpen as well, as Colin Stanley has gotten up and started to move around out there in the bullpen. Groats looks in, has his sign, he's set, and the 1-0 taking off for second is Henderson. Pollock's throw down, and that is in time. Pollock nails Josh Henderson. It's a caught stealing, and now there are 2 outs here in the bottom of the 6th. A late break there for Henderson. And Kyle Pollock, a strong throw, beat Henderson by at least 2 steps, and that's out number 2 here in this bottom of the 6th inning. Pollock had a string of 5 straight caught stealings broken on Tuesday night's game against the Normal Corn Belters, trying to start a new string here against the Florence Freedom. Groats' pitch, and that one's a called strike on the outside corner. The count goes to 1 ball and 1 strike here on Daniel Fraga. 1-1 the count, 2 outs, bottom of the 6th. Wild Things leading 5-3 over the Florence Freedom. Groats has his sign. He's set, the 2 ball, 1 strike pitch. And that one swung on a miss. Count goes even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. 2-2 the count here on Daniel Fraga. Fraga was in that leadoff position last time the Wild Things saw the Florence Freedom. Groats has his sign. He's set. Shakes off the first one. Now has one he likes. Here's the 2-2. And that one's inside, blocked by Kyle Pollock, so the count goes full, 3 balls and 2 strikes. 3-2 the count. Mason Salazar, the on-deck man, if Daniel Fraga should reach base. Bottom of the 6th, 2 outs here, and the Wild Things leading 5-3. Groats has his sign, the 3-2 pitch, and this one is swung on and foul, tipped into the glove to Kyle Pollock for a strikeout, and that is out number 3. No runs in the inning for the Freedom on 1 hit, no errors, and nobody left on base. After 6 innings of play, the score, your Washington Wild Things 5 and the Florence Freedom 3. Wild Things leading 5-3. Groats came into the bottom of the 5th with 1 man out, minimized the damage with the bases loaded, just gave up 2 runs in the contest. Both those runs were charged to starter Trevor Foss. Gave up 3 total runs in the game through 4 1/3 innings of work. And now Zach Wendorf's day is going to be done as they're going to bring in reliever Davis Adkins coming into the ball game for the Florence Freedom here in the 7th. For Zach Wendorf, went 1 2/3 innings of work. Did not give up a run in his outing. Or, excuse me, did give up 1 run in his outing. So 1 run, it was earned on a total of 2 hits while not walking a batter and striking out 1. So 1 2/3, 1 run, it was earned, 2 hits. Did not walk a batter and struck out 1 in the contest. It'll be righty Davis Adkins on the mound for the Florence Freedom here in the top of the 7th. First right-hander that the Wild Things have seen in this ball game. Adkins enters today with a record of 4-3, a 4.15 ERA, appearing in his 16th game. He has made 6 starts on the season. Went 47 2/3 innings of work, giving up 42 hits, 25 runs, 22 earned, 12 walks, and 47 strikeouts on the year for Davis Adkins. Once again, the final line for reliever Zach Wendorf. Wendorf went 1 2/3, gave up 1 run. It was earned on 2 hits, no walks, and 1 strikeout. Heading into the top of the 7th, last inning for your Washington Wild Things. Logan Uxa started things off with a solo home run. It was Uxa's 5th home run of the year. Then Kyle Pollock struck out. Jimmy Yeza would single. Jamadrick Magruder would ground out, and Austin Wobrock would strike out to end the inning. Andrew Heck, Chris Grayson, and Ricky Rodriguez due up here in the top of the 7th. Making his way to the plate is Andrew Heck. Heck so far in this game is 0 for 2. Flew out in the first, struck out in the second, and walked in inning number 5. Top of the 7th, nobody out. 5-3, your Washington Wild Things lead over the Florence Freedom. Heck batting from the right side against the righty Adkins. Adkins has his sign, the pitch, and Heck takes this one low for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count here on Andrew Heck. Heck in that leadoff spot for the 6th straight game for your Washington Wild Things. Adkins 1-0, and Heck takes this one low as well, and the count goes to 2 balls and no strikes. Adkins pitched twice in the last series against the Wild Things. Started Sunday's ball game in that series and came in relief on Friday. Heck grounds this one off to the left and foul, so the count goes to 2 balls and a strike. 2-1 the count on Andrew Heck. Heck batting from the right side. The first right-hander in this game that the Wild Things have seen, as both McGrath and Wendorf were lefties. Adkins 2-1, and that one's called a strike at the knees. Count goes even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. 2-2 the count here on the Wild Things leadoff man. Adkins has his sign. Here's the 2-2. And up the middle for Heck. Fraga coming on, makes the backhanded play. Throw to first, and it's not in time. It's an infield single for Andrew Heck. So the Wild Things will have the leadoff man on base here in the 7th inning, and that'll bring to the plate the center fielder, Chris Grayson. Grayson on the day so far, 0 for 3. Flew out, struck out, and flew out so far in this ball game. For the Washington Wild Things, it's only the 3rd time in 7 innings they've had the leadoff man on. Heck over there at first has 5 stolen bases on the season. Is good for 3rd on this team. Adkins has his sign. He's set, checks first, and the pitch. And that one's outside for a ball, so Adkins falling behind Grayson. 1 ball and no strikes. 1-0 the count here on the Wild Things center fielder. Grayson has been very good offensively as of late. 4 for 6 on Sunday, 2 for 3. Or 2 for 4 in the first game against Normal, and 2 for 3 on Wednesday night. Next pitch, and that one's outside as well. 2 balls and no strikes. 2-0 the count on Grayson. Adkins has his sign. He's set, checks first in the 2-0. And Grayson hits this one to center field. Mercurio going back on it a couple of steps in front of the track, and he'll make the catch. That's out number 1. There's 1 out here in the top of the 7th. Wild Things leading by the score of 5-3, and that brings up the 3rd baseman, Ricky Rodriguez. Rodriguez so far in the day is 1 for 2, singled and scored a run in the 1st, walked in the 3rd, and hit an RBI fielder's choice in inning number 5. 1 man out top of the 7th. Rodriguez at the plate. Heck still the runner at first. He singled to lead off this inning. Adkins has his sign. He's setting the pitch, and Rodriguez takes this one inside for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count. Adkins trying to back Rodriguez off the plate a little bit with that slider, but Rodriguez wisely laying off. Adkins has his sign. He's set, and the 1 ball, no strike pitch. And Rodriguez a check swing, but he did go around, says home plate umpire Brian Miller, and the count goes even at 1-1. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out, top of the 7th. 5-3, your Wild Things lead here in Game 1 of this 3-game series. Adkins 1-1. And that one's on the outside corner for a strike as well, and the count goes to 1 ball and 2 strikes. 1-2 the count here on Ricky Rodriguez. The number 3 hitter in this Wild Things order was batting in the number 2 spot for the majority of the season, but moved down to that number 3 hole as he's one of the guys who provides offense for the Wild Things. Throw over to first, and Andrew Heck gets back in there safely. Rodriguez on the year. 23 RBIs now, good for 3rd on this Wild Things team. Adkins has his sign. He's set, checks first, and the 1-2 pitch. And this one lined to left center field, and that'll get down for a base hit. Heck rounding second. He's going to head to 3rd. The throw by Mercurio will go to second base, holding Rodriguez at first. Heck goes to 3rd, and now there are runners at 1st and 3rd with 1 man out. Wild Things looking to add on again here in the top of the 7th. They lead this one 5-3, and the right fielder Dave Popkins coming to the plate. Popkins so far in this one 1 for 3, doubled and scored in the 1st, hit into a 6-4-3 double play in the 3rd, and flew out in inning number 5. 1 out here in the top half of the 7th. Catcher Isaac Wenrick and first baseman Taylor Oldham going over to have a chat with the starter Davis Adkins. That meeting on the mound is now concluded, and we are ready to continue in this one. Top of the 7th, 1 out. Andrew Heck, the runner at 3rd, he singled, and Ricky Rodriguez, the runner at 1st, he singled as well. 1 man out, top of the 7th. Davis Adkins in for his first inning of work, has his sign. He's setting the pitch, and Popkins takes this first pitch outside for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count on Popkins. Popkins leads his team with 33 RBIs on the season. Looking to drive in some more runs here. Adkins set, and the 1-0. And Popkins hits this one foul off to the left. It'll get back into the seats, and the count goes to 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-1 the count on the Wild Things right fielder. Has started all but 1 game this season out in right field. His 1 day off was June 12th against the Lake Erie Crushers. Adkins looking in, has his sign. He's set, the 1-1. And Popkins a liner over the head of Weaver into left center for a base hit. Heck will score. Rodriguez will make it up to 3rd. The throw comes into 2nd. And Dave Popkins in there with an RBI double. Popkins' 34th RBI of the year as Heck scores. And the Wild Things now take a 6-3 lead in this one here in the top of the 7th. Popkins leading the team in RBIs, gets his 34th of the year. Rodriguez moves up to 3rd, and that brings in the first baseman, Logan Oxa. Oxa so far in this one, 2 for 3, a 2 RBI single in the 1st, struck out in the 4th, and a solo home run in the 6th inning. Adkins has his sign, the pitch, and Oxa takes this one for a strike, no balls and a strike. 0-1 the count of the Wild Things first baseman. Logan Uxa has driven in 3 runs in this ball game already. Looking to drive in some more on base. Adkins has his sign, the pitch, and Uxa takes this one just outside for a ball. Count goes even at 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-1 the count on Logan Uxa. Started this resumed half of the game on offense for the Wild Things and hit a solo homer over the right field wall. Adkins 1-1, and Uxa takes that one inside for a ball, so the count goes to 2 balls and a strike. Davis Adkins coming in here in the 7th inning and struggling against the Wild Things. Has given up 3 hits, has only gotten 1 out in the contest. Has his sign, check second, and the 2-1. And Uxa liner down the right field line and just foul. Uxa that close to 2 more RBIs on the day. Just landed the right side of that right field foul line, and it just turns into strike 2. Uxa will have to do it again with the count even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. 2-2 the count, 1 man out, top of the 7th. Wild Things leading 6-3. A run in the inning on the RBI double by Dave Popkins. Adkins has his sign, check second, the 2-2. And this one swung on and fouled away by Uxa, so just staying alive. Catcher Isaac Wenrick not able to hold that one in his glove. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 man out. The resumed half of yesterday's game 1 of this 3-game series. Wild Things up 6-3 here in the top half of the 7th. Zach Groats came in the bottom of the 5th and pitched a full inning of relief in inning number 6. Adkins had his sign. He's set, checks second, the 2-2. And Uxa lines this one to right field. Godbold waiting on it, will make the catch. Tagging is Rodriguez. Here comes the throw in. It'll be cut off, and it's a sacrifice fly for Logan Uxa. His 4th RBI of the day as Rodriguez scores, and the Wild Things now have a 7-3 lead over the Florence Freedom. That brings to the plate the catcher Kyle Pollock. Pollock so far 0 for 2, struck out in the 1st, walked in the 4th, and struck out in inning number 6. 7-3 your Wild Things lead. Adkins has his sign, the pitch, and that one's in there for a strike to Kyle Pollock. No balls and a strike. 0-1 the count to the Wild Things catcher. 2 men out, top of the 7th. Wild Things leading by the score of 7-3. Adkins has his sign, checks second, and the 0-1. Pollock fouls this one back to the screen, and the count goes to no balls and 2 strikes. 4 RBIs on the day for Logan Uxa, as he now has 16 RBIs on the season and 5 home runs. Dave Popkins, the runner at second. Adkins has his sign, checks him out there, and the 0-2. And Pollock takes a called strike 3, and that will end the inning. The Wild Things add 2 more runs here in the 7th on a total of 3 hits with no errors and 1 man left on base. After 6.5, the score, your Washington Wild Things 7 and the Florence Freedom 3 going into the bottom half of the 7th. With nobody up in the bullpen, Colin Stanley was up, but he sat back down. Zach Groats more than likely coming out in this 7th inning of work, and Groats has done his job here so far in this one. Came in to minimize damage with the bases loaded and 1 man out in the bottom half of the 5th. Did that, only allowed 2 runs coming in that bottom of the 5th, then pitched a scoreless 6th inning, only facing 3 batters, and coming in here in the 7th, he's been one of the most reliable relievers out of the bullpen for the Washington Wild Things. As we said, leads the team with a 1.62 ERA, now currently tied for 4th with 33 strikeouts on the year, 34 strikeouts on the year, getting 2 strikeouts in that 6th inning. So he is 4th on the team, surpassing Devin Davis. Davis had 33 strikeouts coming in to today's ball game, and he's just been very good on the mound. Last inning for the Florence Freedom in the bottom of the 6th, Josh Henderson singled to start things, then Sean Cooper struck out. Henderson tried to steal second, and Kyle Pollock able to throw him out for out number 2 before Daniel Fraga struck out to end that inning. Do up here in the 7th, Mason Salazar, Travis Weaver, and Andre Mercurio, 8, 9, and 1, facing off against the right-hander Zach Groats. Wild Things continue this 3-game series. Game 2 will start at 6:05 p.m. or after the conclusion of this ball game. Chase Cunningham will take the mound for your Wild Things in that one. It'll be Tony Vaca for the Florence Freedom. Now, since we're playing 2 games today, that Game 2 will only be a 7-inning contest between your Wild Things and the Florence Freedom. So that one will start at either 6:05 or after this ball game has concluded. You can hear it right here on the MSA Sports Network. Zach Zach Groats back out there for his second full inning of relief. So far, 1 2/3 innings, has not given up a run that has been charged to him. He has given up only 1 hit, has not walked a man, and has struck out 2. So far, so good for Zach Groats out of the bullpen. Stepping in to lead off this 7th inning, the third baseman, Mason Salazar. Salazar so far in the day, 1 for 2, grounded out in the second, was robbed on a very nice defensive play by Ricky Rodriguez. Rodriguez diving to his right, outstretched, got to his knees, and threw a bouncer to first base. Uxa able to pick it over there for the out, and then singled in inning number 5. Salazar on his way to the plate, facing off against Zach Groats, bottom of the 7th, and 7-3 the score between your Washington Wild Things, the Florence Freedom Wild Things lead here in Game 1 of this 3-game series. Righty Zach Groats on the mound. Groats looking into Kyle Pollock, has his sign, he's set, and the pitch on the way. And that one's in there for a strike, hitting the outside corner. No balls and a strike. 0-1 the count. Zach Groats, a guy who likes to work fast, gets the ball, pounds the strike zone, and does it effectively. The 0-1, and that one bounces up to the plate. Count goes to 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-1 the count here on Mason Salazar. There are a couple closing options if the Wild Things should need it. Currently up by 4, so they won't need it if the score stands. 1-1 grounded to short. Wobrock has it. A bouncer to first. Uxa picks it, and it's in time for out number 1. 1 up, 1 down here in the bottom of the 7th for the Florence Freedom, and that brings up the shortstop, Travis Weaver. Weaver so far in the day is 1 for 2, single in the 3rd, and hit into a fielder's choice in inning number 5, and would score on a wild pitch. 1 man out, top of the 7th, 7-3. Your Wild Things lead here over the Florence Freedom. Zach Groats, his 2nd inning of relief. Groats has his sign. He's set. Here's the pitch, and this one fouled off of the ankle area of Travis Weaver, and Weaver's on his butt at home plate. That never feels good. Weaver not wearing any shin guards or anything on that leg, so it's ball against bare skin, and that one did not feel good. Weaver trying to walk it off, but he is on his feet, so he looks to be okay. He'll step back in there with the count, no balls and a strike. 0-1 the count on Travis Weaver. 1 out. Wild Things lead 7-3 in this ball game. Zach Groats, a product of the Houston Astros organization, pitched in the single-A system for Houston. Groats has his sign. Here's the 0-1 pitch. And that one's inside as well, or inside. The count goes to 1 ball, 1 strike. 1-1 the count here on Travis Weaver. The number 9 hitter for the Florence Freedom has started all 4 games at shortstop against the Wild Things. Here's the 1-1, and that one's low for a ball. Groats falls behind Weaver, 2 balls and a strike. Groats got the first out of this inning when he got Mason Salazar to ground out to start things. He has his sign, he's set, and here's Groats' 2 ball, 1 strike pitch. And that one is just low for a ball. Count swelling now to 3 balls and a strike. 3-1 the count. Zach Groats, not a guy who's going to walk many batters, has only walked 8 in 27 2/3 innings coming into tonight's contest. Here's the 3-1, and that one's a called strike, so the count goes full 3 balls and 2 strikes. 3-2 the count. Andre Mercurio, the on-deck batter for the Florence Freedom. Groats looking in, has his sign, and the 3 ball, 2 strike pitch. And checks his swing. Did he go around? Yes, says Andy Dodonis, and he is called out on strikes. That is the 3rd strikeout of the day for Zach Groats. There are now 2 outs here in the bottom of the 7th, and that brings to the plate the center fielder, Andre Mercurio. Mercurio so far on the day is 2 for 3, singled in the 1st, lined into a double play in the 3rd, and an RBI double in inning number 5. 2 men out, bottom of the 7th, 7-3. Your Washington Wild Things lead over the Florence Freedom. Zach Groats looking in to Kyle Pollock. Groats has his sign. He's set. Here's the pitch, and that one's in there for a strike at the knees. Count goes to no balls and a strike. 0-1 the count here on Andre Mercurio. Mercurio standing in at the plate at 5'9", 175 from San Mateo, California. This next pitch is popped up foul off to the left, and he'll go back into the seats, so the count goes to no balls and 2 strikes. 0-2 the count. Groats looking for a 1-2-3 inning here in the 7th against the Florence Freedom. Groats looks in as Mercurio digging back in. Has his sign. He's set, and a no ball, 2 strike pitch. And this ball lined foul off to the left. This will get back into the seats as well, so the count remains no balls and 2 strikes. 0-2 the count here on Andre Mercurio, the leadoff man for the Florence Freedom out in center field. Wild Things have seen him in all 4 games that they've played the Freedom this season. Zach Groats going from the windup here today. Looks in, has his sign, he's set, and the no ball, 2 strike pitch. And Mercurio takes this one inside and low, blocked behind the plate by Kyle Pollock, and the count goes to 1 ball and 2 strikes. Now, when Groats is in a save situation, you usually see him working from the stretch. Here in this one, has to be dragged out a little bit in this ball game, so we'll see him work from the windup here against the Florence Freedoms. We said the longest he's gone in a game this season is 2 2/3 innings of relief. Here's the 1-2 pitch, and this one swung on and missed. Mercurio strikes out, and the inning is over. 1-2-3 go the Florence here in the 7th, and after 7 innings of play, the score, your Washington Wild Things 7 and the Florence Freedom 3. A 1-2-3 inning for Zach Groats. That was actually the first 1-2-3 inning for your Wild Things on the day. They lead this one by the score of 7-3. Trevor Foss did not get one in his 4 1/3 innings of work, and now Zach Groats getting the first 1-2-3 inning of the day. There is action in the Wild Things bullpen, and was action during that last half inning. Devin Davis, the left-hander, got up and started throwing about halfway through that inning. Groats so far, 2 2/3 innings of work now, has not given up a run, has struck out 4 in the contest, and has not walked a batter to this point. As we said, Groats' longest outing on the season is 2 2/3, so we'll see if manager Greg Langben lets him pitch the 8th, or if he'll go with Devin Davis out in the bullpen. Davis has been very good as well, and as we're speaking, we got a pitching change here for the Florence Freedom, as now coming into this one is right-hander Tanner Keast. Keast relieving Davis Adkins. Keast enters this one with a record, of 0-0 with a 11.25 ERA. As appearing in his 6th game, has thrown 4 innings of work, giving up 11 hits, 5 runs, all earned on 4 walks and 9 strikeouts on the season for Tanner Keast. So Keast, the 4th pitcher used out of the bullpen for the Florence Freedom. For Davis Adkins, Atkins won an inning of work, giving up 2 runs. Both runs were earned on a total of 3 hits, did not walk a batter, and struck out 1 in the ball game. So into the game now, Tanner Keast here for the 8th inning. Wild Things leading 7-3. Last inning for the Wild Things, they would add on to their lead as Andrew Heck started the inning with a single. Then Chris Grayson flew out. Ricky Rodriguez would then single. There'd be runners at first and second with 1 man out before Dave Popkins came through with an RBI double. Heck would score, and the Wild Things took a 6-3 lead. Very next batter with runners at second and third and 1 man out was Logan Uxa, and Uxa hits a sacrifice fly to right field. That scored Rodriguez, and the Wild Things took a 7-3 lead. Next batter, Kyle Pollock, struck out, and that would end the inning. Due up here in the 8th, Jimmy Yezzo, Jamadrick Magruder, and Austin Wobrock, 7, 8, and 9, taking on Tanner Keast. Jimmy Yezzo making his way to the plate right now. Yezzo so far in the day is 1 for 3, flew out in the 2nd, popped out in the 4th, and singled in inning number 6. Yezzo in that designated hitter spot today, as we said, has been splitting time with Logan Uxa at that first base position, but the left-handed hitter in as the DH in this ball game. Tanner Keast on for this one, only making his 6th appearance for the Florence Freedoms. We said 4 innings of work for Keast and that 11.25 ERA. The pitch, and that one's low for a ball, and the count goes to 1 ball and no strikes. Want to know the count here on Jimmy Yezzo. Nobody out, top of the 8th, 7-3 your Wild Things lead. Keast's 1-0, and this one grounded up the middle, and that's a base hit for Yezzo. Yezzo's 2nd hit of the day puts him 2 for 4 on the game, and both those hits coming in this half of the resumed baseball game. So Yezzo on with nobody out here in the top of the 8th, and that'll bring up the second baseman, Jamadrick Magruder. Magruder so far on the day, 1 for 3, singled, stole a base, and scored a run in the 2nd, struck out in the 4th, and grounded out in inning number 6. Tanner Keast, the right-hander, looking in. Keast has his sign. He's set, checks first, and the pitch on the way. Magruder showing bunt. He'll pull that back and take a ball high and outside. 1 ball and no strike. Keast, as we said, coming to this one with 11.25 ERA. Wild Things will look to take advantage of this one. Now manager Dennis Pelfrey coming out of the Florence Freedom dugout for just a second, said something to home plate umpire Brian Miller. Didn't know if Magruder took that bunt away or not. Keast has his sign, the 1-0, and that one's in there for a strike. Count goes even to 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-1 the count. Magruder showing bunt, trying to get a look at that first pitch. A lot of these Wild Things hitters are doing that this season. They'll show bunt, and they'll pull back on the first or second pitch of an at-bat. The 1-1, and Magruder takes this one in the dirt, and the count will go to 2 balls and a strike. 2-1 on Magruder. Magruder has 3 stolen bases, all 3 steals coming in the last 2 games for Magruder on the season. Had 23 stolen bases for the Grand Prairie Airhogs last season. Here's the 2-1, and that one's in there for a strike. Count goes even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. 2-2 the count here on Jamadric Magruder. Nobody out, top of the 8th. Magruder, the number 8 hitter in your Wild Things order. Looking in is Keast, has his sign. He's set, checks first, and the 2-ball, 2-strike pitch. Taking off for second is Yezo. Throw down, and that is in time to get Yezo. Yezo caught stealing, and that is the first out here in the top of the 8th. Decent jump by Yezo, but not the fastest guy in the world, as Wenrick able to get up and throw him out. In this ball game, the Wild Things currently have 4 stolen bases. Austin Wobrock, Jamadric Magruder, Kyle Pollock, and Logan Uxa all picking up stolen bases. This one grounded to second, handled by Fraga. His throw on to Oldman is in time for out number 2. So there are now 2 outs here in the top of the 8th, and shortstop Austin Wobrock coming to the plate. Wobrock so far in this one is 1 for 3, grounded out in the second, singled, stole a base, and scored a run in the 5th, and struck out in inning number 6. 2 men out, top of the 8th, 7-3. Your Washington Wild Things lead this one over the Florence Freedom. Keith looks in, has his sign. Here's the pitch, and Wobrock takes that one outside for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count here on the Wild Things shortstop, hitting the number 9 spot in the order. Was second on this team with 31 RBIs a year ago. Keast has his sign, the 1-0, and a swing and a miss there by Wobrock, and the count goes even at 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-1 the count here on Austin Wobrock. Wobrock trying to get on base here with 2 men out. Yezo led off this inning with a single, but then was caught stealing the 1-1, and that one's outside for a ball. Count goes to 2 balls and a strike. 2-1 the count here on Wobrock. Says he thrives in that number 9 hole. It's where he got most of his RBIs last season, 31 RBIs a season ago, and thriving again this season in that number 9 hole. Keast has his sign, and the 2-ball, 1-strike pitch. And this one fouled back to the screen. Count goes even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. And this position, a spot in the order that really benefits Austin Wobrock. You're basically a second leadoff hitter. You want to turn that lineup over. Wobrock 202 on the year, has really been doing much better offensively at the plate. The 2-2, and that one's in the dirt. Count goes full, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Wobrock has been able to raise the average. He was hitting under 200 about a month ago, raised that average to 213 since being in the number 9 spot. Now that average back down to 202. The 3-2, and this one line foul hits the screen above the Wild Things dugout, and the count remains full at 3 balls and 2 strikes. Andrew Heck would be the batter next if Wobrock can reach base. 3 balls, 2 strikes, and 2 men out. Wild Things lead 7-3 here in the top of the 8th. The 3-2, and this one fouled off to the right, and the count remains full at 3 balls and 2 strikes. So Wobrock fighting off a couple of tough pitches here to stay alive against the right-hander Tanner Keast. Keast, the second righty used out of the bullpen for the Florence Freedom. Wild Things had seen lefties as Patrick McGrath and Wendorf lefties. This one grounded to short. Weaver has it. He'll throw on to first, and that's in time for out number 3. No runs in the inning for your Wild Things on just 1 hit, no errors, and nobody left on base. After 7.5 the score, your Washington Wild Things 7 and the Florence Freedom 3. Heading to the bottom of the 8th. We'll see if Zach Groats comes back out for the 8th inning of work. There is some stirring in the Wild Things bullpen, but no official move to this point. Wild Things in this resumed half of yesterday's ball game, scoring a run in the 6th and 2 runs in the 7th. Did not get a run in that 8th inning of work, and Zach Groats will be coming back out to pitch this bottom half of the 8th. This will be the longest Groats has gone in a ball game. 2 2/3 was his previous longest outing of the season, but Groats back in there and will be going in this inning. He threw 2 2/3 innings against the Schaumburg Boomers on June the 26th, and that is his longest outing of the year for the Wild Things, so going to surpass that here in this game as he's coming in for his 3rd full inning of work. Last inning, he got the first 1-2-3 inning of the game for your Washington Wild Things. Mason Salazar grounded out to start things. Then Travis Weaver struck out, and Andre Mercurio struck out as well to end that 7th inning. In total, Groats has 4 strikeouts in his 2 2/3 innings of work. Has done a very nice job in the strikeout department so far this season. Those 4 strikeouts up his season total in strikeouts, excuse me, now to 36, and that currently has him good for fourth on this Washington Wild Things team behind Luke Wilkins. Wilkins has 40, Matt Fraud 55, and Trevor Foss 66. Due up here in the 8th inning for the Florence Freedom, Taylor Oldham, Andrew Godbold, and Isaac Wenrick, 2, 3, and 4, facing off against Zach Groats. Game 1 of this 3-game series, 7-3, your Washington Wild Things lead here in the bottom half of the 8th inning. Oldham so far on the day is 1 for 2, hitting to a fielder's choice in the first, doubled in the third, and was hit by a pitch in inning number 5. Nobody out, 7-3 lead for your Wild Things over the Florence Freedom. Righty Zach Groats looking in to Kyle Pollock behind the plate. Groats has his sign. He's set after Oldman digs in, and the pitch on the way. And Oldham fouls this one off back to the screen. Count goes to no balls and a strike. 0-1 the count here on Taylor Oldham, playing at first base here for the Florence Freedom. Oldham played a little bit of third in the last series between these two teams. The 0-1, and that one's outside and gets by Kyle Pollock back to the screen, and the count will go even at 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-1 the count here on Taylor Oldham. Zach Groats looking in, has his sign, the 1-1, and a check swing there by Oldham, but he'll take this one low for a ball, 2 balls and a strike. 2-1 the count here on Taylor Oldham. Zach Groats in for his 3rd full inning of work. Groats has his sign. He's set in the 2-1. And this one fouled off the foot of Taylor Oldham. And the count goes even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Oldham wearing that shin guard on his left leg. So that one not hurting just as badly as the one that hurt Travis Weaver. Weaver not having a shin guard as that one hit his bare skin. 2 balls, 2 strikes, nobody out. Bottom of the 8th, Wild Things leading by the score of 7-3 over the Freedom. Groats looks in, has his sign, he's set, and the 2-ball, 2-strike pitch. And time is called behind the plate as Kyle Pollock wants to go through the signs once more. 2 balls, 2 strikes, and nobody out. Zach Groats on the hill came in to relieve Trevor Foss in the bottom half of the 5th. Groats' 2-2 pitch, and a check swing. Did he go around? Yes, says Andy Dodonis. He strikes out. It's the 5th strikeout of the day for Zach Groats, and the first out here in the bottom of the 8th. That brings to the plate the right fielder, Andrew Godbold. Godbold so far 0 for 2, hitting to a 6-4-3 double play in the first, popped out in inning number 3, and hit a sacrifice fly in inning number 5. Drove in one of his team's 3 runs so far on the day. 1 man out, bottom of the 8th, 7-3. Your Wild Things lead over the Freedom. Groats has his sign. Here's the pitch, and that one's outside for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count here on Andrew Godbold. Godbold was the first batter of the resumed half of this ball game. Led off the bottom of the 5th with 1 out. Here's the pitch. This one hit to center field. Chris Grayson a couple of steps back, and he will make the catch for out number 2. So 2 up, 2 down here for the Florence Freedom in the bottom of the 8th. And now brings to the plate the catcher, Isaac Wenrick. Wenrick so far 0 for 2, walked in the 2nd, grounded out in the 4th, and grounded out in inning number 5. 2 outs here in the bottom of the 8th from UC Health Stadium in Florence, Kentucky. You're listening to the MSA Sports Network's coverage of Washington Wild Things baseball, the resumed half of last night's game between your Wild Things and the Freedom. The pitch, and that one's in the dirt for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count here on the Florence Freedom catcher, Isaac Wenrick. He's the primary catcher for the Florence Freedom. Garrett Vale is his backup. Groats has his sign, the 1-0, and that one's in there for a strike. Count goes even at 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-1 the count here on Isaac Wenrick. Zach Groats looking in, 2 men out. Groats has his sign. Here's the 1-1. And Wenrick a swing and a foul ball over to the Florence Freedom dugout as it gets in that Freedom dugout. 1 ball and 2 strikes. A couple of those Freedoms trying to reach up and make a barehanded play there. None of them could come up with it. And the count goes 1 ball and 2 strikes. 1-2, 2 men out. Got a full slate of Frontier League action here on this day, this Saturday. This one grounded to second base. Magruder has it. He'll throw on to first, and that's in time for out number 3. Second straight 1-2-3 inning for Zach Groats. And after 8 innings of play, the score here, Washington Wild Things 7 and the Florence Freedom 3. As the Wild Things leading 7-3 going into this 9th inning, looking to add some insurance in the top half of the 9th. Tanner Keast coming out to remain in the game for this 9th inning. It will be a second full inning of work. Did not give up a run last inning, but did give up a base hit out of the bullpen. It's the second right-hander your Washington Wild Things have seen. Game 2 of this 3-game series can be heard right here on the MSA Sports Network. 6:05, the scheduled start time. We'll see if we get it in by 6:05, but you can hear it right here on the MSA Sports Network. Because we're playing 2 games today, only going to hear 7 innings of baseball in that contest. Chase Cunningham's going to take the mound for your Wild Things against Tony Vaca. Cunningham coming off 2 of his worst starts of the season against Southern Illinois. Did not go 5 innings in either game. Went 4 1/3 in the first contest and gave up 5 earned runs. Went 4 in the last contest. Gave up 6 earned runs in that ball game. So Cunningham will be looking to bounce back against these Florence Freedom. Keith's back on the hill, as we said, for his second inning of work. Last inning for the Wild Things, Yezo singled to lead things off. Then Jamadrick Magruder grounded out, and Austin Wobrock grounded out to end that inning. Yezo was also caught stealing for the second out of that game. Due up here in the 9th, Andrew Heck, Chris Grayson, and Ricky Rodriguez, 1, 2, and 3, looking to add on some insurance runs here against Tanner Keast and the Florence Freedom. Wild Things dropped to 3rd in the Frontier League East standings after they did not finish this game last night. Their record 30-30. The Windy City Thunderbolts leapfrog him. Windy City 32-32 their record, and Joliet got a win yesterday. Their record improved to 35-28. Wild Things trying to pick up the win here in this one. If they can get it, they'll bounce back up to 2nd place above the Windy City Thunderbolts going into tonight's contest. Andrew Heck making his way to the plate. Heck so far in the day is 1 for 3. Flew out in the first, struck out in the second, walked in the 5th, and singled and scored a run in inning number 7. Nobody out here in the top of the 9th. Heck at the plate. Keast has his sign. Here's the pitch. And Heck takes this one outside for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count. Tanner Keast just allowing 1 hit in his last inning of work. That 11.25 ERA on the line today. The 1-0. And that one's a called strike on the outside corner. Count goes even to Heck. 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-1 the count. And right now, it doesn't look like there's any action in the Wild Things bullpen, so Groats might be pitching the rest of this game. The 1-1, and that one's up and in to Andrew Heck. Heck leaning out of the way of that one, and the count goes to 2 balls and 1 strike. 2-1 the count here on the leadoff man. Andrew Heck batting from the right side has started his 6th game in left field. 6th straight game, in left field, trying to take a stronghold of that position for the Wild Things. That position's been in limbo all season. Keast has his sign, the 2-1, and this one grounded to short. Weaver will handle it over there, throw on to first, and it's in time to get Heck. 1 up, 1 down for the Wild Things here in the top of the 9th. And that'll bring to the plate the center fielder, Chris Grayson. Grayson so far in the day is 0 for 4. Flew out in the first, struck out in the third, flew out in the 5th, and flew out in inning number 7, trying to extend his hitting streak to 4 games. Has hit in the last 3 ball games and has done so very well. 4 for 6 in that game on Sunday against Southern Illinois. Then 2 for 4 against Normal in game 1 and 2 for 3 against Normal in game 2 of that rain-shortened 2-game series. Keith set, here's the pitch, and Grayson takes that one for a strike on the inside corner. No balls and a strike. 0-1 the count on Grayson. Grayson came into this one leading the team with a .324 average. The 0-1, this one ground to first. Oldham will handle it himself, and he'll take it to the bag. That is out number 2. 2 up, 2 down here in the top of the 9th, and that brings to the plate the third baseman, Ricky Rodriguez. Rodriguez so far is 2 for 3, singled and scored a run in the first, walked in the third, hit to a fielder's choice and drove in a run in the 5th, and singled and scored a run in inning number 7. 2 men out here in the top of the 9th, 7-3. Your Wild Things lead over the Freedom. Keast pitch, and Rodriguez takes this one high and outside for a ball. Count goes to 1 ball and no strikes. 1-0 the count here on the Wild Things third baseman. Wild Things trying to take game 1 of this 3-game series. Keast has his sign, the 1-0. And that one up and in and gets Rodriguez on the shoulder. A hit by pitch, and there's a runner at first with 2 men out for the Wild Things. That brings to the plate the right fielder, Dave Popkins. Popkins so far in the day is 2 for 4, doubled and scored a run in the first, into a 6-4-3 double play in the third, flew out in the 5th, and doubled in a run in inning number 7. Has driven in one of his team's 7 runs on the day. Keith's looking in, has his sign, he's set, and the pitch. And Popkins a swing and a miss there, no balls and 1 strike. 0-1 the count here on the Wild Things right fielder. Wild Things trying to add some insurance here in this top of the 9th inning. Getting some insurance for Zach Groats. And no action in the bullpen. Looks like Groats will pitch the 9th inning as well. Tanner Keast steps off and looks Rodriguez back to first. Ricky Rodriguez on the year currently has 2 stolen bases. Keast has his sign, he's set in the 0-1. And Popkins pops this one up off to the left side in foul territory. Giving it a look is Salazar, but this one will go back into the seats foul. And the count goes to no balls and 2 strikes on Popkins. 0-2 the count, 2 men out, top of the ninth, 7-3. The Wild Things leading over the Florence Freedom. Tanner Keast looking in to Isaac Wenrick. Keast has his sign, he's set. Checks Rodriguez at first, the 0-2 pitch. And that one is a called strike 3. Dave Popkins strikes out, and that will end the inning. No runs for your Wild Things on no hits, no errors, and 1 man left on after the hit by pitch. Going to the bottom of the ninth, and the score, your Washington Wild Things 7 and the Florence Freedom 3. There will be someone coming in from the bullpen as Devin Davis comes in to pitch this 9th inning. Not a save situation for Davis as he enters in this one. The final line for Zach Groats goes a season-high 3 2/3 innings. Did not give up a run in his outing, giving up just 1 hit, walking nobody, and striking out 5 in the game. So a very good outing for Zach Groats out of the bullpen. Did just what the Wild Things needed him to here in this resumed half of this ball game. Devin Davis entering the game now for the Wild Things. Davis a record of 1-1, 2 saves on the year, a 3.00 ERA, appearing in his team leading 26th game, has thrown 30 innings of work, giving up 27 hits, 10 runs all earned, 9 walks, and 33 strikeouts for the left-hander. Devin Davis has done very well all season for the Wild Things. Just a little hiccup in the middle part of the season where he went 3 straight outings, giving up at least 1 earned run. But since that, he's really locked things down out of the bullpen, gets the ball, works quickly, and pounds the strike zone for your Wild Things. His 3.00 ERA, good for 4th on the team coming in to today's ball game. Last inning for the Florence Freedom in the bottom of the 8th. They would go 1-2-3 against Zach Groats. Taylor Oldham struck out, Andrew Godbold flew out, and Isaac Wenrick grounded out to end that 8th inning. Due up here in the 9th, Josh Henderson, Sean Cooper, and Daniel Fraga, 5, 6, and 7, facing off against Devin Davis. Game 2 of this 3-game series going to be a 7-inning game here from Florence, Kentucky, and it can be heard just about a half hour after this game concluding. The original start time scheduled for 6:05, but with the doubleheader format, should be still around 6:05, about a half hour after this game ends. So lefty Devin Davis into the ball game. Davis, the 3rd pitcher used by the Washington Wild Things. Starter Trevor Foss went 4 1/3, gave up 3 runs, all earned on 7 hits, 2 walks, and no strikeouts for Foss. And then Groats out of the bullpen, 3 2/3, no runs, no earned on 1 hit, no walks, and 5 strikeouts. Josh Henderson making his way to the plate here in the bottom of the 9th. Henderson so far on the day is 1 for 2, hit into a fielder's choice in the 2nd, walked in the 4th, and singled in inning number 6. Devin Davis on the mound. Davis looking in, has his sign. Here's the pitch. And that one's high for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count here on Josh Henderson. Davis trying to close this game out for your Wild Things. Not a save situation. Davis is 1-0, and that one's on the inside corner for a strike. Count goes even at 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-1 the count here on Josh Henderson. Lefty on lefty matchup. Davis is 1-1. And a swing and a miss there by Henderson, and the count goes to 1 ball and 2 strikes. 1-2 the count on the Florence Freedom designated hitter. Henderson, listed on the roster as an outfielder, played left field in the series against the Wild Things back at Consol Energy Park. Davis has his sign, the 1-2 pitch, and this ball grounded to first. Logan Uxa gives it a chase, but fields it in foul territory, and the count will remain 1 ball and 2 strikes. 1-2 the count. Devin Davis pitched in the Chicago White Sox organization, was at their Double-A level last season before being moved to the Washington Wild Things this year. His first year with the Wild Things, has team lead in appearances on the year, and currently 5th in strikeouts. The 1-2, and this one fouled back to the screen, so Henderson staying alive, and the count remains 1 ball and 2 strikes. 1-2 the count here on Josh Henderson. Nobody out, bottom of the 9th, 7-3 your Washington Wild Things lead. Davis has his sign, he's set, the 1 ball, 2 strike pitch. And that one's in the dirt. Henderson checks his swing, and the count goes even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Devin Davis trying to close this one out here in the bottom of the 9th. 7-3 your Wild Things lead. Davis has his sign, the 2-2. And this ball hit the right center field. Popkins giving it a chase to the right center field corner, and this ball's off the wall. Grayson will field it off the wall. Henderson will be in there with a double. Thought about going to third as Grayson had some trouble with it out there in right center field. However, decides to stay at second base. So there's a runner at second with nobody out, and that'll bring in the left fielder, Sean Cooper. Cooper so far in the year is 1 for 3, or on the day 1 for 3, single in the second, hit into a double play in inning number 4, and struck out in the 6th inning. Runner at second, nobody out, bottom of the 9th, 7-3. Your Washington Wild Things lead over the Florence Freedom. Devin Davis looking into Kyle Pollock. Davis has his sign, he's set. Checks Henderson at second, and the pitch. And Cooper takes this one just outside for a ball. Count goes to 1 ball and no strikes. 1-0 the count here on the Florence Freedom left fielder. Devin Davis trying to close this one out. Davis looking in, has his sign, he's set. Checks second, and the 1-0. And Cooper lines this one to left field. That's a base hit. Henderson's going to be held at third, and there'll be runners at first and third with nobody out. Back-to-back hits to start this bottom of the 9th off of Devin Davis, and that'll bring to the plate the second baseman, Daniel Fraga. Fraga so far 1 for 3, hit into a fielder's choice in the second, singled and scored a run in the 5th, and struck out in inning number 6. Devin Davis allowed back-to-back hits to start this 9th inning after Zach Groats 3 2/3 scoreless innings. So we'll see if Davis can minimize the damage and keep the lead at 7-3 for your Wild Things. Daniel Fraga at the plate, and actually it's a pinch hitter as Garrett Vale will come into the game to pitch hit for Fraga. Davis's pitch, and Vale a swing and a miss, no balls and a strike. So Garrett Vale, the pinch hitter here for Daniel Fraga. No balls and a strike on Vale. Vale enters this one. As Davis set, here's the 0-1. And Vale takes this one outside for a ball. Gets away from Pollock. Pollock gathers it, throw to Davis, and they are going to tag Henderson out at the plate. A wild pitch. Kyle Pollock doing a nice job of getting to that wild pitch and firing it to Davis. Davis applying the tag, and that's out number 1. Sean Cooper moving up to second on the play. There's now a runner at second with 1 man out, and Garrett Vale at the plate. Vale so far on the season is hitting .284 with 3 home runs and 15 RBIs. Now 1 out in this bottom of the 9th inning. Kyle Pollock going out to talk to his reliever, Devin Davis. So the first out in the inning is Kyle Pollock able to get to that ball after it got away from him and fire to Davis for the out. Runner at second is Sean Cooper, and Garrett Vale at the plate pinch hitting for Daniel Fraga. 1 ball, 1 strike the count on Garrett Vale as he swung and missed at that last pitch. Davis looking in, has his sign, he's set. Checks the runner at second, and the 1 ball, 1 strike pitch. Vale, check swing roller to first. Uxa has it. He'll flip on to Davis covering, and that's in time for out number 2. 3-1 on the putout, and Sean Cooper moving up to third. So there's a runner at third, 2 men out, and that'll bring to the plate the third baseman, Mason Salazar. Salazar so far 1 for 3, was robbed of a base hit in the second on a nice diving play by Ricky Rodriguez. Then a single by Mason in the 5th, and grounded out in inning number 7. 2 outs here in the bottom of the 9th. Wild Things looking to secure their 31st win of the season and their 15th road win. If they do win, Zach Groats would pick up the win in this ball game. Davis has his sign, checks third, the pitch, and that one's in the dirt, blocked by Kyle Pollock, and the count goes to 1 ball and no strikes. 1-0 the count here on Mason Salazar out there at third base. Salazar not a part of the Florence Freedom in that first series. That ball actually got stuck in Kyle Pollock's glove, had to shake it out as they get Devin Davis a new ball. Now the ball is deposited into the stands. That ball getting stuck in Kyle Pollock's glove. 1 ball, no strikes, 2 men out. Devin Davis on the mound, the lefty. He looks into Pollock. Davis has his sign, he's set. Checks the runner at third and the 1-0. And that one's in there for a strike. Count goes even at 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-1 the count here on Mason Salazar out there at third. Runner at third base is Sean Cooper. Davis looks in, has his sign, he's set. And the 1 ball, 1 strike pitch. And this one's in the dirt, and the count goes to 2 balls and a strike. 2-1. Kyle Pollock doing a nice job of blocking that pitch behind the plate. Devin Davis, after some struggles to start the inning, has come through. 2 outs, bottom of the 9th, looking to keep this a 7-3 lead for the Wild Things. The 2-1, and this one grounded up the middle. Magruder a diving try, but he's not going to get it. It's an RBI single for Mason Salazar. Scoring from third is Sean Cooper, and that makes the score 7-4 Washington Wild Things. And it'll bring to the plate the shortstop, Travis Weaver. Now the Wild Things leading 7-4. That run charged to Devin Davis as Mason Salazar coming through with the RBI single for Salazar in the year. RBI number 6 as he stands at first with 2 outs, and Travis Weaver to the plate. Weaver so far is 1 for 3, single in the 3rd, reached on a fielder's choice and scored a run in the 5th, and struck out in inning number 7. 2 outs here in the bottom of the 9th. Devin Davis is allowed to run in the inning, but looking to get through it cleanly. Davis has his sign, checks first, and the pitch. And this one grounded to short. Wobrock charging, has it, goes the short wave to second, and you can put it in the books. Your Washington Wild Things win this one. Final score, 7-4. Fielder's choice, 6-4 on the putout. Ends this ball game. The winning pitcher is Zach Groats. The losing pitcher in this ball game is Patrick McGrath. Your Wild Things pick up their 31st win of the season, taking Game 1 of this 3-game series from the Florence Freedom. Game 2 of the 3-game series going to start scheduled for 6:05. So tune back in here on the MSA Sports Network, and we'll have coverage of Game 2 of this 3-game series for you coming up. But right now, Washington Wild Things post-game show after a 7-3 win in Game 1 of that 3-game series. Going to go over the scoring recap in total for this game. Game was resumed this afternoon after being rained out in the bottom half of the 5th. The Wild Things would take the early lead in this one in the top half of the 1st. Andrew Heck and Chris Grayson flew out to start the ball game. Then Ricky Rodriguez singled and Dave Popkins doubled. Wild Things had runners at 2nd and 3rd with 2 men out before Logan Uxa came through with a 2 RBI single. Rodriguez and Popkins would score, and the Wild Things would take a 2-0 lead. Then Uxa would steal second before Kyle Pollock struck out to end the inning. Then the Wild Things back on the board in the top of inning number 2. Jimmy Yezzo flew out to start things. Then Jamadrick Magruder would single. He stole second base. That stolen base, his 3rd steal of the year. Then Austin Wobrock would ground out. That moved him to 3rd. And a wild pitch would score Magruder. That gave the Wild Things a 3-0 lead over the Florence Freedom. Andrew Heck would then strike out to end the inning. Wild Things again would get on the board in the top half of the 5th. Austin Wobrock singled to start things, then stole second base. It was Wobrock's 6th steal of the year. And there's a runner at 2nd with nobody out. Andrew Heck would then walk to put a runner at 1st and 2nd, nobody out. Chris Grayson would then fly out, and that would be it for the starter, Patrick McGrath. McGrath on the day went 4 1/3, gave up 4 runs, all earned on 5 hits, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts for the lefty McGrath. Zach Wendorf came in to finish the inning, got Ricky Rodriguez to ground into a fielder's choice. However, scoring on the ground ball was Austin Wobrock, and your Wild Things would take a 4-0 lead. Dave Popkins would fly out to end that inning. Then in the bottom of the 5th, the Florence Freedom got on the board. Daniel Fraga singled to start things. Then Mason Salazar singled. There were runners at 1st and 2nd with nobody out. Travis Weaver would then hit into a fielder's choice. Salazar eliminated at 2nd base before Andre Mercurio came through with an RBI double. That scored Daniel Fraga and made the score 4-1 Wild Things. Then next batter, Taylor Oldham, was hit by a pitch. The bases were loaded with Freedom and 1 out, and the rains fell down yesterday as the game had to be postponed. Then fast forward to today at 4:05, we resumed the ball game. Zach Groats came in to relieve Trevor Foss. Foss's final line, he went 4 1/3, gave up 3 runs, all earned on 7 hits, 2 walks, and no strikeouts. First man Groats faced Andrew Godbold, hit a sacrifice fly. Travis Weaver would score, and that made the score 4-2. Next batter, then a wild pitch scored the 3rd run of the inning as that brought in Andre Mercurio. It was 4-3, and Isaac Wenrick grounded out to end that inning. So it was 4-3 after 5. Then Logan Uxa would lead off the top half of the 6th for the Wild Things with a solo home run over the right field wall, his 5th home run of the year. Wild Things would take a 5-3 lead. Then Kyle Pollock would strike out. Jimmy Yezzo singled. Jamadrick Magruder grounded out, and Austin Wobrock struck out to end the inning. Wild Things back on the board in the top of the 7th. Andrew Heck singled. Then Chris Grayson flew out. Ricky Rodriguez singled, so there were runners at 1st and 3rd with 1 man out before Dave Popkins came to the plate. An RBI double, Popkins' 34th RBI of the season, and the Wild Things would lead 6-3. Next batter, Logan Uxa, driving in his 4th run of the game, hit a sacrifice fly to right field. That brought in Ricky Rodriguez, and it was 7-3 Wild Things. That score would remain. Zach Groats, a very good outing on the day. 3 2/3 scoreless innings of work out of the bullpen, striking out 5 in the contest and not walking a batter. The Florence Freedom would threaten in the bottom half of the 9th. Devin Davis came into work. Josh Henderson doubled to lead things off. Then Sean Cooper singled. There were runners at 1st and 3rd with nobody out. A wild pitch got away from Kyle Pollock, but Pollock able to get to it and throw to Devin Davis at the plate. Davis made the tag, and that was out number 1. So there was a runner at 2nd, 1 man out. Then Garrett Vale would ground out. Sean Cooper moving up to 3rd on the play. So with 2 outs, there was a runner at 3rd. And then Mason Salazar came through with an RBI single. Salazar's 6th RBI of the year before Travis Weaver grounded out to end the game. Final score, your Wild Things win 7-3 and improve to 31-30 on the season and 15-12 on the road. Game 2 of this 3-game series scheduled for a 6:05 start here tonight. Chase Cunningham will take the mound for your Wild Things. He'll be opposed by Tony Vaca, so stay tuned for that. Go get a snack, go get a drink or something, and then come back for more Washington Wild Things baseball. That'll only be a 7-inning game, as it'll be the second game we have played on the day. Your Washington Wild Things star of the day today goes to Logan Uxa, going a total of 2 for 3, drove in 4 of the team's 7 runs, including a solo home run, also a 2 RBI single, stole a base, and hit a sacrifice fly. So Logan Uxa wins your Washington Wild Things star of the game for Game 1 of this 3-game series. Winning pitcher Zach Groats, losing pitcher is Patrick McGrath. As we said, 6:05 start for Game 2 of this 3-game series. Be right here on the MSA Sports Network. Tony Vaca taking off against Chase Cunningham. Cunningham coming off his worst 2 starts of the season, looking to rebound against the Florence Freedom. Like to thank you for coming back with us here for the resumed part of Game 1 of this 3-game series. Final score, Wild Things 7, Florence Freedom 3. Now go get something to eat, go to the bathroom, and come back for more Washington Wild Things baseball. 6:05, Game 2 of the 3-game series. See you guys in a little bit.
MSA Sports. Press 1 to resume, or 3 to end broadcast. Your broadcast has been ended.